14 years ago, Joan Gregory was lost in a shipwreck in the South Pacific Ocean. And 14 years her mother spent searching for her the world over. When Joan was found on the Magic Island, a strange place which the scientists living there have named Euclidia, it seemed that Mrs. Gregory's troubles were at an end. Now, however, we find that this is not the case, as the island of Euclidia contains so many powerful and unusual scientific devices and discoveries that it must be captured and its knowledge turned over to the world at large. Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford have decided to return to the island and take it over, using the captain's formula for the universal solvent as a weapon. Jerry and Joan are not to be taken along, and we'll see what Jerry and Joan think of that idea as we find them sitting on a bench on the corner of Hollywood and Vine in Hollywood.
Well, Joan, what do you think of it?
What do I think of what?
Oh, Hollywood.
It is very nice.
Is that all?
What did you expect me to say?
Oh, that it was swell and the greatest place you ever saw, and all that kind of talk.
I could not well say that, Jerry.
Well, why not?
How could I compare Hollywood with other places when it is the only place, except for Euclidia, that I have ever seen?
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Of course it is right.
Well, even if you can't tell whether it's better than any other place, you know if you like it or not, don't you?
I have said I liked it very much.
Yeah, you sound like it.
Jerry, you are a very strange person.
Huh?
You expect everyone to become wildly enthusiastic about anything you show them. Perhaps I am not as greatly impressed as you would wish.
Well, you ought to be. Look at all the automobiles scooting around here. What about that? You didn't have any cars on Euclidia.
We had no need for them. However, if the Euclideans were in charge of these passageways...
Hey, wait a minute. These things are streets, not passageways.
Very well, streets. If the Euclideans were in charge of these streets, there would be some semblance of order maintained. The manner in which various vehicles dash around each other is very poorly controlled.
Okay. Nobody likes the traffic any better than you do, but nobody's been able to figure out how to handle it any other way.
I believe I could suggest a plan.
You could?
Certainly.
Well, if you can do that, you'll find the police will give you a medal.
That does not sound correct.
Why? What's wrong with that?
A moment ago, you showed me a police officer arresting a man.
Well, yeah, sure. They arrest you if you do something wrong, but they can be mighty nice to you if you do something right, too.
I wonder if I will ever understand this strange country.
This strange country? After living on that crazy island, you think this country is strange?
On Euclidia, everything was well-ordered, regular, and perfectly controlled. While here, everyone seems to be doing much as they please.
Well, why not? This is a free country.
But everything is so carelessly done.
What's wrong now?
That lunch we had.
Oh, the lunch? What was the matter with it?
We ate it without the slightest regard for what our previous meal had been. You made no attempt to note the quantity we consumed, and at least 2 of the ingredients of the meal duplicated items included in our breakfast this morning.
What's the difference how much we had, or what it was? We had a good lunch, didn't we?
It was excellent.
Okay, then forget about what we had yesterday or what we're going to eat tomorrow. And you can forget all the rest of that sort of stuff you learned on that island, too.
Do you not consider my Euclidean training of value?
Oh, sure. When there's something scientific to be figured out, I guess you might come in handy. But when it comes to getting along with the rest of the folks around town, you won't do so good if you keep trying to fix everything you see the way they do it on the Magic Isle.
I'm merely trying to help.
Well, all right. But if you keep on telling everybody you meet how they ought to do things, you're going to help yourself to a lot of trouble.
What have I done that is so terrible?
Well, what did you say to that traffic cop?
Cop?
Well, officer, then. Well, what did you say to him?
I merely tried to explain to him that his method of procedure was quite wrong.
Yes, that's all you did. Just told the cop how to run a street corner.
Jerry, you must admit there was logic in my contention. If the officer would sound his whistle before a motorist did something wrong, would it not be better than waiting until after the fault was committed?
Oh, sure, swell. But how are you going to know that a man will break a traffic rule until you see him do it?
If the whistle was sounded continuously as a warning to all motorists, there would be no violations of rules.
And how long do you suppose people would stand for a cop standing on a corner blowing a whistle all the time?
The people would not like it.
Of course they wouldn't like it. You can't make a racket like that in the middle of a street and keep it up.
Perhaps I do not fully understand how things must be done here.
You don't. If you don't want to get in bed with everybody you meet, you'd better let things alone.
I'm sorry if you are angry with me, Jerry.
Oh, I'm not angry. I just don't like to see you being such a sap all the time.
A sap? What is a sap?
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's only slang, and you don't like slang.
No, I do not like slang. It is so much easier to express oneself in English.
But slang is English.
Slang is no language.
Oh.
It was originated and has been furthered and added to by people who are too lazy to learn the collection of expressive modifying words which would allow greater expression than the weirdest slang phrases.
All right, I'm lazy.
Agreed.
Well, just the same, I know how to get along in this country. And if you want to do what I do, you'll get along better.
I am willing to do as you tell me, Jerry.
Well, okay. Now, we're going to see a picture show. And while we're in there, you mustn't make a sound. Don't say a word while the show is on.
Is not the picture show merely the projection of images from a celluloid strip of sensitized materials known to you as film?
That's it. And you can hear them talk, too, just like the stage.
Jerry, I do not enjoy correcting your misleading statements, but motion pictures cannot be like the stage. The characters in the picture are not actually alive.
Look, I don't mean to start a war over this. I just told you not to talk in the show.
But, Jerry, what will be the harm if I do speak in the show?
Well, people around you won't like it. They pay their money to listen to the actors. And if you've got any questions to answer them, well, wait till the show's over.
Very well.
Hey, what's that extra about?
What is an extra?
Oh, something special in the paper. Big news of some kind.
News of what?
Well, how do I know till I see the paper? Hey, didn't he say something about 2 submarines?
Jerry, those 2 Euclidean submarines.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Hey, extra, come over here, will you?
Coming right up, buddy. Read all about it. They're fishing up submarines in our harbor now. There you are.
All right.
What does it say, Jerry?
They found them all right.
May I see the paper?
Oh, sure, take a look.
2 strange submarines believed to be anchored in outer channels.
Yes, sir. That's them. They found them all right.
I am not sure. It says believed to be.
Well, pretty soon that means for sure. We know they're out there, and everybody else will know it soon.
But, Jerry, how could they see those 2 submarines in 6 fathoms of water?
How do you know they were in 6 fathoms of water?
That is how we left them.
Oh, sure. And that was the night before last at midnight.
Of course, it is possible that the submarine which was following us has been released from the magnetic bombs I placed near it.
Well, I'd say it was pretty sure they'd been free before this.
Then that submarine would not be found by anyone.
Why not?
The commander would either return to Euclidia, or if G-47 ordered the vessel to aid Thales in his work locally, they would remain well hidden.
Maybe you're right about that. But how about the submarine we were in?
That would remain perfectly stationary in the position at which we stabilized it.
Well, that's your idea of it. Now, here's mine. This paper says 2 strange submarines were seen in the outer channel. And they don't get out extras about things like that unless they're pretty sure what they're talking about.
But 2 submarines could not have been seen.
But 2 submarines were seen.
Can you explain how that could be possible?
I think I can. Now, listen to this. That submarine that was following us might have had to come up to the surface for a supply of air. And if they had to use all their air getting out of the spot we left them in. That right?
Such a thing is barely possible, though not probable.
Well, anything is probably possible with a problem. Oh, well, anything can happen where those Euclideans are concerned.
Granted.
Then if they had to pick up that outer sub, the one we escaped from, and if they were towing it with their electromagnets, wouldn't they bring their tow to the surface when they came up?
Jerry, you may be right.
Well, sure I'm right.
But why would the Euclideans do such a foolish thing as to come to the surface in the daylight?
Maybe they were having so much trouble with their boats that they didn't have any chance to stay underwater. Anyhow, they've been seen, and we'd better get right over to your mother's house and tell her and the captain.
But we were going to a moving picture show.
Well, golly whiskers, a picture show. Here, we've got the whole country excited over a couple of Euclidean submarines in the Los Angeles harbor, and you want to go to a picture show.
I have seen many Euclidean submarines, and never have I seen one of your moving pictures.
Well, you can see one some other time. We're going to your mother's and tell them all about this.
Will these extras, as you call them, not be available at Mother's house?
Well, not as quickly as we get them here at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. So I'll bet Johnson has heard it over the radio.
I beg your pardon, young man?
Huh? Oh, did you speak to me, sir?
Yes, I'm sorry to bother you, but as you can see, I am blind.
Yeah.
I wonder if you would do something for me.
Well, I haven't got very much, mister, but...
No, not that. I am not begging. That is, not begging for money. All I ask from you is a little information.
Oh, sure. What do you want to know?
I believe I heard a paper boy crying an extra.
Yeah, he's just up the street a little ways.
Perhaps you could call him for this gentleman, Jerry.
Well, I can try whistling.
No, young man. That would do no good. I could not read the paper after you secured it for me.
Oh, that's right.
I thought you might be willing to read me a few lines from your paper. Just the headlines, or tell me something of what the news is.
We can do that easily.
Oh, sure. It says they found two strange-looking submarines in the Catalina Island Channel.
Two strange submarines? From what country?
Well, that's what makes them so strange. They're not like any subs owned by any country in the world.
And what further news of them?
Well, that's all. Maybe there'll be more out later.
Quite possibly. Thank you, young man. And you, young lady, perhaps I may help you when we meet again.
Say, there was something funny about that guy.
Yes, Jerry. That man will be very dangerous to us.
Well, how do you know?
He was not blind.
Not blind?
No, I was watching his eyes as I stood where I could see behind those glasses he wore. He was reading every word on the front page of your newspaper while you talked to him. And I have seen those eyes before this.
You what?
I have seen those eyes on the island of Euclidia. That man is Thales.
Thales? The Euclidean scientist who put Johnson's radio out of commission?
Same. Thales is watching us.
Oh, gee whiz. We'd better beat her right home and tell the captain your mother. Oh, why'd I let him walk away?
You could not be expected to know him. You only heard his voice over the radio, and he was carefully disguising it then.
It's a long way from the magic island of Euclidia to Hollywood, California. But the presence of the Euclidean scientists in Hollywood has reduced that distance to nothing. When Jerry and Joan went on a tour of Hollywood Boulevard, giving Joan her first view of the world in which most of us live, and contrasting sharply with her life on the island, the plan was to see a moving picture show. That plan was rudely interrupted, however, for as the youngsters stood on the corner of Hollywood and Vine Streets, a newspaper extra told the world of a strange event. Two submarines have been found in the channel just outside Los Angeles Harbor. They must be Euclidean submarines, and a man who is disguised as a blind street vendor is identified by Joan as one of the Euclidean scientists. The young couple are in Mrs. Gregory's car, rushing to her home with the news.
Jerry, you are doing very foolish things with this motor car.
Well, I want to get to your mother's house, don't I?
But you are breaking many of the rules you told me about.
Well, this is the time to break them. Your mother and Captain Bradford can explain to the police. They'll see that it's time to hurry.
All this is very confusing to me. On Euclidia, all things were in order. Here in your world, all things are mixed up.
What's wrong now?
There are so many different names on the intersections of the streets.
You couldn't have all streets with the same name, could you?
But it would be possible to use only numbers, would it not?
It would not. The way some people write, the post office never would figure out where a letter was going.
But how does anyone ever learn all of these things? Oh, Jerry!
Oh, what's the matter now?
Nothing. Now? You nearly struck that other car.
You mean he nearly hit me, but he didn't. Well, here we are at your mother's house.
And I am glad.
Huh. After all the things you took me riding in on Euclidia, all those trick elevators and stuff, you've got a lot of nerve to talk to me about a little fast driving.
That was far different. On Euclidia, everything is mechanically perfect. Here, the human element is given too many opportunities to make mistakes. And your driving is a mistake.
Oh, okay. I'm a mistake. But here's the house. Fall out.
Fall out?
Yeah, get out. Jump out. Come on, hurry up.
I wonder if Mother and the captain will be here.
That's what I was wondering. You know, if they've heard about those submarines, they might have taken out for the harbor on the run.
Perhaps we should have gone directly to the harbor.
No, I think they'd want us to come here.
Jerry, do you just attempt to open the door and go into anyone's home?
No, not every day, but this is an emergency.
You might save time by ringing the bell.
Oh, so you learn we got doorbells in this country, have you?
To be sure. Mother let me ring the bell nearly all morning.
Huh. Fine business for a 15-year-old girl, ringing the doorbell all morning.
I had never seen one before.
I'll bet the servants love that, running to answer a bell all morning.
They did not do that. Mr. Johnson explained to them that I was only experimenting with it.
Some experiment. Well, maybe you had fun ringing it, but I can't get a sound out of it.
If you would open the door as I had it this morning, you would hear the bell ring.
Yeah, and if I could open the door as you had it this morning, I wouldn't need the bell.
Jerry, it opens.
Sure it does.
Come in quickly, both of you.
Mother, we have news.
Not here.
Gee, what's all the mystery?
Follow me into the radio room and I'll tell you. These stairs are steep and dark, so be careful.
Now, Mrs. Gregory, what is it?
Sit down there, Jerry, and you over here, Joan. I'll sit near the radio set so that I can use it quickly if Tex calls.
Where is the captain?
Now, one thing at a time. You've never seen this room before, have you, Jerry?
No, Mrs. Gregory.
Of course, Joan's never seen it.
No, Mother.
Then a few words of explanation might be in order. This room is soundproofed for a number of important reasons which I haven't time to go into now. However, I think that the various activities surrounding us this minute are of sufficient importance to warrant using this room for all of our discussions.
Then it's all right to say anything we want to in here, huh?
Perfectly safe, Jerry.
Okay. They found our submarine.
And the other which followed us to California.
Yes, we know that.
I thought you would. Got it over the radio, huh?
No, Johnson is at the harbor. He phoned us before the radio stations or papers had the news.
But they did find the subs.
Well, at least someone saw them, though Johnson was sure no one had been near enough to examine them.
Why were those submarines exposed in that manner?
That's what Johnson and Tex are trying to find out now.
Captain Bradford's going down the harbor?
Yes, he left the moment Johnson phoned.
What does the captain expect to learn?
Well, the most important thing is to determine whether any of the Euclideans left that submarine. We may find that they've landed a number of scientists here in town.
I'll bet they did at that. But there was one they didn't have to land. He's been here all the time.
Thales,
That's the one.
And, Mother, we have seen Thales.
you've seen him.
Joan said it was Thales.
Well, did he see you?
He spoke to us.
Spoke to you?
Uh-huh.
Well, when? Where?
Hollywood and Vine.
What was he doing?
He was disguised as a blind man.
See, we got an extra about the subs, and this blind man came over and asked us to read our paper to him. Well, I thought he was blind, so I read him the headlines and a little about what happened.
But you're sure it was Thales?
Perfectly sure, Mother. I know him well. And while he was reading the paper in Jerry's hand, I was able to see his eyes behind the glasses. It was Thales, without doubt.
Did he know you recognized him?
I am sure he did not, Mother. I gave no sign of recognition, and I did not tell Jerry what I had seen until Thales was some distance from us.
Well, I don't see where it makes any difference. He knew who we were, all right. He must have been following us all the time we were walking around the boulevard.
And if he saw you hurry off to us with this news, he'll know that you recognized him.
I think not. It was only natural that we should hurry to you with the news of the submarines.
Yes, well, that's so.
Well, I was a little surprised when Joan told me who he was, but now that I've had a little time to think it over, I'm not so surprised at all.
No, Jerry, it's only what we might have expected, and Captain Bradford was right. He didn't want you two to go out alone today, but I overruled him.
Oh, we didn't get hurt.
And I see no reason for any fear of Thales. Like all the other Euclideans, his interest in us is only relative to his interest in the captain's formula.
But don't you understand, Joan, that if they could kidnap you or Jerry, or any one of us for that matter, we would sacrifice the formula to secure your release?
Gee, I never thought of that.
Nor did I.
I've thought of it every minute since you've been gone.
Well, we weren't taking much chance, though. Joan and I'd be a couple of pretty noisy people to kidnap on Hollywood Boulevard in broad daylight.
Of course, we would not allow such a thing to happen to us.
Oh, I know you think you wouldn't. But suppose you discovered you were late for the show or late for dinner coming home. You wouldn't take time to look in the rear seat of the car very carefully, would you?
Golly whiskers, Joan. Your mother's right. If we hadn't run for the car the minute after we saw Thales, why, he might have hidden on the floor in the back.
That is true. And that is one more danger in your strange country.
Our strange country?
Yeah, I had that all morning. After all the danger and crazy things we went through on that island, Joan thinks it's more dangerous on Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, she may be right. On Euclidia, you're aware of your constant danger and take steps to protect yourself. while in this country you wander carelessly around the streets without a thought of such things.
That is exactly what I was trying to explain to Jerry.
Oh, I can see it now. And it sure puts us in a hole.
We're in no danger as long as we remain in this house. We're guarded by automatic devices as clever as any on Euclidia.
Why do you have such a mysterious house, Mother?
Yeah, I asked her that a long time ago, Joan, but I didn't get any answer.
And I'm afraid the answers must be just as unsatisfactory this time, Jerry.
I think, Mother, that you and the captain are engaged in some enterprise which you prefer to have kept secret.
That's something like it, Joan, but more than that I can't say, except to assure you that whatever it is, it's entirely honest and to our credit.
Oh, sure, we know that. But I'd like to know a little more. Are you government agents?
Now, Jerry, please, no more questions.
Oh, okay.
And now I must call Tex.
You will not use the radio, will you?
No, that might be too dangerous. I'll use our private phone line to the station in Wilmington. Either Tex or Johnson will be there.
Well, Mrs. Gregory, I don't mean to butt in, but if Tex and Johnson are busy down at the harbor, well, I don't think you ought to bother them with our news.
Jerry is correct, Mother. Thales can do us no harm now.
Well, I know all that, but it may help Tex to be fully informed. And not only that, I want to test this line. It may be tapped.
How can you tell if it is?
One of the captain's inventions. He has developed an instrument for testing the balance of a line which is so delicate that even a piece of metal touching that line at any point will register.
The captain is very clever.
Boy, and am I glad he is, with all the stuff that's going on around us now.
I'll set the automatic recording device and you may hear our conversation.
This is indeed a well-equipped communication chamber, Mother.
We use the recorder to transcribe important messages delivered while we're out. Now, if you'll both be very quiet. Hello, Wilmington.
Wilmington.
Jerry and Joan safely returned home. News of submarines is on the street.
Getting extras here now.
Any progress?
Not much. Johnson is working from amphibian plane. Water is apparently free of submarines now. What from your end?
Thales talked to Jerry and Joan on Hollywood Boulevard.
Repeat.
Thales talked to Jerry and Joan on Hollywood Boulevard.
Right. Any disclosures?
None. He is disguised as a blind man, apparently following them at all times.
Keep them home. Stay there yourself. Give the servants a week off. Set the automatic controls for the entire estate.
Servants gone. Control set. We will remain within the house.
Good. I'll call you at half-hour intervals, except return at sunset. Check your disturbance graph.
Checked. The line is open somewhere.
I thought so. That is all. Wilmington.
Now we can talk freely.
You were right. That phone line had been tapped, and those Euclideans, or one of them, must have heard all you said.
Undoubtedly, but we didn't say anything they didn't know.
The captain has learned very little at the harbor.
Oh, I'm not too sure of that, Joan. Tex sounded to me as if he could tell us a great deal more than he did.
Well, that phone line being tapped sure proves one thing to us. Thales isn't the only Euclidean spy in town.
How does it prove that?
Well, he hasn't had time to get from the boulevard over to where he could tap this wire.
Quiet, Jerry. Watch that green light in the corner. There, see it flash?
Yeah. What's that?
The alarm. And it's the inside alarm. Someone is through the outer alarm and in this house.
But, Mother, how could they get through the outer alarms?
I had the gate open for you and Jerry. I set the alarms and closed the gates as soon as you came up the drive. I'm afraid you, too, had company.
Gee, we did forget to look in the back of the car, and I'll bet it wasn't empty.
The magic island of Euclidia seems to have as much effect on the lives of our friends in Hollywood as it did when they were on the island. Jerry and Joan went out in the afternoon, and one of the scientists met them on Hollywood Boulevard. When they rushed home to tell Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford that a newspaper extra is on the street with the story of the finding of their submarine, they found Mrs. Gregory alone. The house is protected by automatic alarms. The captain is down at the harbor trying to get further news of the submarine. As Mrs. Gregory explains the alarm system to Jerry and Joan, the signal light flashes in the radio room. Someone has managed to get inside the ground and is entering the house.
Yes, there it is again. Someone is getting into the house.
Well, let's go and do something about it.
Wait, Jerry, wait. We're quite safe in this radio room.
But, Mother, suppose they enter rooms where your valuables are kept.
We have a number of little surprises that will prove very interesting to anyone who goes too far. And we might do something very foolish if we tried to interfere just now.
You mean we just sit still and let the alarm catch whoever it is?
Well, something like that.
Is that possible, Mother?
Almost, Joan. If you'll notice that board where the green lights were flashing, you will note that there are a number of such small lights, and every one of them represents a room or a corridor in this house.
Then the progress of the person breaking in is visible to us at all times.
Exactly.
That's a swell idea, to be able to tell just what room a burglar's in, but what good does it do? if we just sit here and let him go through the rest of the house.
Well, there is one room, the study on the second floor, which will be easier to get into than to get out of.
Gee, a trap, huh?
You might call it that.
Will this person be caught in that room, Mother?
Yes. Our most valuable possessions are in that room, and naturally, anything we have which would attract the attention of a person clever enough to get into the house at all must be in that room.
I think we may safely admit the probably high intelligence of this person who is now going through your house.
Well, if it's one of those blame Euclideans, he'll be plenty smart, all right.
And I believe it is one of those Euclideans.
Mother, Jerry, there goes another of the green lights.
Yes. That's the main stairway. Apparently, our friend is making straight for the study.
I hope he gets into it quick. How does the trap work?
Well, every door and window in the room is closed by a steel panel the moment the room is entered by anyone who does not know how to set the switches before entering.
And those steel panels will hold the prisoner safely until you are ready to release him.
Exactly. Captain Bradford designed it, and we've caught a few burglars that way.
I wish he'd hurry up and get in there. Which green light is for that room?
Well, it's the center of the board and is slightly larger than the others.
I see it.
Oh, so do I. Say, the light right next to it went on.
Yes. The study will be the next room entered.
Will another signal show when the steel panels have closed?
When that happens, an alarm gong will ring.
Will we hear it in the soundproof room?
Yes, Jerry. It's connected in here.
How long should it take?
Any moment now.
Say, Mrs. Gregory, I thought I saw the light next to that one flash on and off.
Next to it?
Yeah, just to the left of it.
There it is again.
Why, you're right. But I can't understand that. Why would anyone pass that room and start on down the service stairs?
Well, I don't know the answer, but from the way those lights are going on and off, he's leaving that room behind and leaving it fast.
May we not go out and intercept him, Mother?
Oh, I think not yet, Joan. If he hasn't entered that room, nothing of value has been touched, and we might find it very dangerous.
If it is someone clever enough to know that that room was a trap, might he not be clever enough to imprison us in this room?
Yeah, that's an idea. Maybe we're in the trap ourselves.
No chance of that, Jerry. In an emergency, this entire side of this room can be made to open out merely by pushing on it. And at the same time, alarms are rung at the police and fire departments. I think you'll find that we can get out.
This is sure some house.
It is indeed. I am surprised, Mother, that you and the captain should seem so impressed with the things you saw on Euclidia. You have nearly the same type of thing here.
Only in a few instances, Joan, dear. The captain is clever, but he's only one man, while Euclidia is a colony of the world's greatest scientists gathered for a purpose and devoting their lives to science.
That is true.
Well, that reminds me of something I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, Joan. If they're great scientists from all over the world, then a lot of people must know them. Why doesn't somebody worry about where these men are or ask questions about them?
I've often wondered about that, Jerry, and so has Tex.
I think I can answer that, or partly so.
Then hurry up and do it. The way things happen to us, I think we need all the answers we can get.
Are any of G47's men well known to the world, Joan?
It is my belief that a number of the scientists on Euclidia are men who have been well known in various countries of the world.
But if that's true, why didn't we recognize them? Tex knows most of the prominent men in science throughout the world. He's worked with many of them in laboratories and on expeditions. And surely he would have seen someone he knew on the island.
Well, the only thing about that is that all those Euclideans have that funny way of talking. They all use high, squeaky voices.
There you have hit upon the answer, if my belief is true, Jerry.
What do you mean, Joan?
For some time, in fact, since I have grown old enough to understand that there was another world than Euclidia, I have felt that everyone on the island was wearing a disguise and were disguising their voices.
Gee, maybe some of the men we saw on the island are men from this country.
They are from every country, of that I am sure. And most of them are men and women, famous men and women of all countries who have supposedly been lost with expeditions, or who were passengers on ships which were supposed to have sunk.
Supposed to have sunk?
Yes, Mother. I am sure that many famous people who were supposedly lost at sea and in the air are now associated with G47 on the island of Euclidia.
Golly whiskers. What an idea that is.
It's tremendous. Think what it would mean to the world if it could be proven that many of the famous characters of the last 10 or 20 years, supposedly lost forever, are members of G47's colony.
But why would they do a thing like that?
There are many famous people in all lands who are not satisfied with their lives, or who feel that they would have a greater freedom for their scientific work in such a colony as Euclidia.
I can understand that. But how did they learn of Euclidia? How did they reach the island, become members of the colony without the rest of the world learning of it?
Yeah. How did they know about Euclidia and how to find it?
I believe that G47 has ways of communicating with those persons whom he believes valuable to him.
But, Joan, G47 made it very plain that he considers Captain Bradford important. Yet he made no effort to get him to come to Euclidia.
He came to Euclidia, did he not?
Sure, but that was looking for you.
And how did the news that I was on the island reach you?
Joan, you're right. Why, you must be right. G47 allowed the news of your life there to reach us. When he decided the time had come to have Captain Bradford on the island.
Precisely.
And if that's right, then old G47 will keep trying to get Tex or his formula until he does get it.
I think so.
It looks very much as if our experiences with G47 have only started.
Sure looks like it. That old guy sure hangs on to an idea when he gets his hands on
And,
it.
Jerry, I think you are wrong about that also.
About what?
You always say old G47. I think that if the truth were known, G47 is a young man. I am sure he is under 40, and his beard and heavy glasses are worn only as a disguise.
G47, a young man?
Well, if he's under 40, he's certainly a young man, at least in the professional or scientific world.
Well, that sounds like it might be true. There ought to be some reason for those funny voices all those Euclideans use, and if they're doing it as a disguise, that makes sense.
Indeed it does. But we'll have to forget that for a minute and remember where we are. Our visitor has left the house.
Oh, Mother, we were careless in talking so long. Now all those little green lights have gone out.
Oh, I wanted to go and catch that fella a long time ago. Now it's too late.
No, Jerry, that wouldn't have been wise. We're better off here. The alarm system showed that the study was not entered, and whatever our visitor came after, he didn't get.
Yeah, but don't you
Wait a
think we
minute,
could...
quiet, Jerry, quiet, please. Both of you, be very quiet. Hello, Wilmington. Ready. Go ahead.
Have just made some important discoveries which I can't give you now. Have you had a visitor this afternoon?
Yes. The alarm system showed steady progress through most of the house. Jerry, Joan, and myself remained in this room.
That is excellent. Do not leave that room until I arrive.
When will that be?
Within the hour.
Isn't there anything we can be doing?
Nothing, except stay in that room. Do not leave it for any reason, and do not open the door.
I understand.
Johnson may arrive before I do. He has full instructions, but do not attempt to come out and meet him. He will release you. That is all.
That is all. Well, Tex certainly feels that we're in danger.
Yeah, he said not to leave this room.
Does that mean that the intruder whose progress we followed with the alarms has managed to secrete himself within this house?
Well, I would say no. Definitely no.
Then how's he going to hurt us if we go out of this room?
Well, I think it's highly probable that he's left some sort of trouble waiting for us out there.
That could easily be done. And the captain would know that if the element of danger to us had been safely placed from the outside, it may be safely removed from the outside.
That's it, Joan.
You mean that guy left some sort of a trap out there that's set to do something to us when we open the door? But if Tex waits for Johnson to get us out, we'll be all right?
That's the way I see it, Jerry.
And I feel that is correct.
Then it must be right. But why didn't the fellow, whoever he was, take his time and go through the study while he had us penned up in here?
Well, I think we'll find that this visit was purely one of testing our strength. An attempt to get our secrets would have been more carefully planned.
That is reasonable.
Maybe. But it looks to me like there wasn't much wrong with the way this one was planned.
The captain will be here within the hour, he said. Surely we can wait that long.
I know blame well I can.
And I, Jerry. There's no sense in running into a danger we know exists.
But one thing I'd like to know is how Captain Bradford, way down there at the harbor, knows more about what's going on here than we do.
That had occurred to me also.
And I'll have to refuse to answer. There are many things about this home and our system of communication which would add to your knowledge, but it would also add to your danger. And for the present, I feel that you're safer if you know very little about what's going on around you.
Oh, I guess so. But I'd still like to know.
Mother, what is that peculiar odor?
Odor, dear?
Yes.
You're right, Joan. I can smell something.
Well, I wonder...
Smoke.
Jerry.
I'm sure it is, Mrs. Gregory. I can smell smoke.
No doubt of it. There is smoke in this house.
Why, this room is supposed to be airtight except for the air conditioning.
Do you suppose that fellow set the house on fire?
Oh, I don't think so. But even if he did, we stay here.
Stay in this room with the house burning?
Yes, this room is fireproof, and it will stand alone if the rest of the house burns to the ground, and the study will do the same.
Are you sure it's safe to remain?
Nothing is ever absolutely safe where fire is concerned, but I'm sure we're safer in here than we would be trying to get out.
Well, I don't like it much. My idea about fires is to try getting out of them.
Would it not be wise to open the door slightly and investigate?
No, sit still, both of you. Tex said for us to stay in this room, to keep that door closed, and we'll stay here if the house burns down around us.
The corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street may seem like a strange place to meet one of the scientists from the magic island of Euclidia. But an even stranger place to meet a Euclidean is in your own home. That's apparently the situation which confronts Mrs. Gregory, her daughter Joan, and Jerry Hall. When Jerry and Joan started out to see a matinee at one of the moving picture houses, they met the Euclidean electrical wizard Thales, disguised as a beggar. Now they are locked in the radio room at Mrs. Gregory's home. And Mrs. Gregory has been talking over the phone with Captain Bradford at the harbor, where he went with Johnston to investigate the Euclidean submarines. A faint odor fills the room. The house is on fire, but Mrs. Gregory refuses to let Jerry or Joan leave the room.
Oh, I don't doubt what you say, Mrs. Gregory. If this room is fireproof, it's fireproof. But I don't understand why it's smart to stay locked up in here and let the rest of your home burn.
Jerry, Captain Bradford said we were not to leave this room until he or Johnson arrived to let us out.
But, Mother, your home is so beautiful, and though I have little understanding of the value of money in your world, it must be a very valuable home also.
It is valuable, Joan, and some of my art treasures are almost priceless. But there is no price as high as that of human life.
Well, gee, Mrs. Gregory, are you sure it's that serious?
I believe it might be just as serious if we attempted to open the door and leave this room.
This is indeed a strange...
Quiet, Tex.
Bradford to Gregory room.
It's Tex, calling from his car. Quiet while I answer him. Gregory radio room to Bradford. Go ahead, Tex.
Remain in that room. Do not leave until Johnson or I arrive to let you out.
We understand. No move is being made. Where are you, Tex?
Sorry, but for obvious reasons, I can't tell you that.
Are you in the car?
No, that is all.
Well, Tex is on his way here in the car.
But he said he wasn't.
Obviously to deceive someone, Jerry. It would not be very clever of the captain to admit that he might be caught on the streets with his car.
Yeah, that's right.
The only thing we have to worry about is how long it will take Tex to get here and just how great our danger is.
Well, I'd say it was plenty great. This is getting on my nerves. Guys running all over the place, starting fires, rooms we can't get out of, and radio messages from cars that aren't supposed to be on the streets.
The only thing we can do is to remain in this room and do exactly as Tex ordered, no matter what our danger. He knows more about it than we do.
But how could the captain have known of our danger while he is miles away at the harbor?
You mean while he was miles away? I'll bet he's burning up the road getting here.
Yes, he should be here any minute now.
Mother, why do you refuse to answer my question? How could the captain have known of our danger?
I'm sorry, Joan, dear, but that's just one of the things you'll have to trust me about.
There you are, Joan. Now, what did I tell you? Your mother and Captain Bradford are just as mysterious as any of those scientists of G-47s.
They seem to be. However, I shall not question their actions again. Mystery is not objectionable when it accomplishes a purpose.
Thank you, my dear.
Oh, all right then. Let's forget it. But I'm worried about that smoke. The smell is getting stronger all the time.
We might feel the wall and determine how near this room the fire is.
That would do very little, if any, good, Joan. Unless the heat were terrific, the soundproofing and fireproofing of these walls would resist rises in temperature.
Fine thing this is. Right in the middle of a fire, and we can't even see it.
I think that is very fortunate. If we must be in the middle of a fire, it is best that we cannot see it or feel it.
Yeah, I know, but we're missing all the fun.
Well, it might not be very funny, Jerry, out in that hall with fire all around you.
Well, I didn't mean to be funny.
Jerry, why do you say so many things you do not mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Jerry has a habit of talking to keep up the spirits of the meeting. It's not a bad habit at that.
Mother, the green signal light.
Did you see one of them go on?
Yes, it flashed on and off very quickly.
Which one, Joan?
I did not turn my head quickly enough to locate the flash, but I'm sure I saw it.
Then we must all watch the board carefully.
Mm-hmm. There it is again.
Yes, on the extreme left end of the central row of lights.
I saw it. That's the rear service door.
Isn't that the same door the fellow went out after he started the fire?
Yes, why, Jerry?
Oh, well, he must be coming back to finish the job.
Perhaps the fire was purely local, designed to hold us in this room so that he might make a search of the rest of the house.
Nice going, Joan.
That is possible, but I doubt it. Oh, there's the next light. He's starting up the stairs, the service stairs.
Mother, is it not possible that this might be the captain?
Golly whiskers, Joan. You're right. It's Tex coming to get us out. Come on, let's open the door.
Jerry, don't open that door.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Gregory, but, I thought maybe...
I know what you thought, Jerry, but you're wrong. That isn't Captain Bradford, nor is it Johnson.
Well, if he's planning to go into that study and steal something now, he must know that the fire can't get to him. And if it can't get to him, it can't be all over the house.
That's logical, Jerry, and under ordinary conditions, I'd say that we should try to find out what's going on. But when we're sure that the city contains one or more enemies, our best move is to make no move.
I believe Mother is right, Jerry.
Well, maybe she is. But that guy's getting closer to the study all the time. Now, look at those green lights flash now.
Mother, was that not the large central alarm light, the one for the study?
Yes, Joan, it was.
Then the study's being worked on right now.
At least the door was tried and probably... No, look.
The next light. Down this way, isn't it?
Yes.
What room is that, Mother?
Just a large closet, nothing of value. Really just a space on this side of the study.
Any more rooms between us and the study?
No, only a rather long hall.
I think the person setting off those alarms is coming to this room.
I'll bet he is, too.
But the fire...
Well, if he started it, maybe he knows how to put it out.
Oh, it's not easy to put out fires that have been burning as long as this one has.
Is it possible to open this door from the outside?
Only with keys, which Johnson and Tex have.
Then we're safe as long as that door holds. Say, he's trying this door.
Well, sit still. He can't get in.
Now the light for this room has gone out.
Oh, boy. Well, he gave up easy. Maybe the smoke out there in the hall was too much for him.
If we watch the lights, we'll soon know where he's going.
Mother, the door.
Huh? Door?
The smoke is coming in around it.
He's getting the door open.
Steady in there.
Tex!
Captain Bradford!
It did sound like his voice.
Come on. Everything's all right.
It is, Tex.
Oh, I can only see smoke.
I'm inside the smoke. Come out in the hall and we'll get a window open here.
What happened, Tex? Where's the fire?
Right in that smoke pot on the floor. Here, give me a hand to raise this window, Jerry.
Aye, aye, sir.
Now, we can all have a little fresh air.
Oh, Tex, what in the world has happened?
Well, several things. I'll go over them just as quickly as I can. But I think we'd better stay right here in this window. I want to watch for Johnson.
There is something strange about this smoke, Captain Bradford.
I was wondering which of you would notice it first.
No, I don't notice it yet. It's smoke, and it's just as smoky as any smoke I ever smelled.
But it does not injure your eyes, Jerry.
Huh?
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't hurt your throat.
Why?
Our Euclidean friends at work again. And that smoke is one of their little tricks. Probably designed to create fright and give the impression of a fire without causing any injury or discomfort.
Well, where would that get them?
Wasn't someone in here?
Of course. And we traced them to the study.
Right, and the plan was to work in the study without interruption, as this smoke drove you out of the house the quickest way, which meant this window.
But we were in a room that was practically airtight, and the smoke did not penetrate enough to disturb us.
Right again, and our friend got discouraged and left.
How would anyone be so sure which room we were in?
Well, for some time, you've been using the radio. And a person clever enough to have a diagram of this whole house and know the shortest route to the study would naturally know where the radio room was.
Why, yes, I should have thought of that.
These Euclideans work so fast they leave a lot of things around we should have thought of.
And are you certain, Captain Bradford, that a Euclidean was our visitor?
Positive. Thales was the man.
Well, that isn't very surprising. We've known for a long time that Thales was in Los Angeles.
But is he alone?
I think not, Joan.
Did other Euclideans come ashore from the submarine which pursued us here?
Not much doubt of it.
Did anyone see them?
Not leaving the submarine. Both these boats are gone. Back to Euclidia, I suppose.
That would be correct, Captain.
Then how do you know any more of those scientists landed?
I can't prove it, but here's what happened. Just after a Coast Guard flyer reported he'd seen two strange-looking submarines in the water, subs disappeared.
But they must have landed men before that.
Not so fast, Pat. I think they landed after that.
After the submarines disappeared?
Sure.
Jerry, have you forgotten how easily we landed from a submerged vessel?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Well, not long after the subs were reported, a smart newspaper reporter and a cameraman hired a water taxi and tore off out into the channel. They found four men, feebly swimming around the water and calling for help. Naturally, they dragged them aboard and tried to question them. But the four rescued men suddenly came to life and tossed the surprised newsboys and the owner of the boat overboard. Then they headed for Long Beach, and that's the last seen of them.
What about the water taxi?
It was found abandoned at one of the landings.
Did the 3 men who were thrown in the water describe the 4 men who threw them overboard?
That's the sad part of it. Those boys were picked up a few minutes later, as the water was black with boats by that time. But all they could say about the 4 men from the sub was that their faces were covered with black, as if they'd been through a fire or explosion.
Gee, maybe the submarine blew up with them.
Jerry, I am ashamed of you.
Well, what's wrong with that? Boats have blown up.
Not Euclidean boats, but in this case, it was only a quickly adopted disguise.
That's exactly what it was.
Well, didn't they learn anything from the voices? I should think that peculiar, high-pitched monotone of the Euclideans would have caught their attention.
The 4 men never spoke after those first faint cries for help. And a cry for help, even in a foreign language, sounds very much like any other cry for help.
Then you think we've got 4 more of those Euclideans on shore to worry about?
I'm sure of it, Jerry.
Have you a plan, Captain?
I've got several. We may have to try them all before we get away.
Get away? Tex, you're not going to run away from this, are you?
You bet I am, and I'm going to run straight to that island again.
But what can we do that we didn't do before?
We're working on that now. Johnson's rounding up a fleet of fast yachts and several other things, including a large amount of the chemicals necessary to compound my formula.
You're determined to go back and attempt to take over Euclidia?
Certainly. We haven't any choice, Pat. With at least 5 Euclideans in Los Angeles, and probably more, we're just as safe on the high seas or on Euclidia as we are here.
Oh, boy, we're going back to the Magic Island.
Oh, no, Jerry, you're not going.
But, Mother,
I'm sorry, Joan, but I've explained that to you carefully. You and Jerry will remain here in school where you'll be safe.
Yeah, we'll be safe with a town full of Euclideans.
But, Jerry...
Looks like you're going to have to give in, Pat.
Tex, you don't mean
I think it's best to take the youngsters along.
Did you hear that, Joan?
we will be going back to Euclidia.
But, Tex, the danger
The danger
of it...
would be greater for Jerry and Joan if they stayed here without us. All those Euclideans would have to do would be to kidnap either one of them. And our plans would have to go overboard while we rushed back here and tried to rescue them.
Sure. The captain's right, Mrs. Gregory. And Joan and I can help you a lot, too.
To be sure we can, and we will.
Oh, I don't doubt that, but...
Now,
oh,
Pat, you might as well forget it. None of us can make any plans to lead a normal life in this world until we break up that colony of G-47s. And the sooner we get started, the better. We're going back to Euclidia.
Back to the island of Euclidia, the magic island of the South Pacific Ocean. That's the plan of the Gregory party, which had so many weird adventures there before. At one time, and not so long ago, our friends had but one thought, to escape from Euclidia. Now they're planning to return to the strange island, but this time they'll be much better prepared to guard themselves against the weapons of G-47 and his scientists. In the library of Mrs. Gregory's beautiful home in Los Angeles, Captain Bradford is explaining his preparations for the trip. The clock is striking 12, midnight, and Mrs. Gregory, Jerry, and Joan seem greatly excited as the captain outlines his ideas.
The thing I want you all to understand is this. There's just as much danger in this trip as there was in the last one, possibly more.
that's the part that I can't understand, Tex. You admit we'll be going into certain danger, and yet you're willing to take Joan and Jerry into that danger with us.
The captain has explained all that, Mother.
Oh, sure he has, Mrs. Gregory. It'd be a lot more dangerous for Joan and I to stay here than it will be with you.
That's it, exactly.
You 3 seem to understand it perfectly. But somehow I can't quite admit that a trip to that strange island is as safe as anything else.
Do you not understand that there are at least 5 of the Euclideans here in Los Angeles?
I realize that,
And you
Joan,
know
but-
they're going to watch Joan and me pretty close.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Well, we'll do it together.
Now you're talking like your old self, Pat. This is the first time I've ever known you to hesitate where an adventure was concerned.
I am glad you're willing to have Jerry and me with you, Mother.
Boy, so am I. When do we start, Captain Bradford?
Within the next few minutes, Johnson is completing preparations at the harbor, and we will leave there when he telephones.
Boy, I'd like to be down there helping him right now.
There's a good reason why you're not doing that, Jerry. We've got to preserve as much secrecy about this thing as possible. So I doubt if we're making a move that the Euclideans don't know all about.
You may be very sure on that point, Captain. If you have made any move visible to eyes other than your own, some one of the Euclidean agents has observed it.
That's why I'm so worried about the outcome of this whole thing. Those scientists know everything we intend to do almost before we know it ourselves.
Well, that's what I say. Why not come right out and tell them what we're going to do? We're losing a lot of time trying to hide things from them, and if they can find them out anyway, why not save that much time and get going?
These Euclideans are clever, but they haven't learned all the tricks. When we sail out of the harbor this time, we'll have a trick or two on board that G-47 won't know a thing about.
Are you quite confident that that is possible, Captain?
You bet I am, Joan.
But, Tex, you've had so little time to prepare anything, and they've spent their lives working miracles on that island.
Oh, it's not as bad as all that, Pat. They haven't worked any miracles on Euclidia either. G-47 and his scientists are merely a clever group of men who are devoting their lives and unlimited money to the study of science. There are hundreds of men in the world who could do the same things if they had the time and the money.
That is possible, Captain Bradford. And I have seen enough of your work to assure me that you could equal, if not surpass, the Euclideans in scientific work if you had given the same concentrated effort to it. But you have not. And it would seem to me that the advantage was with them now just as it was before.
Well, now look here, Joan. You haven't even given the captain a chance to tell us what surprises he's got ready for those men on the island.
And I'm afraid I can't tell you all about them just now. But when we're safely on the boat and out on the high seas, I'll explain the whole thing to all of you.
Why, Tex, you don't think we're being spied on here, do you?
Probably not.
Probably. I thought Mother's home was so well guarded that it was impossible for anyone to observe anything they were not supposed to see here.
I thought that once. Now I know better.
Oh, gee. What makes you say that, Captain?
Yes, Tex. You seem very sure that this home is no longer entirely safe.
Have you forgotten what happened to you three here this afternoon?
You mean that Euclidean sneaking in here and making us believe the house was on fire so he could have time to steal your valuable papers out of the study?
Well, not only that.
I felt that we were exaggerating our safety here.
But how, Tex? How?
You discovered our private phone line to the harbor was tapped, didn't you?
Yes, but it was surely tapped outside the house and probably outside the grounds.
Right, but it was tapped. Though it's hidden underground in a maze of cables that all look alike.
Well, what if they did tap the wire? They can't use that wire to listen in on us now, can they, in this library?
No, they can't do that. But they have been using our line for their communications. And what I've learned about their plans proves that they know all about ours.
You have proof of this, Captain?
Yes, and I'll show you in a minute. Jerry,
Yes, sir?
will you turn the radio on?
Sure.
Throw that knob on this side over to the right, Jerry.
Oh, like this?
Yeah, that's right. Now open the top and start that turntable. The record I want you to hear is on there now. Now, if you'll all be quiet, you'll hear something interesting.
Are you ready for your instructions, S1?
I am ready.
You
Gee,
will
that
observe
girl submarine
this
commander.
And Bailey's also.
Tex, where did you get that record?
I can see that we're not going to get anywhere this way. Better stop that record. I'll explain it, Jerry.
Okay, stop it is.
I am sorry that I spoke, Captain Bedford.
And I'm sorry also, Tex. But those voices upset me so that I didn't stop to think.
Well, who would stop to think when you play a phonograph in your own home and those crazy Euclideans start popping out at you?
Well, I'll explain that, but first, did you recognize those voices?
Why, we're sure
Hold
to
on a minute. One at a time. Now, you started, Joan.
There was no doubt as to the identity of the voices. The man was Thales, chief electrical expert on Euclidia, and the girl was the submarine commander who helped us to escape from the island.
What do you say, Pat?
Well, I'm not as familiar with those voices as Joan is, but I'd certainly agree with her.
Jerry?
Yeah, me too. That's who it was, all right. But how did they get there?
Well, I'll tell you. Now, when you were in the radio room this afternoon, Mrs. Gregory showed you the automatic recording device attached to our phone lines, didn't she?
Sure. We recorded what you said when we were locked in there and thought the house was on fire.
Then you'll understand where this record came from. I took it off the recording machine in the radio room about an hour ago.
Tex, Thales is using our private wire to send messages to that girl submarine commander at the harbor?
No doubt of it. They made sure the wire was clear. But when they didn't think that we might have a recorder on the line, they certainly slipped up.
Sure seems funny for those smart guys to miss an easy one like that.
I think it was not so easy, Jerry.
Huh? How come?
Had they suspected a recorder at all, it would have been logical to find it on the ordinary telephone line into your home. But why should they think you would want to record your own private conversations?
I think that's right, Joan. But at any rate, they did fall into the trap, and we know something of their plans. Or did you get that much on the record?
Not as much as I would have liked, but plenty to show us that some Euclidean knows every time we take a breath.
Well, let's play the record again, and everybody still keep still all over.
Go to it, son.
I won't make a sound.
Nor will I.
Are you ready for your instructions, S1?
I am ready.
You will observe this to the letter.
I am waiting.
You will prepare to follow the Gregory boat. They will sail at midnight or shortly thereafter. Report on condition of your command.
My command is Patrol 1A, fueled for 10,000 miles.
You have received your instructions from G47.
My course to Euclidia is to depend entirely on actions of Gregory boat.
Correct.
Do you have additional instructions for my command?
I do, as follows. You are to make no move to hinder progress of Gregory boat. You will not allow them to see you. You will not communicate with them. Allow no other craft to contact them by means other than radio. You will take any steps necessary to enforce this. That is all.
Your orders will be executed. That is all.
Well, as she said, that's all.
Is that all there is on the record?
That's enough, isn't it?
Far too much.
Shut it off, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
And what do you think of that?
It's almost unbelievable, Tex. They even knew the hour we expected to sail.
And if we had not been delayed waiting for Johnson's call, we would have sailed at 12.
We'll be underway by 1 anyhow.
Then we'd better be on the way.
We're leaving at once. Your stuff all here, Jerry?
Oh, yes, sir. Right here with me.
Then come on, Pat. You and I'll check things over in the radio room for a minute. Better take that record along, Jerry.
Oh, yes, sir.
Do you wish me to come with you, Mother?
No, Joan, dear. You remain here with Jerry. And please, both of you, stay right in this room.
Yes, Mother.
Well, I'd better get this record like the captain said.
Jerry, I think I am afraid.
You're what?
I think I am afraid.
Well, don't you know if you're afraid or not?
I am not at all sure that I know what fear is. We do not know fear on Euclidia. The sensation is strange to me.
Well, I've been scared often enough. I can tell you if that's what's the matter with you. How does it feel?
I feel as if there were something creeping up my back. Something small and very cold. The back of my neck has strange chills running through it. Oh.
Oh, boy. You're scared stiff. Well, I wish you hadn't told me about it quite so well. Now, I've got those creepy things running up and down my back.
I have never felt like this before. I do not like it.
Golly, nobody likes to be scared half to death. But what got into you all at once? You've taken me through plenty of places on that funny island where I got goose pimples all over me, and it didn't bother you a bit.
That is why this feeling is so strange to me, Jerry. I did not know fear on Euclidia. But now, though I have been in this beautiful home of my mother's only a few hours, a change has come over me. I have learned something of comfort, of beauty, of the sort of happy, foolish fun young people in your world have. And with it, fear has come.
You felt safer on Euclidia than you do in Hollywood?
Not that, Jerry. There was always danger on Euclidia, but I was part of it. Now I am not. Now your world is my world. And I realize how helpless your world is against such a man as G-47 and his scientists.
Yeah, I know how you feel. But don't forget that we've got Captain Bradford, and that girl submarine commander's on our side, too.
I have told you before that you put too much faith in that girl, Jerry.
Well, she hasn't hurt us any yet. Gee, there's the telephone. That'll be Johnson calling from the harbor.
Should you not answer the telephone?
No. Your mother or the captain will get it upstairs. Where's your things?
My things?
Yeah, your suitcase. You know, your clothes.
I have nothing, Jerry. Mother and I were to have visited your stores tomorrow.
Oh, well, never mind, Joan. We'll see all the things I promised to show you when we come back next time.
Jerry, when will next time be?
Golly, Joan, I don't know.
No, Jerry. You do not know when we will return. Mother does not know. Captain Bradford does not know. Oh, Jerry, I am afraid.
For the second time, the Gregory party leaves Los Angeles Harbor on a cruise to the Magic Island. Only a few short months ago, Mrs. Gregory, Captain Tex Bradford, and Jerry Hall sailed from this harbor in search of a mysterious island in the South Pacific. An island on which a little white girl was supposed to be living with a strange colony of people. We know this was true, for Mrs. Gregory found her daughter Joan, now 15 years old, on the weird island where she had spent 14 of her 15 years. 2 boats were lost in attempts to escape from the island. And finally, a stolen submarine made it possible for our friends to reach Los Angeles. As they leave the harbor behind in the inky blackness of the early morning, Joan and her mother are talking in their cabin on the boat.
I did not see much of your beautiful country, Mother.
I know, Joan, dear, and I'm sorry. But Captain Bradford and I agreed that you and Jerry would be much safer with us than if you had remained in Los Angeles.
That is possibly true, and of course I am happy to be with you, Mother. But it all seems so foolish.
Foolish?
Yes.
In what way, Joan?
Anything useless is foolish, is it not?
Yes, but...
And this voyage is quite useless.
How can you say that, Joan? Don't you realize that we're performing a real service to the world by returning to that island and putting those scientists under control?
I realize that such might be the case if you could do it.
We're going to do it.
I am not so sure.
Now, Joan, you've spent nearly all your life on that island, and you're far more impressed with the power of those Euclidean scientists than I am.
Yet you admit that they have advanced to a degree that your world cannot hope to contend with.
Of course, I admit that. But Captain Bradford knows what he's doing every time he starts out to do anything. And while taking over that island may be the biggest job he's ever attempted, we'll come out all right.
I hope so, for your sake.
Joan, dear, you're very depressed. And that's unusual for you.
I am sorry that you should see me so, Mother. On Euclidia, we are taught to display no emotion. That did not seem difficult while I was there. But after a glimpse of your world, I realize that emotions are very necessary things. It is better to feel sorrow than to feel nothing at all.
I think I understand, dear. And one of these days, we'll come back home again and stay there all the rest of our lives.
I hope so.
Oh, boy. I'm sorry. I thought this was my cabin.
That's all right, Jerry. Come on in and talk to us for a while.
I didn't mean to come busting in like that, but Captain Bradford said this was the cabin that he and I were going to use.
Well, that's my fault, Jerry. I thought this one would be more convenient for Joan and me, and I had our things brought in here.
Oh, hello, Joan.
How do you do?
Oh, what's the matter with you?
Not a thing.
Well, you look to me like everything was wrong.
Joan's feeling badly about leaving home so suddenly, Jerry, and I can't say that I blame her. We promised to show her a great many things in our world, and in less than 48 hours after landing in Los Angeles, we're leaving it again.
Yeah, I know how you feel, Joan. I felt sort of funny, too, when I had to run away without saying goodbye to Dad.
You did not see your father?
No.
Jerry, do you mean that you left on this trip without getting your father's permission?
Well, he knew I wanted to come with you, and he didn't say I couldn't. But when I went home the last time to get my clothes, well, I couldn't find him.
I'm very sorry about that, Jerry. You should send him a radio message at least. And if he doesn't want you to go, well, we'll put about and take you back to the harbor at once.
Oh, now, you won't have to do that. Dad knows I'm just as safe here with you as I would be in Hollywood with Euclideans all over the place.
How far have we come from Los Angeles?
Well, the captain said we were just 25 miles out when I left him in the radio room.
We're making good time then.
We sure are. But it's a long way to Magic Island.
Yes, and many things may happen before we arrive there.
Gee whiz, Joan, you give me the willies.
Jerry?
Yes, Mrs. Gregory?
Why don't you take Joan out on deck? She's doing too much thinking about this cruise.
I do not care to go out on deck.
Boy, you're sure good company.
Now, Joan, dear, I want you to go with Jerry. Now, I have a number of things to do here. Putting the cabin in order, and a turn around the deck will do you both a lot of good. Then we must get some rest.
4 bells. 2 o'clock in the morning. Does that remind you of anything, Mrs. Gregory?
Well, it reminds me that it's long after bedtime.
No, I didn't mean that. Don't you remember the last time we sailed out of the harbor to look for Joan and that island? The ship's clock struck 4 bells as we left the harbor.
Why, that's right, Jerry. And a lot has happened since then.
And much more will happen before we return here.
Oh, stop that crying around, will you? Come on out on deck and we'll look at the dark.
You cannot see the dark.
Oh, maybe not. But you sure can't see anything else when it is dark.
You could see light very easily in the dark.
Now, you two stop arguing and go out.
We'll go out, Mrs. Gregory. But don't make Joan stop arguing. When she argues, I know she's all right. Come on, Joan. We'll look the boat over.
I will not be long, Mother.
Stay as long as you wish. It'll do you good.
Boy, isn't this a swell night, Joan?
It is a very dark night.
Oh, sure. But it makes me feel good to get out in the water and smell the salt air.
I am glad you like it.
Joan Gregory, you listen to me. If you don't snap out of it and hold your chin up, I'm going to quit trying to talk to you at all.
It might be as well, since you say nothing when you speak.
Oh, is that so? All right. Come on, then. We'll walk around the deck like your mother wants us to. But I won't say a word to you. Not a word. Did you hear me? I'm not going to talk to you.
Very well.
Why don't you say something?
I prefer the silence.
All right, all right. You'll get it. Sounds sort of funny when I don't talk, huh?
I could not say. You are always talking.
What's the matter with you? You don't like it when I talk, and you don't like it when I keep still. You don't like it in the cabin, and now you don't like it out here on the deck.
That's you, Jerry. Just started out to find you.
Yeah, it's me. And Joan.
You two can hear something mighty interesting. Come on the radio cabin.
What is it, Captain Bradford?
We know that girl submarine commander is following us in a Euclidean submarine. I think we're now hearing one of the scientists on the island talking to her by radio.
Gee, let's hurry up and see about it. Come on, Joan.
I think it is very doubtful, Captain.
We ought to pick up the island easy enough if their signal is strong enough to be heard in the submarine.
Oh, sure we could. Is it set on now, Captain?
Right where I heard the signals before.
Well, then let's listen in. Maybe we'll hear them again.
Was it the voice of G-47 you heard, Captain?
No, it didn't sound like him, but the signal was so faint I couldn't be sure.
If it was not G-47, you were not listening to the island.
Hey, he isn't the only scientist who knows how to run that transmission set.
No, but he is the only one who would be issuing instructions under these conditions.
Well, how can you be sure of that, Joe?
The Euclidean submarine which is following us is under orders now. Those orders will not be changed except in an emergency, at which time G-47 would give the orders.
Well, maybe there's an emergency we don't know anything about. Maybe that girl commander's having trouble with the boat.
Might be that.
I think not. Euclidean submarines do not have trouble.
Now, wait a minute, Joan. Before you figure the captain's all wrong, why don't you find out what it is he thought he heard?
Very well.
Well, I know what I heard. That girl submarine commander was talking to one of the Euclideans, and she was being ordered to change her course.
S1 to control. S1 to control.
There she is now.
Quiet, Jerry. Well, Joan?
It did sound like the commander, and she was calling the radio control. That could mean but one thing, the main transmission
S1
chamber on
to
Euclidia.
control. Commander S1 requesting control beams. Commander S1 to base control.
Well, she's not getting any action very fast.
Doesn't that sound as if she's calling the island, Joan?
It does indeed. Her request for a control beam from base control can mean but one thing. She is in difficulty or has unusual news to report.
Why doesn't someone on Euclidia answer?
There may be some reason for the signals going unanswered.
Can you think of any of the reasons?
A sudden change in plans, which will be given to her as soon as they are formulated.
But couldn't they call her and tell her that?
Certainly not.
Funny way these Euclideans have of playing this game. One of their best submarine commanders asking for a radio beam. And they won't even bother to answer a signal. They make up their minds what to tell her.
Commander S1 to Gregory Boat. S1 to Gregory Boat.
Hey, Tex, she's calling us.
Let's find out what she wants.
Commander S1 calling Gregory Boat. You will answer at once.
Yeah, she's calling us all right.
Steady, Jerry. This may be a trick of some kind. What do you think, Joan?
This is most unusual, Captain. We know that she is following us in a Euclidean submarine, but we also know that she has orders to follow us to Euclidia and do nothing to hinder our progress toward the island.
Then you don't know any more about what she might have in mind than we do.
I have no way of determining that.
Well, then let's take a chance and ask her if she might have.
S1 calling the Gregory Boat. You will answer immediately. Your safety depends on answer. S1 to Gregory Boat. Waiting. Waiting.
Our safety depends on it, she said.
Well, maybe we're in some danger that she knows about.
It might be advisable to answer.
Well, I'll take your advice, Joan, but it sounds like a trick to me. Captain Bradford on Gregory Boat. Calling Commander S1. Bradford to S1. Go ahead, S1. Go ahead.
You are very slow in your response, Captain Bradford. I have information for you. Listen carefully. Do you hear me clearly? Answer.
Go ahead, S1. We are getting you perfectly. Go ahead.
You are well aware of my mission. My submarine is following you at a distance of 100 yards and at a depth of 4 fathoms.
Boy, she's close to us.
My orders are to see that you reach the island in safety. That safety is threatened. Thales on board. Personal revenge. Thales on board. Revenge. Search.
Gee, she faded out. She started to tell us something about Thales being on board a boat, and that was the end of it.
Wait for a minute. Commander S1. Bradford to S1. You faded out. Repeat your message. Bradford calling S1. Can you hear me, S1? Well, whatever happened, it sure silenced her radio set. Not a sound from her now.
Apparently, Thales is planning to take matters into his own hands. He is seeking revenge.
Revenge for what?
Did the captain not outwit him in Los Angeles?
Well, I guess I did at that. I managed to record his voice, but How
Yeah.
could he know that?
Well, how could a lot of things happen? This is getting more mixed up all the time. Now, Thales is on board that submarine with a girl planning to do something to our boat, and she tried to warn us.
Looks that way, Jerry, and from the way her message was faded out, I'd say Thales had taken command of the sub away from her.
Yeah, and she said Thales on board, and she didn't sound like she wanted him there either.
Captain Jerry!
Yes, what is it?
Her warning meant more than that. How stupid of me not to realize instantly just how great our danger was. When she said Thales on board, she meant on board this boat.
On
Thales is
board
on
this
our boat?
Precisely. Thales is on this boat.
During the time when Mrs. Gregory and her friends were prisoners on the island of Euclidia, they were helped more than once by the beautiful young girl who commands one of the Euclidean submarines. Now it seems that the girl is helping them again. As the boat carrying the Gregory party leaves Los Angeles Harbor and strikes out into the open sea, Captain Bradford receives a strange message on the boat's radio. Jerry Hall and Joan Gregory join the captain in the radio room. They hear the voice of the girl submarine commander warning them that Thales, the Euclidean electrical wizard, is on board their boat. The captain begins a search of the boat and sends Jerry to remain with Mrs. Gregory and Joan.
But, Joan, dear, I can't believe it.
I can't figure out how that guy could be on board, but the girl submarine commander seemed to be pretty sure he was.
Where could he be hiding?
The captain is now making a thorough search of the boat.
Well, this isn't a very large boat, Joan. It doesn't sound possible.
I think, Mother, we will find that the submarine commander was correct.
Those Euclideans don't make many mistakes, but there isn't much room on here for anybody to hide.
What are the accommodations?
This cabin of ours, Joan, and we're sure no one is hiding in here.
Granted.
And then the cabin that Jerry and the captain are sharing.
No, there's nobody under my bed. I looked.
That leaves only the radio cabin, which is out of the question as a hiding place, and the small cabin shared by the engineer and cook.
That is our entire personnel.
Yep, that's all of them. The cook and the engineer stand watches at the wheel in the daytime, and Tex and I take turns at night.
So you see, Joan, with a crew of that size and barely room to accommodate all of us, the chances of some man being a stowaway are very remote.
Yes, it would be very difficult to hide on this small boat.
And there's mighty little space down below. We're carrying extra fuel drums in every place we could squeeze one in. Johnson sure knows how to load a boat.
Of course, we're short-handed, but no one knows what conditions we'll have to face at the island. And we must have room for our old boat captain and engineer when we're able to rescue them.
Golly, that's right. McLeod, the Scotch engineer, and the old Yep-and-Nope skipper are still prisoners on the island.
They will not be harmed, I think.
Probably not, but they must be very worried about what's going to happen to them and what's happened to us.
Well, at the speed this boat's making, it won't be many days until they find out.
Jerry, do not allow yourself to be carried away by a false feeling of security. That girl commander said Thales was on this boat. Therefore, Thales is on this boat.
Well, he isn't here if he can't be found, Joan.
I would not depend on that, Mother.
Now, look, Joan, you're getting scared over nothing.
Well, we'll soon know what Tex has learned. Come in.
What'd you find out, Captain?
Come in and tell us, Tex.
I didn't find out a thing. I've been all over this boat with a fine-tooth comb. There's no one on board but ourselves, the engineer, and the cook.
Now, what did I tell you, Joan?
Are you quite sure there is no room for a stowaway?
It's out of the question. Remember, this boat is a whole lot too small for the trip we're making. Every spare inch of space is crowded with fuel drums. There isn't a place for a cat to hide and stay hidden.
I can believe that, Tex. And how in the world you got as much stuff on board as you did is beyond me. But if this Euclidean is not on board, what did that girl's message mean?
Oh, I think it was just done to scare us.
And you still insist that Commander is friendly toward us?
Well, I don't know.
No, I think her advice was honest enough. She may have known that Thales intended to stow away with us. He didn't get on, so we can quit worrying about it.
Captain Bradford,
Yes, Joan?
who are the other two members of the crew?
Oh, Joan, your mother told you, the engineer and the cook.
Yes, but I mean, who are they? How long have you known them?
Why, Joan, you don't suggest
Yes,
that...
Mother. That is just what I do suggest.
I'm afraid you're way off on that, Joan. Johnson and I have known both men for years.
Golly whiskers, Joan. You don't expect to find one of those Euclidean scientists working for your mother, do you?
Is it so impossible? Mother and the captain have been associated with many men of science.
You're all wrong, Joan. But I'll get them in here. Let you question them if you want to.
I think it advisable.
Joan, you'll be very careful, won't you?
Careful.
Yes, careful about your questions. If either of these men felt they were suspected of anything, it would be unfair to them, and they wouldn't be inclined to give us their best efforts during the cruise.
I understand, Mother. I will be careful.
All right. Jerry,
Yes, sir.
go out and send the cook in here, will you? Just tell him I'd like to see him for a moment.
Okay, I'll get him.
And you might stay there with the engineer until the cook comes back and try and act innocent.
Oh, I got it, sir. I'll send the cook right in.
Now, Joan, I'd like to add just a word of warning to what your mother told you. Both of these men have worked for us and with us for years. And they're going to be mighty sensitive about any questioning as to their loyalty to us.
I understand perfectly, Captain. Now, this cook who is coming in first, who is he?
He's Chinese, named Jim Lo. We picked him up 9 years ago when your mother and I went to the Forbidden City of Tibet. He's high caste, fine family, well educated, but enjoys speaking pidgin English just to make it hard to understand him.
But you have known him for 9 years?
Yes, Joan. He's been with us all of that time. When he was not on a trip with the captain and me, he was with Johnson in Los Angeles.
If you please, let me do all of this.
Very well, Joan. Come in.
You want to see me, Captain?
No, Jim. My daughter Joan wanted to see you.
I see Daughter Joan. Daughter Joan, see me. What does she want?
A long time ago, when I was a little girl, a Chinese gentleman lived on the island where my home was. I wanted to know if you could be the same. You look very like the man I know.
All Chinese look alike to blind American who can see only color of skin. I have never lived on island.
And you have been with my mother and the captain a long time?
Long time. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. But never see you. Never live on island. You got Chinese gentleman friend. He is very lucky have friend such pretty little girls. I do not have such luck.
Thank you for coming. You're very kind.
That's all, Jim. Here we go now.
And will you please ask the engineer to come in?
Is engineer also long time no see gentleman friend who live on island?
Oh, no, Jim. The engineer is unmistakably a Swedish gentleman.
Maybe Swedish. Very funny talk. Sometime I teach him speak English like Jim Law. I got him. Send him in.
Well, Joan?
No, he was not Thales.
Did you really think he might be?
I think it would be wise to suspect everyone.
But if Thales had been Chinese, wouldn't you have known that a long time ago?
No. Everyone on Euclidia wears the dark glasses which control the ultraviolet light. The color of the skin or of the hair, the sound of the voice, all those might be a part of a disguise. Only the eyes remain the same. On rare occasions, I have seen a few of the Euclideans without their glasses. I will know Thales by his eyes.
Well, you won't find out much from our engineer. He's a Swede, and a very broad one at that. But he's been around us too long to have any connection with that island.
You are probably right, Captain. Nevertheless, it will be interesting to observe him closely.
I was wondering, Joan, if it might not be better to let the captain question Mr. Peterson. He can ask him a lot of routine questions about the boat, and that will give you an opportunity to study him.
Good idea.
We will try it that way.
Come in. Right on in, Pete.
Oh, I am in now.
Good evening, Mr. Peterson.
Good morning, Mrs. Gregory. Isn't anybody ever going to go to sleep on this trip?
We've had a lot to talk about, Pete, after rushing out of the harbor the way we did. That's the reason I wanted to see you. You've checked everything on board?
Oh, yeah, sure. And I don't find this hiding collar you of us looking for.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to give that up as a bad job. We had a notion that someone we didn't want was riding with us. But we'll take it for granted he didn't get aboard. Now, what I want to know is, how did your stores check?
Oh, we got stores enough to go to Australia.
Well, we've only got to go about half that far. Are you sure all the fuel drums have fuel in them?
Oh, yeah, sure, I'm sure. What else you put in oil drums except oil?
Well, we did get pretty badly fooled by one once, Pete, when we wanted oil and got turpentine. But if you say this is oil, it's oil.
Everything is just what it's supposed to be.
And there isn't any room anywhere on the boat for a man to be hiding?
There isn't room enough on this boat for the ones that's supposed to be going along. A stowaway would have to be hanging on the anchor.
Well, that seems to be that. Now, can either of you think of any other precautions we might ask Pete to take?
I'm sure I can't. Perhaps Joan. Oh, Mr. Peterson, this is my daughter, Joan.
How do you do?
Hello to you, too.
Mr. Peterson, are you sure the cook is capable of handling this boat while you are not on watch?
Jim Lowe can handle anything, Miss Yohn. Was there anything else, Captain?
No, guess that's all of it, Pete. You and Jim figure out the watches, and Jerry and I'll split with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. We figure him out.
Well, Joan, you got fooled, didn't you?
I am not sure.
Huh? Why not?
Joan, dear, surely you don't believe that...
I do not know what I believe at this moment.
Now, look here, Joan. I've known that Swede a long time. While he's a swell marine engineer on small boats, that's all he is.
Well, you're all excited over nothing, Joan.
Possibly.
Couldn't you see that Peterson is exactly what he claims to be?
I was interested in his eyes. And he wears such heavy glasses that it is impossible to tell what his eyes look like. My opinion is that he knew what I would be looking for. Did you not notice that he stared at me, even though he was addressing others in this cabin?
I noticed that, but I thought it was just because he hadn't seen you before.
I should think he'd try to avoid looking at you if he was afraid you'd recognize him.
No. It is impossible to study the eyes through glasses such as he wears. But if he had turned his head, I might have seen his eyes behind the glasses from the side.
But, Joan, your mother and the captain have known Peterson for a long time.
Yes, Jerry. We've had him with us on several of our cruises.
Do you know what his activities were between those cruises?
No, not exactly. But he's one of the most popular marine engineers out of San Pedro. I suppose he's busy when he isn't working for us.
Joan, would it be possible for one of the Euclidean scientists, Thales, for instance, to maintain a regular existence here and visit the island only on occasion?
Oh, to be sure it would. One of the fast Euclidean planes could easily take him to the island during the darkness of one night.
From here to the Magic Island in one night?
Naturally. The rocket-propelled planes will attain a speed of 1,000 miles per hour.
Only a little over 4 hours from here. Think of that.
Yes, I'm beginning to think Joan may be right.
You think Peterson may be Thales?
Well, he did a pretty good job of being a blind man on Hollywood Boulevard.
Why, that's terrible thought, Tex.
Well, it's not very pleasant to think we've got one of the Euclideans as a member of the crew.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, Captain. That girl submarine commander said Thales was after revenge. And maybe we're better off if we can keep him right here where we can watch him all the time.
That is logical, except for the fact that one of us would have to remain awake to watch him all the time.
Well, there are 4 of us. We should be able to do that.
Well, you're not going to. You and Joan are to keep yourselves locked up in this cabin for the rest of the trip. Jerry and I will bring your food to you. And Jerry and I will take turns staying awake to watch Peterson.
What do you think he'll try to do?
If revenge is his object, he will try to prevent our reaching Euclidia.
That's a pleasant prospect. The engineer on your boat trying to keep you from getting to the point you hired him to take you to.
If Thales has his way, we will never reach Euclidia.
On board the Gregory boat, the scene is one of quiet yet steady activity. The boat is plowing through the fishing banks off the coast of Lower California, Mexico. Mrs. Gregory and Joan, acting on Captain Bradford's orders, are locked in their cabin, while Jerry and the captain take turns at the wheel where they can keep an eye on the Swedish engineer, Peterson. After a radio message from the girl commander of the Euclidean submarine they know to be following them, Joan Gregory has hinted that Peterson may be the Euclidean electrical wizard Thales in disguise. Captain Bradford is just relieving Jerry at the wheel, and they stand talking before Jerry turns in for some much-needed rest.
I'm all right, Captain.
Yes, I know you're all right, but you're tired, Jerry.
Oh, that won't hurt me any.
Of course it won't. Be good for you if you get enough rest to make up for it. Now you run along and turn in.
Well, I'll go in a minute. But there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about first.
Well, maybe it'll relax you a little to talk. Go to it, Jerry.
Oh, for one thing, look at that barometer.
Huh? Well, looks like we might have a little weather.
Well, we're getting down into the right latitude for a Chubasco.
Well, we might get one at that. We're a little too far off the coast for one of those Mexican hurricanes to hit us very hard.
Well, just the same, I've got a notion we're going to get hit by one.
You ever ride one of those things out?
Yep. When I was only 12 years old, Dad took me on a deep-sea fishing cruise with him, and we got caught in a storm down there. The fishermen called it Chubasco, and it was sure something.
Yeah, they're mean, Jerry, and they come up quick.
Well, could we get through one in a boat like this?
Oh, I think so, if we were lucky enough to hit the edge of it, and we're out too far to get the center.
Well, this boat looks mighty small when you think how high those waves get, and that wind blows plenty.
That's bad, all right, Jerry, but we've got unusual engines in this boat. Nearly 3,000 horsepower. We can hold into the storm forever if we don't get swamped.
Yeah, if.
Well, we're not in any storm yet, and I don't believe we're going to get in any one, so stop worrying about it.
Okay, Skipper.
You said you had something else you want to talk to me about?
Yes. Well, it's sort of about the same thing, but it's about something else.
That's very clear, I'm sure. It's about the same thing, but it's something else.
Well, you know what I mean. It's about the storm, if we run into one, and about those powerful motors of ours.
You sound serious, son. Talk some more.
Well, you know how to run these motors, and I guess it's all right if you stay awake to watch them every minute. But if anything happens while I'm on watch, I'm not so sure I can handle it.
If anything happens to the motors? Well, that's not likely, but Peterson can do more with the marine engines than any men on the West Coast today.
I know he can, and I'm afraid he'll do it.
What?
Well, he knows just too plain much about those engines to suit me.
Yes, I'm beginning to see what you mean, Jerry. If we do run into a storm, those engines are going to mean the difference between getting out of that storm and not getting out of it. And if Peterson is his fellow Thales, he might not feel like helping us any.
That's what I meant.
Well, to tell you the truth, Jerry, I'm not the least worried about Joan's suspicions. Oh, of course, Pete could easily be spending part of his time on the island as one of those scientists. The rest of it around Los Angeles, posing as a marine engineer, but I just don't believe that's a story.
Well, I do. Jones says those men of G-47s are from every country in the world. And if Peterson is smart enough to be as good an electrical engineer as he is a marine engineer, well, he could be Thales easy enough.
Well, I'll admit there's room for your worries, kid, and I'll keep an eye on Pete if we run into trouble.
No, we won't have to run very far. Looks to me like we're in a storm right now.
No doubt of it now, Jerry. In mighty few minutes, we're going to be somewhere near the center of a man-sized hurricane.
Then I'm not going to turn in.
Afraid it wouldn't do you much good. You'd soon get turned out anyway.
Well, maybe I'd better go and wake up Mrs. Gregory and Joan.
Might as well. They're never going to be able to sleep through this, and they might feel better to be dressed and ready for it.
Well, I'll go and wake them up. Then I'll come back to you.
Be sure and tell them to put on plenty of warm clothing, some oilskins if they're coming out on deck.
Okay, Skipper. I'll tell them. Oh, boy. Those engines sound like the stern's coming clean out of the water.
Yes, who is it?
It's me, Jerry. You'd better get up and dress. We're running into a storm.
I can't hear you.
I said it's Jerry. You'd better get dressed. We're running into a storm. Put on a lot of warm clothes.
We're dressing now, Jerry. We'll put on our slippers and be out in a few minutes.
I'll be at the wheel with Tex.
We'll join you there.
They were already getting up, Tex.
Just as well. This thing is going to be bad. It's coming faster than anyone I ever saw. Must have sneaked up on us in the dark.
Everything's running all right, though.
Oh, we'll get through it, but we're liable to get pretty wet before it's all over.
Is it all right for Mrs. Gregory and Joan to come out here on the deck?
It is now, but if it gets too bad, they'll have to stay in their cabin.
The engineer seems to be making those engines behave.
He'd better. We wouldn't be any too happy here without motors.
Say, where's the cook?
He's trying to make some hot coffee, but I'll bet he's having trouble keeping the coffee pot on the stove.
Hey, that's too rough for me.
I don't know about this thing, Jerry. If it gets too bad, we'll use the radio and ask someone to stand by for us.
Nobody's going to come into the middle of this thing and try to find us in the dark.
No, but they could be waiting to pick us up when we get out on the edge of it.
Can you tell if we're in the worst part of it?
Well, we're not yet, but the trouble with these things is that you can't tell where the center of the storm is. We may be heading right for it.
Well, I hope it never gets any worse.
We'll be all right as long as those motors keep going and the rudder post stays in.
One of those Euclidean submarines would look pretty good to me right now.
It would at that, son. When you get down in the water a few fathoms, you never know there was a storm up here.
Our girlfriend must be right under us with her sub.
Yes, and that's an idea. Supposing you go to the radio shack and see if you can raise her. You may be glad she's following us before this thing's over.
You want me to go and do it right now?
Yes, and take Pat and Joan in there with you. It'll keep them from worrying about this storm.
Okay. I'll see if they're ready.
Is that you, Jerry?
Sure, it's me.
Where's Tex?
At the wheel. But he wants you to come into the radio shack with me. I'm going to call the girl commander in the submarine.
Are we in danger, Jerry?
No, but
I think we are. Joan, you go with Jerry. I'll join Tex at the wheel.
But Mrs. Gregory, the captain said for me to take you into the radio room.
I'll be responsible for that. You take Joan into the radio room and do as Tex orders.
Watch out for the spray when you pass that cabin.
Is the boat able to stand such a storm, Jerry?
I don't know. Come on. We've got to get busy in the radio shack.
Why do you call the radio cabin a shack?
Oh, for the love of mud, Joan. This is no time to ask questions. Now hang on to my coattail and we'll see if we can get around to the starboard side. Hang on tight, Joan.
I will, Jerry.
Boy, that's getting bad.
It does seem so on this little boat.
Well, this little boat is all we've got right now. Hope I can raise the commander on this thing.
What wavelength were you using the last time we talked with her?
3 meters?
Then she will be waiting for your signal on 3 meters.
I hope so. Commander S1. Jerry Hall to Commander S1. Gregory Boat, Euclidean submarine. Hello, sub. Jerry Hall to Commander S1.
Commander S1 to Gregory Boat. You may proceed, Jerry Hall. Proceed with your message.
Hello, Commander. Looks like we may need you before this is over. The storm is getting pretty bad up here on the surface. What can you do to help us out?
I will bring my command up to 3 fathoms. Drop your bow anchor at once. I will take your anchor with my stern magnetic fin. Reverse your motors. Run them at full speed astern. If your anchor chain holds, that will stabilize you. Drop your anchor at once. That is all.
Okay, Commander. Well, Joan, I guess she thinks it's serious, or she wouldn't do that. You stay here and listen to this radio, and I'll report to Tex and drop that anchor, and then I'll come back in here with you.
I will do as you wish, Jerry.
Hey, look out! You don't get hurt by some of this stuff sliding around in here. Now hang on the radio table.
Yes.
It's folded to the deck.
I will take care of myself. Hurry and drop the anchor.
I'm going right now. Hey, Tex! Tex! Mrs. Gregory!
Hang on to the rails, Jerry. We're right here.
I just talked to the commander of the submarine.
Get closer, Jerry. We can't hear you.
I said I just talked to the girl commander. She had me drop the bow anchor. She's coming up to 3 fathoms to grab it with that magnetic fin in the stern of the sub. She wants us to reverse the motors to hold the anchor chain steady while she drags us out of this.
Good work, kid, and that's fine, all but one thing. We haven't got any motors.
What?
The motor stopped, Jerry.
And I'll bet that guy Peterson stopped them.
Looks like it. We haven't shipped enough water to hurt the engines any.
Then that means Peterson is Staley's, just like Joan said.
I'm afraid it does, Jerry.
Boy, this boat's sure rocking around us. I hope that girl hurries up about tying this submarine onto us.
Is Joan in the radio room?
Yep, she's all right.
You go back in with her, Jerry, and you too, Pat.
I'll stay here with you, Tex. Go back and stay with Joan. Will you please, Jerry?
And keep in touch with the sub all the time. Tell her our motors are dead and she may have to use all her speed to keep us straightened out.
Okay, Tex. I'll tell her.
Is the storm getting worse, Jerry? The boat is tossing about much more.
Well, I don't know about the storm, but our engines are dead.
Was that an accident?
No, I don't think so. And the captain doesn't think so either.
Then I was right. Peterson, the engineer, is Thales, the Euclidean.
And it looks like it. Now keep quiet while I tell that girl sub-commander about our motors. Jerry Hall, the commander, S1. Gregory Boat, Euclidean submarine.
Jerry, the submarine magnets have just picked up our anchor.
Yeah. Now keep still and let me try to pick up the commander. Jerry Hall, the commander, S1. Jerry Hall, the commander, S1. Gregory Bolt, the Euclidean submarine. Our motors have stopped. Can you hear me? Our engines have stopped. Can you hear me, Commander? Jerry Hall, the submarine. Hello, Commander. Can you hear me? Our engines have stopped. Hello. 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 Hello, Commander.
The journey back to Magic Island is proving much more difficult than the escape from the island. Just off the coast of Lower California, Old Mexico, the Gregory boat has run into one of the hurricanes so common to that locality, known as the Chubasco. The storm is so bad that the small boat is in great danger, which is increased when the motors stop and leave them helpless. Jerry radios to the girl commander of the Euclidean submarine, which is following them, and she picks up their anchor with a magnetic fin on the stern of the submarine. For several hours, the storm rages, then is gone as suddenly as it appeared. We find Captain Bradford and Mrs. Gregory standing at the wheel as the storm subsides.
Oh, Tex, that was the worst storm I've ever been through.
Certainly the worst I ever went through in a boat as small and helpless as this one.
Now that the wind has gone down, we're moving awfully fast. Do you think it's safe to be towed at this speed?
Might be a good idea to go a little slower. That girl certainly makes that submarine move along.
What are your chances of starting the engines?
Can't tell until I look at them and see how much damage Peterson did.
You're sure he did it?
How else did it happen?
Accident?
No chance. Those motors quit cold when they were running perfectly. That was no accident.
Where is Peterson now?
But we'll have to find out. We should go and stay with Joan in the radio room and send Jerry to me.
Well, can't I help you?
Nothing for you to do. I'll feel safer if you're in the cabin with Joan when we round Peterson up. And while you're in there, call the submarine commander. Explain our position to her. Tell her that this speed is too high in smooth water. She'll have to cut down to about 25 knots if she's going to lose us.
Very well, Tex. You'll be careful, won't you?
Don't worry about me. Run along. There's Jerry coming out of the cabin now.
I'll hurry in and stay with Joan.
Oh, Mrs. Gregory, storm all over?
Well, it looks like it, Jerry. I'm going in with Joan, and the captain wants to see you right away.
Okay. Joan's listening to the radio. Morning, Skipper. That submarine sure dragging us along.
Yeah, a little too fast, Jerry. I just told Mr. Gregory to radio that girl commander to cut her speed to 25 knots. She'll have us flying if this keeps up.
Did you try to start the motors?
Haven't had a chance to see what's wrong with them. Didn't dare leave this wheel while the storm was so high.
Oh, I'll take the wheel if you want to look at the engines now.
Good idea, kid. Take it over, and you'll have to handle it like a basket of eggs until we lose some of the speed.
How about the course?
You don't have to worry about that.
Oh, sure, I forgot. Submarine's towing us.
Yeah, when a boat like this makes 35 knots, you can be sure something's towing us. Well, I'll shove off and have a look at the engines, and, Jerry.
Yes, sir?
If the engineer shows up before I find him, tell him to come and see me. Understand that now. Don't enter into any conversation with him. Leave that to me.
Aye, aye, Skipper.
Hello there, young feller.
Huh? Oh. Hey, see, where have you... Oh, never mind. Go see the captain.
Where is the captain?
Down in the engine room, trying to start the motors.
He's going to find that pretty hard job, you betcha. I try all night to start them engine.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
Okay. What stopped them in the first place?
How should I know?
Oh, maybe you shouldn't. You're just the engineer on this boat.
When a motor gets ready to quit, it quits. By Jiminy, what makes us go so fast?
Oh, you don't know, huh?
How should I know?
Yeah, I know. You're just the engineer on this boat. And I suppose you didn't know that there was a Euclidean submarine towing us ever since 2 o'clock this morning.
I wonder why the boat goes better without the motor.
Sure, and being an engineer, you figured it was all right if the boat got along swell without you. So you crawled into a lifeboat and went to sleep.
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess.
It's no guess. The lifeboat was the only place you could have been. Now, you better go down the engine room and see the captain.
I got to go see Mrs. Gregory
You're
first.
not going one step toward her cabin?
What was that you said?
You heard me. Don't you even start around that side of the boat. Now, you get in that engine room and start explaining to the captain.
Explaining what?
Plenty of things. But the captain will ask the questions. My business is steering this boat.
Then give your best attention to your business.
Hey, where'd that voice come from?
You will learn where a great many things come from if you attempt to prevent my reaching Mrs. Gregory's cabin.
So, Joan was right. You're Thales, the Euclidean electrical engineer.
Precisely. I am Thales, as well as the trusted and simple Swedish engineer on this boat.
Well, you won't be trusted anymore. Now, you going to start for that engine room, Peterson, or Thales, or whatever your name is?
I am going to Mrs. Gregory's cabin.
Oh, no, you're not. Just take one step, and I'll use this.
So, you have one of the small 60-second ray guns, eh?
You bet I have. And I know which end of it works, too.
You would be doing a very foolish thing to use that on me. G47 would not regard your act as particularly friendly to Euclidia.
Well, something tells me you're not going to be in any too good with G47 after he hears about this trip. We were supposed to be allowed to reach the Magic Island in safety, and you're sure not helping us along any.
I will be the judge of what G47 will think of this trip.
Well, in just about 5 seconds, you won't be the judge of anything. Let him have it, Jim. Good boy, Jimmy. You sure laid him out.
It is written when frying pan hit head was in wrong place.
Well, you sure know what to do with a frying pan besides cooking it.
It is a poor skillet which will not serve two masters.
Well, I saw you sneaking up on him, but I was afraid you'd never make it before he turned around.
Jim Lowe do not care which way head is looking when flying pan falls. If he look too quick, I drop pan quick.
Well, you sure did a good job. Now run down the engine room and tell Captain Bradford to get up here quick.
Maybe more better let skillet fall on head one more time. Then this fellow boy will not wake up too soon.
Well, he won't wake up too soon. The way he hit that deck, I'll be surprised if he wakes up before we get to the island. Now, you run and get the captain. He'll know what to do from here on in.
You take fry pan. If he put head up, you put it down again.
Okay, Jim. Mighty good idea to have this in my hand at that.
I go now, get Captain Bradford. Remember, Jerry, if head come up, pan go down.
Don't worry, Jim. I'll drop it.
Well, Jerry, we've been waiting for you to call us to breakfast, and... Why, Jerry, what's this?
Oh, this is the frying pan from the galley.
Did you hit Peterson with it?
Not yet.
Well, what's happened?
Well, the Chinese cook let this pan fall on Peterson's head, and he pushed it a little bit as it fell.
Jim Lowe knocked the engineer unconscious with that frying pan?
He sure did, but that's only part of the story. Peterson's is Staley's.
Are you sure, Jerry?
Oh, he got so mad when I couldn't let him come to your cabin that he forgot to talk like a Swede and sound just like G-47.
Then the warning of that girl submarine commander was correct.
Well, I'll say it was. And I think this guy was coming to wreck our boat.
But if he'd done that, he would have gone down with the rest of us.
Well, I guess he figured on the submarine saving him. He didn't believe me when I told him he was in plenty bad with old G-47.
There's no doubt about that. But, Jerry, where's Jim Lowe now and Captain Bradford?
Well, the captain went down to the engine room, and I sent Jim down there to get him. Here he comes now.
All right, Jim. You stay there until I get back. Coming right up, Jerry. Everything all right here?
Well, sure is. There's your engineer.
Tex, from what Jerry tells me, I gather that Jim Lowe is the hero of the hour.
Yes, he is, and he knows it, too. He had to explain to me just how he hit Peterson with it. And he said the sound of the frying pan on Pete's head was music to his ears, like the stroke of a big temple gong.
It did make a swell bong when he hit him.
And Peterson was really Thales.
Looks like it.
Well, what'll we do with him?
Only one thing to do that I can see, tie him up and set on him until we get to the island.
Well, I don't like the idea of having to watch that guy for days and days. He's too slick.
I think you're right, Jerry. It would be hard to keep as clever a man as that prisoner on this boat for long.
Say, wait a minute, I've got it. Jerry.
Yes, sir?
Go in the radio room. You and Joan raise the girl commander on the submarine that's towing us. Ask her what to do with this fellow. She'll know fast enough.
A good idea. She ought to be told about this anyway.
Yes, she's certainly entitled to the information. After all, it was her warning that allowed us to be prepared for this.
No doubt of it. Run along, Jerry. Have a talk with that girl in the sub. Then you and Joan come back here and we'll see about some breakfast.
Oh, can Jim cook it without his frying pan?
You can leave the pan here with us. Just now, Jim's looking for the lost pieces of the motors.
The lost pieces?
Yes, I'm afraid Pete, or rather Thales here, took some of the vital parts off the motors and threw them overboard.
Nice little fella he is. Well, here's your frying pan. And if Jim's still busy when we get back, Joan and I'll cook the breakfast.
Well, call that sub as quick as you can.
Aye, aye, sir.
Who is it?
Jerry, can I come in?
One moment until I unlock the door. Come in, Jerry.
Boy, have I got the news.
What is it?
Shut that door and let's get this radio set started.
The radio is ready to use now, Jerry. What is your news?
Well, you'll hear it if you listen when I tell it to the girl submarine commander.
Jerry, you have found Thales.
I'll say we have.
Where?
Lying on the deck.
You found him there?
No, I left him there.
How did he get there?
Jim Lowe put him there with a frying pan.
A frying pan?
Yes, sir, a frying pan. Now, keep quiet. Let me call this girl submarine on the commander on the
But,
sub.
Jerry, are you sure
I
that
said keep quiet and let me use this radio. Captain Bradford's orders, and he said to hurry it up.
Very well.
Calling Commander S1, Jerry Hall on Gregory Boat to Commander S1. Hello, submarine. Gregory Boat to Euclidean submarine. Hello, Commander.
Commander S1
Hello.
to Jerry Hall. You may proceed, Hall. Proceed with your message.
First thing is, will you please slow down to 25 knots? We can't stay in the water much longer at this speed. We'll be up in the clouds.
Will curtail speed to accommodate proper towing of your craft in smooth water. Proceed with balance of message.
We found Thales.
Proceed with your message.
Well, gee whiz. Aren't you surprised? I said we found Thales. Thales.
I understood you. Proceed with your message.
Oh, golly whiskers. You might get excited about it.
It is what I warned you to expect. You are wasting time, Hall. Proceed.
Hurry up, Jerry.
Okay. Well, we found out that our engineer, a fellow Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford have known for years, was really Thales. He sure sounded Swedish enough until he got mad at me. Then he sounded like old G-47. Our Chinese cook knocked him out with a frying pan, and we want to know what to do with him.
He will be returned to Euclidia as a prisoner. G-47 will deal with him.
Yeah, we figured that, but we're not sure we can hold him that long. There's nothing on board this boat that was made to keep a guy like that prisoner.
I will accept the responsibility of his delivery to G-47. Prepare your landing stage on the starboard side. I will rise to the surface and take the prisoner aboard the submarine. You will arrange to deliver him to me at once. That is all.
Okay, Commander. We'll have him ready.
I am so glad we will not have him aboard this boat.
So am I. There goes the Magnus. She's dropped her anchor chain, and in about a minute, the nose of her sub will be sticking up out of the water. Come on, Joan. We've got to get ready to turn Thales over to her.
The magic island of Euclidia, over 4,000 miles from Los Angeles, has been the scene of many a strange experience for our friends of Mrs. Gregory's little party. Now they are once more ready to land on this artificial island, ruled by G-47 and his scientists. The small boat bearing Mrs. Gregory, Captain Bradford, Jerry Hall, and Joan Gregory is within half a mile of Euclidia. Jerry and Joan are standing at the bow looking for the island, while Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford are busy with preparations for their landing.
Well, Joan, we'll soon be on that magic island again.
I am not happy about that, Jerry.
Well, you ought to be. This is where your mother and Captain Bradford wanted to be.
They are very foolish, and they are on a hopeless errand.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Tex Bradford thinks he can take over this island, and I'll bet he'll do it, too.
Jerry, you must realize that such a statement is not at all logical.
Huh? Well, what's wrong with it?
What is moving this boat toward Euclidia at this moment?
Why, that Euclidean submarine that's towing us, of course.
Exactly. If it were not for one of the machines developed on the island the captain expects to take over, he could not even reach the island.
Well, it wasn't Tex's fault that we had a Euclidean on board, was it? Could he help it if the sweet engineer turned out to be Thales?
Thales was clever in arranging to be on the boat, was he not?
Well, he wasn't clever enough to keep from getting caught when he wrecked our motors, though.
Perhaps he did not object to his capture after the motors were out of commission.
Well, maybe not. But he didn't look very happy when that girl commander took him on her submarine.
That was indeed something he did not expect.
And he'll get a lot more he didn't expect when old G-47 gets his hands on him.
No, I think Thales must know that he will be punished. Personal revenge is not allowed on Euclidia, and Thales was seeking revenge because the captain had recorded his voice.
Yeah. Hey, what will G-47 do to him?
That remains to be seen.
I say, here comes our Chinese cook. And boy, is he in a hurry.
He is a strange man.
Yeah. It's getting so I don't know anybody but strange people. Well, what's up, Jim?
Captain Bladford say come tell you we near island.
No, well, we know that. We can see it from here.
The eye is blind to strange sights.
Look over there, Mr. Lowe. Almost dead ahead.
Jim, look. No see island.
Oh, you see a bank of gray fog or clouds lying there in the water, don't you?
Oh, sure. See foggy cloud on water.
The island is surrounded by that fog.
Island inside cloud?
Yep, island inside cloud.
That would seem very dangerous place for island. Steamship run through cloud, go smash on island. Too bad.
But on this island, steamships are not allowed to go smash. They go around.
Very good idea, if all steamships know that.
Well, they can't help but know it, Jim. This is a magic island, and ships can't run over it, even when they want to.
Jim Lowe believe magic when Jim Lowe see magic. You come now. Captain Bladford wants to see you in radio room right away.
Okay, Jim. We'll come.
We should hurry if the captain wants us.
Yeah. You know, we're nearly on top of that island. But, Joan, did you notice that we're not moving as fast as we were?
That is obvious, Jerry. The submarine commander has dropped our anchor from her magnets. We are slowly drifting toward Euclidia.
Well, I don't like to drift around in this corner of the ocean. I wish they'd send that magnetism out from the island and pull us in.
Jerry, will you go to the radio cabin as the captain requested?
Oh, sure. Come on. I wonder what he wants.
As it is only a matter of minutes until we land on the island, I should think it would have to do with the captain's final plans as to what each of us is expected to do after we land.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Tex hasn't told us anything about his plans.
I am afraid he may find it difficult to execute a plan.
Oh, don't worry so much about the captain. He knows what he's doing.
Undoubtedly. And the Euclideans also know what he is doing.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way.
Then say what you do mean.
All right, all right. Now forget it for a minute. We'll go in and see what Tex has to say.
Interlocking devices with your boat.
Gee, Tex.
Quiet, kid.
You will be placed at your pier by the magnetic devices as before.
I understand that, Commander. Anything further?
Very little. You have a definite mission to perform on the island. You cannot hope to do it in secrecy. Therefore, you will find your position more tolerable if you request an audience with G-47 when you land.
I'll do that all right. That's what I came down here for.
Your reason for coming here is known to the Euclideans as well as to your own party. I have dropped your anchor from my stern magnetic fin. I will now proceed to my sub-level anchorage. You will be drawn in. That is all.
Oh, hold on a minute, Commander. When are we going to see you?
That is all.
Now, come in, Jerry.
May I come in also, Captain?
Hey, what's going on, Tex?
Just a minute, Jerry. Why, of course you may come in, Joan, but your mother's waiting for you in your cabin. Perhaps you'd better run along and see what she wants.
To be sure, Captain. I will go at once.
Close the door and come over here, Jerry.
Right. Well, what's the matter, Tex? They can't hear us talking on Euclidia, can they?
No danger of that, but I don't want Joan or her mother to hear this.
Gee, is something wrong?
Yes, but I can't tell what it is because everything sounds all right.
Well, that sounds funny.
I know it, but it isn't.
Well, come on, tell me.
I'm very much afraid the G-47 has some carefully laid plans for us, Jerry.
Oh, sure he has. That old guy probably got a lot of swell tricks thought up for us after we escaped from his island and left him flat twice.
It's more than that. I'm sure of it. G-47 must have learned more about us than we think he knows.
Well, did the girl commander tell you something over the radio just now?
She couldn't tell me much, as it's a cinch they'd be listening in on the island. But she said enough to let me know that things are going to be made entirely too easy for us on Euclidia.
Gosh, that won't be hard to take.
Jerry, we know that we're going to land on that island and stay there a while in the hope of finding some way to break up this scientific group before they start out to run the world from Euclidia.
And those Euclideans know it, too. You know, they're too smart to think we came 4,000 miles to get no place, just for the ride.
Right. Now, I had expected that we would be confined as prisoners. While we wouldn't be in any immediate danger, yet it would present something of a problem for us to get free for an inspection of the island.
Well, if they're not going to do that to us, what is it?
They're going to give us living quarters, the same as anyone else on Euclidia, and leave us alone.
What?
It amazed me, too. That girl sub-commander said we would be taken from our boat to our quarters in a short time, and to stay on the boat until ordered to leave it. But we are to have the freedom of the island as soon as I talk to G-47.
The freedom of the island? After they kept us locked up here so tight before?
That part of it's reasonable enough. We were trying to escape then. This time we've come to stay until our job is done, and they're not afraid of our running away.
But what about all the things you brought with you?
Jerry, that's what I wanted to tell you. Tell you before we land on the island, as we may never again have a moment's privacy. I didn't bring a thing with me.
But, Tex, your formula.
Not even that.
Well, gee, well, I suppose you know what you're doing, but well, I thought you had a lot of apparatus to use on these Euclideans.
And I want them to think the same thing. That way they'll waste a lot of valuable time studying all the materials I brought along, and it won't get them anywhere.
But can you do anything? I mean, can you do anything about taking this island over and getting us back home with a lot of special stuff to work with?
Absolutely. I know my formula for the universal solvent. I only had it written down in one place, in a safety deposit box in Los Angeles. And I destroyed that when we were home. The only place in the world that formula can be found is in my head.
But what about materials to make the real formula with?
They have everything I need right here on Euclidia. Now, don't tell that to Pat and Joan until I tell you to. They might worry about it.
Yeah, they might.
And act as if everything was steady now.
Yeah.
Here they are. Come in.
We got ready as quickly as possible, Tex.
Plenty of time. They're going to pull us into the island with those magnets again.
Did you see how close we were when you came along the deck?
We are entering the artificial fog bank now.
That would mean just outside the ends of the piers.
And only about 200 feet to go, and we'll be on the magic island once more.
I can't hear the water rippling around the boat anymore. We must be inside the fog ring now.
That would be the case, Mother.
Were you able to contact that girl submarine commander who towed us in, Tex?
Just had her on the radio. She advised us to stay on our boat until I talked with G-47. Said that quarters would be prepared for us in the general living apartments, and that we were to remain unmolested.
Well, that's rather a unique reception from a colony that understands your purpose so well.
I think it rather natural, Mother. G-47 and all his assistants are fully aware of our purpose, and they are as anxious to see the captain's formula working as we are.
I think that's it, Joan. They want me to have a chance to complete my work as soon as possible, and then find out if I can show them anything they don't know.
There's no danger of their getting your formula?
Not a chance.
Well, how about the materials you brought along? Can you keep the Euclideans from taking those?
I'll do my best.
Our best wasn't any too good when we were here before.
Oh, cheer up, Mrs. Gregory. We were running away before. Hey, look out the door. There's the island.
So it is, Jerry.
That pier looks just like it did when we first landed here.
It is now daylight, Captain. When you first landed here, the Euclideans were using their artificial daylight.
Your memory is better than ours, Joan. Oh, Jerry, do you remember how frightened we were when someone placed those glasses in our hands?
Remember it? Boy, I can still shake every time I think of it.
Well, those tricks won't frighten us again. Ultraviolet light is something we also know a little about.
Well, let's go out on deck and see what we can see.
We were advised to stay on the boat.
Well, nobody said we couldn't look at the island.
I see no harm in it.
Not a bit. Let's all go out.
Look, Mrs. Gregory, we're at the same pier we were before.
Yes, twice before. We've lost 2 boats at this pier.
And the chances are we'll lose this one.
I think it highly probable.
Hey, Joan, do you know what they do with all the boats that get lost around this part of the ocean?
I have heard several accounts of their disposition, but I believe we will see many of them before we leave Euclidia again. If we ever leave it.
Now, there you go again with that if we ever leave it stuff.
Well, don't worry, Joan. We'll get away this time. We know what we're getting into, and we're well prepared for it.
Well prepared for it? For what?
Well, for anything.
Anything. Anything may happen to us here.
Yeah, when you get near this island, well, you can feel it all over again. That sort of empty, lost feeling.
A few short months ago, I could not have understood that feeling. Perhaps I understood no feeling. And surely I had no fear of the only home I knew. But now I believe I can understand what you mean.
It's a strange feeling. That shining circle of steel, 600 feet across, with those radio and defense rooms rising out of it like huge streamlined one-story houses, and not a sound. Knowing there are over 200 people inside that giant steel tube, living their lives without contact with our world. I'm not sure I'm glad we came.
Oh, I know how you feel, but we had a job to do, and, well, this was the only way to do it.
Well, I wouldn't have come back or brought any of you here if I hadn't felt that this was our only sure way to protect each other. Jerry and Joan certainly weren't safe at home with Thales and those other Euclideans in Los Angeles. At least we have a common chance here.
I am not afraid, Captain, but it all seems very hopeless.
That's my feeling, Joan. No matter how gallant an effort we make, will we accomplish anything?
Well, it's worth trying, and after all, we didn't have much choice.
We sure didn't. But I wonder how many choices they're going to give us here.
Not many, I think.
Well, the boat stopped moving. We're here.
Yes, we're here.
Well, how's it feel to get back home, Joan?
Home? I hoped I would never see this place again.
For the third time, a boat bearing the Gregory party lands at the magic island of Euclidia. The first time, they were searching for the island. The second time, they were returned to it as escaping prisoners. And now, they have been allowed to land for the purpose of attempting to take over the island. It doesn't sound reasonable somehow that G-47 would let anyone come to Euclidia for the purpose of taking over his scientific colony. But that is exactly what Captain Bradford proposes to do. The small cruiser which brought the captain, Mrs. Gregory, and Jerry and Joan is held fast to the Euclidean pier by magnetism. There is no sound to be heard over the entire island.
Well, this blame place has got another one of its noiseless days.
It would seem so, Jerry.
It's mighty weird at that.
It is a terrible place, Captain Bradford, and I am not at all sure we acted wisely in returning to Euclidia.
Oh, forget that, Joan. We had to do something, didn't we?
Jerry is right, Joan, dear. With Euclideans watching our every move at home, we had no choice but to come back here and attempt to learn something of the power here.
We have seen many examples of the power of G-47.
Well, I'll grant that he's given us a number of unpleasant surprises, Joan. But if we don't do something about regulating things here, the rest of the world may be in danger.
I think not.
Well, you always think not. But Captain Bradford's right. All these scientific gadgets would be too much for the world right now. It'd mean plenty of trouble.
You don't understand our world, Joan, and your visit to it was so pitifully brief that you had no time to see it. But we feel that there are a great many things of more value than reducing everything to a science. All of the electrical and chemical wonders these men have perfected can be used to advantage by the world. But they must be in the hands of the proper people.
Sure, Joan. Well, we can't let old G-47 and his bunch get loose in the world with all the power they've got. Why, they could take over every country there is in a week.
And would that be so bad for the countries?
Yes, Joan, it would, according to our standards of living. This isn't a place to argue about it. When are we supposed to land on this island?
Well, that girl submarine commander said for us to report to G-47 as soon as we got here.
I'd be glad to do that if I could find him.
I suggest we start across the island. We will be seen and stopped. Then we may state our business and be conducted to G-47.
I think that's the best thing to do, Tex.
So do I.
Right. Come on.
Hey, how about the Chinese cook?
Yeah, we'll leave him on board.
Oh, won't poor Jim Lowe be horribly frightened when some of these Euclidean guards come after him?
Oh, he knows plenty about what's happening.
I told him enough of it so he understands what we're up against.
He will be brought to quarters near ours, I expect.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to find our own quarters.
Looks that way, son. They didn't give us much of a welcome this time.
Isn't it strange, walking on this polished steel surface and not a sound?
Yeah. You know, it gives me the creeps. Boy, the deck of that old boat will sound mighty good when we get back on it again.
Which is liable to be some time. Well, where do you suggest we go, Joan?
This is strange to me also, Captain Bradford. I have never seen anyone allowed to advance to this point on the island without being stopped and questioned.
I wouldn't mind being questioned if I could only see someone or hear something.
Yeah, at least we can be thankful they're using natural daylight. We don't have to stumble around that artificial sunlight of theirs without the proper glasses.
Well, you're the only one who's got any idea about this place, Joan. What do we do now?
I believe we should proceed to the central control chamber and ask for instructions.
Straight ahead?
Yes.
All of these surface rooms are of shining steel. We can see nothing except the surface, and yet we're being watched from within.
Well, you bet we are. That steel is as clear as window glass when you're on the inside.
We should receive a warning before we proceed much further.
A warning? About what?
We will be warned to come no nearer to the control chamber.
Then perhaps we'd better stop now.
Let's go on till someone stops us.
But what are we running into, Tex?
I don't know. What about that, Joan?
G47 instructed us to report to him. I think no harm will come to us until that time, at least.
Well, if we're only safe until we find him, let's don't look very hard for him.
Well, we'll find him all right, but something must have changed since we left here. Your warning isn't coming along very fast, Joan.
I cannot understand that.
Always something we can't understand. And it will continue to be that way on this mad island.
Afraid so, but one thing we can understand is absolute silence, and that's all we've run into so far.
Well, nobody's stopping us. Let's go and try the door in the control chamber.
It will not open from the outside, Jerry.
Well, maybe if we knock loud enough, somebody will open it for us.
Isn't that dangerous?
Better be careful, Jerry.
Hey, are these doors charged with electricity?
No, they are locked so that it is impossible to open them from outside.
Well, then it won't hurt anything to knock on one of them. Here goes.
That ought to wake anyone up.
You will not find the Euclideans asleep.
There's no one in that place.
Perhaps this is a trick.
Oh, what for?
Well, I don't know, Jerry. But it's very easy to suspect everything on this island.
Maybe you didn't knock hard enough.
Oh, gee, you could hear that noise all over the island.
Out here, yes, but if that room is soundproof, they may not have heard it inside. I'll try it again.
No, nothing doing.
It will prove useless to knock more, Captain Bradford.
I believe you.
But what are we to do?
The elevators will operate automatically as we approach them. Perhaps we are expected to descend to the lower levels.
Boy, you don't feel so important when they let you land like this. Nobody cares if we're here or not.
On the contrary, Jerry, we know that G47 and his scientists care a great deal. There's some reason for this.
Where's this elevator, Joan?
We are approaching it now. That small rounded dome rising from the island floor.
Rising?
Oh, sure, Mrs. Gregory. Watch that thing come up in the air.
Why, so it is, but how?
The elevator is electrically controlled.
I understand that, Joan. Most elevators run electrically. But who is bringing it up?
Oh, nobody. It's coming up for us.
How do they do it, Joan? Photoelectric cell?
Precisely.
You mean that we walked through or over an electric beam and brought that elevator up?
That is one method, though I believe this particular channel is operated by the voice directed toward it.
Oh, this is almost too much for me.
Well, you didn't see as much of this island as I did before, Mrs. Gregory. This elevator is only a starter.
The elevator is completely above the surface now. We may enter.
The door might help a little.
The door is opening.
So it is. Opening automatically, I suppose.
Oh, I guess so. Don't see anyone inside the thing.
Well, we'd better get along with it. Somebody must know we're here. They wouldn't have everything fixed up so nice for us.
We will try the various levels and determine what is taking place.
Not much room in these things.
They were designed to hold 4 people.
Well, as soon as I squeeze in, we'll have 4. Okay, let her go, Joan.
I suggest stopping at the first level.
You're the boss, Joan. We'll stop anywhere you say.
Are you sure you know how to operate this, Joan?
Well, I'll say she does. Go ahead, Joan. Push the switch for the first level, and let's go down and meet some Euclideans.
Very well.
How smoothly this car descends.
Well, everything on this island is pretty slick.
What's on the first level, Joan?
Very little of value, mostly heavy articles in storage.
Will we be likely to find anyone there?
I think we should try each level.
There's the magnets. This is the first floor.
But, Jerry, we did not stop.
We have passed that level?
Yes, I could feel those big magnets release this car, then take hold again.
Push the button for the second level, Joan.
I have done so.
Didn't do any good, though.
Will you be able to stop without an accident, Joan?
There will be no accident in this elevator.
Well, it certainly was an accident that you couldn't stop at either of the first 2 floors.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that.
There was the third level. Our journey in this elevator was obviously planned in advance.
Where are we most likely to wind up, Joan?
Either the 5th level, where the chemical laboratories are, or the 9th, in the confinement cells.
But G47's orders were that we weren't going to be prisoners this time.
I wouldn't put too much faith in G47's orders, Jerry.
They're not taking us off the 4th, that's sure.
The next will be the laboratories.
And if we don't stop there, the prisons again?
Afraid so, Mrs. Gregory.
Well, I doubt it. G47 wants more from us and our company in a cell. But the first person we meet will be G47 himself.
There goes the 5th floor, so we won't meet him there.
Isn't the car moving faster?
Seems to be at that.
Yes, the speed has increased.
Well, I'll say it has. We made that floor mighty quick.
That was the 6th. You say we're not likely to stop before the 9th, Joan?
That is my opinion.
Well, your opinion is looking better all the time. And they don't want us on the 7th floor.
How can all this be so cleverly controlled?
It is all arranged in advance, Mother.
That was 8 of them.
And still we go down.
I don't see how people can live day after day, year after year in this atmosphere as the Euclideans do. It would drive me mad to be herded around from place to place at the will of one of these scientists.
Hey, Joan, we passed the 9th level.
Yes, and that is strange.
More strange than any of the rest of this stuff?
Yes, Captain. The 10th level contains only the power rooms and fuel storage. We would not be taken there for an interview.
Well, nevertheless, we've stopped on the 10th level. And if it isn't to interview G47, it may be for something far more unpleasant.
Well, let's get out and find out.
One moment, Captain.
What's up?
Do not attempt to move.
What? We're going down.
Yeah. And I thought the 10th floor was the bottom.
Joan, you look as lost as the rest of us now.
I suppose I do. I can only speculate as to what is happening.
Then speculate out loud. We've already gone through the floor. Where can we go now?
We're certainly going down.
How about this, Joan? This isn't an illusion created to worry us, is it?
What, Captain?
I mean, we're really going down?
Undoubtedly.
But where are we going?
Oh, no place I ever heard of. That 10th floor was past the bottom of the island when Joan and I searched it before.
Yes, Jerry. It was the bottom, so far as we were allowed to see.
Joan, what do you mean?
Well, she means that even when you've seen 10 levels below the water on this thing, and even when you're 100 feet under the ocean, you haven't seen everything.
We've been going down at about the same speed. That would mean we've already dropped 30 or 40 feet below the 10th level.
But that couldn't be, Tex. The island is only 10 levels deep.
The island, yes. But now I think we may expect to learn why we found all levels in the island deserted and closed to us. We are to be taken to modern Atlantis.
Modern Atlantis?
Why, Joan, the lost continent?
No, its namesake. The Euclidean city under the ocean floor. I had heard strange tales of it, almost too fantastic to believe. But now I feel that it must be a reality. We will continue down for 200 feet, and when we leave this elevator, we will be in the most wonderful city in the entire world, modern Atlantis.
On the magic island of Euclidia, the Gregory party is learning more of the wonders of the place and learning them very rapidly. When their boat was pulled to the pier by magnetism, Mrs. Gregory and her daughter Joan, Captain Bradford, and Jerry Hall found no one to greet them. They know the Euclidean scientists expect their landing. It's very puzzling as they walk across the island, enter one of the automatic elevators, and descend to various levels, searching for G47 or one of his assistants. The mystery deepens as their elevator passes the 10th level, 100 feet below the surface of the sea and supposed to be the lowest level on the island. The elevator does not stop there, however, and we find them now 50 feet below the bottom of the island, 150 feet below the surface of the water, and still going down.
Oh, gee whiz, Joan. How far down does this elevator go?
I do not know, Jerry. I have only heard vague rumors of the Euclidean city below the ocean floor.
But, Joan, you said something about modern Atlantis. Surely you don't believe there's a lost continent under us.
Well, why not, Pat? The only people who refuse to believe the story of Atlantis are the same kind of people who said automobiles wouldn't run and airships wouldn't fly.
But, why, it's tremendous, Tex.
Yes, it's that all right.
Well, Joan's lived on this island 14 years. I should think she'd know more about this.
G47 and his men have not told me everything about Euclidia. I think we may see things of which I have never dreamed.
Well, the only time I ever did see this kind of stuff is when I was dreaming.
This elevator keeps going down. We must be nearly 100 feet below what we believe to be the foundation of the island. And yet we go down. Down into what?
Well, whatever it is, it's been made by man. If these Euclideans can stand it, I guess we can.
I am as greatly surprised as you are, Captain Bradford. My knowledge of Euclidia will be useless here.
Well, whatever's going to happen to us, I wish it would happen quick. I'm getting tired going all in one direction in an elevator.
We stopped. No, we started again.
Something wrong here. We're tipping over.
Hey, quit pushing me.
But I am not pushing you, Jerry.
Tex, we're falling.
Hold steady. I think it's going to be all right.
What's going on here? We're almost over on our side. blame elevator is lying down flat. And it still goes.
Perhaps we are now traversing a horizontal passage.
Joan, dear, you think this elevator is traveling along a tunnel almost flat on its side?
It is obvious, is it not?
Well, golly whiskers. When their elevators are going to run like this, I wish somebody'd tell me so I could get on top. I'm all squashed.
Well, it is a little uncomfortable, Jerry, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, it's swell for you. You're on top, but I'm getting all the wind knocked out of me.
I think our position is changing again.
Why? Hope we don't have to stand on our heads.
No, Jerry, we're tipping back to an upright position.
Queer things, these Euclidean elevators.
Much too queer for me.
Me too. I like my elevators running up and down.
Is it not logical to have them also run horizontally?
Yes, dear, it's probably logical, but it's also upsetting.
We seem to be almost on even keel again now.
Yeah, I can tell that. I can get my breath.
But how long is this weird ride going to continue?
I have no way of determining that.
We're going at a terrific speed now. Wherever we're going, it shouldn't take us long to get there.
Have you any idea as to our direction?
Not the slightest.
We're going down.
Of course, Jerry, we all know that. What Mother meant was our direction from the center of the island during our progress along a level plane.
I wouldn't know.
We just passed another control of some type.
I hope we don't start upside down now.
We are stationary.
What?
Huh?
Joan's right. We've stopped moving.
Why, so we have.
Then I'll bet it won't be long until something else happens to us.
That is probably correct.
Oh, I know it is. These Euclideans don't let much time go by without trying one of their tricks on you.
Well, we've evidently arrived at our destination.
Right, let's get out.
Do not open that door, Captain.
Why not?
I do not know why you should not, but it is well to remember that when the Euclideans wish you to pass through a door, that door is opened for you.
You mean we just stand here in this little steel coop until somebody lets us out?
Precisely.
It may be safer, as Joan suggests.
Well, no doubt of that, but I hope they don't keep us in here too long. I'd like to know where we are.
Well, we're somewhere near the Magic Island. You can sure tell when these Euclideans are running things. Everything always happens, so you can't figure it out.
I think I'll take a chance and open this door.
I wish you would not, Captain.
Oh, please, Tex, if Joan is worried about it, surely we can spare the few minutes it may take for someone to come and let us out.
All right, Pat.
Yeah, maybe take a few hours if they don't want to see us right away.
The door is opening now.
Yes, look. The door is opening, and no one is touching it.
Well, that's merely the usual procedure around here.
Well, I'll say it is. After a few weeks in this island, you get too lazy to open doors for yourself.
This one is certainly opening without human aid, and I think it's time for us to leave.
Yes, let's get out before this thing decides to take us back up to the surface.
Huh? Say, this looks just like those passageways up in the island.
The construction is obviously the same. We are in a corridor of the transparent steel.
And I suppose that on either side of us someone is watching through those walls.
Probably.
Well, they can't hurt us any by watching. Well, which way do we go?
You know as much about it as I do, kid.
I think we should proceed as we are going.
Okay, Joan. Straight ahead.
This series of hallways seems to stretch endlessly in all directions.
Hey, that noiseless paint again.
Right, Jerry. Our footsteps don't make a sound.
Apparently, the Euclidean devices are much the same here as on the surface. What is it called, Joan?
I have heard it referred to as a modern Atlantis, but the actual designation is Euclidia.
Oh, the same name as the island, huh?
Obviously.
You're not very certain about things down here, are you, Joan?
I am not, Captain. This is my first visit, and I heard it discussed but little.
Well, it's a mighty big place, if our walking means anything.
We can't even depend on that, Jerry. For all we know, we're walking in a circle.
That is possible.
Well, even a circle will bring you back to your starting point. We'd better off at that elevator, and we are wandering around an endless hall.
Well, this is a fine thing. Here we come 4,000 miles to see people that we know want to see us, and when we get here, we can't find anybody.
It is indeed strange, Jerry, but I think it is being deliberately done, probably to impress us with G-47's complete contempt for us.
I'm sure of that. It doesn't require any more demonstrations to make me feel absolutely helpless when I'm around this weird place. How long do you think we should keep up this aimless walking, Tex? Tex? Why, Tex!
Golly, whiskers!
The captain is gone.
But where?
No place.
But he's gone, Jerry.
Well, I mean, there's no place he could have gone.
Joan, dear, what does this mean? What's happened?
I do not know, Mother.
Tex was walking right along here with us a minute ago.
He was beside me, or at least I thought he was, and then I spoke to him. And when I turned, he wasn't there.
Well, let's stand still a minute and try to figure this out.
Well, let's do something.
Do not allow yourself to become excited, Mother.
Excited when a man who was walking at my side suddenly disappears?
Joan means it won't do any good to get excited. We'll figure this out. We'll just keep cool like I am. And...
You must be very cool, Jerry. You are shaking as if you had a chill.
Yeah, I was just, well, oh, golly.
we haven't passed a doorway he could have stepped into.
The captain would not have done that without telling us.
But he's gone, Joan,
Well,
dear.
maybe turned off at one of those other hallways.
I think not. The captain was with us until long after we passed the last cross corridor.
Well, just the same, I'm going back and look for him.
Now, don't get too scared, Mrs. Gregory. These Euclideans do things like this to you all the time.
Nevertheless, I feel that Mother is right. We must retrace our steps and endeavor to discover what took place.
Oh, okay. Back we go.
It should be only a few steps. Oh!
Yeah. Oh, he's right.
Well, this is a solid metal wall.
And yet this is the way we came. There is no other way.
We reversed our direction, and the corridor is too narrow to permit a turn we didn't notice. Yet there's a solid steel panel tightly closed against us.
Then it slid into place without a sound, and I'll bet the captain is on the other side of it.
Do not attempt to call out to him, Mother.
But, Joan...
I know what is best under these circumstances. The captain was deliberately separated from this party, and we would be foolish to attempt to locate him.
You mean we should leave him there without trying to reach him?
I guess Joan's right, Mrs. Gregory. We'd only make fools of ourselves trying to see anything these Euclideans didn't want us to see, and they really might hurt us if we made them too mad.
Well, yes, I can see that, but after...
We will proceed along the corridor as we were doing.
Yeah. We sure can't do Tix any good, and we'd better try to get somewhere.
Yes, but where?
Well, just anywhere except this hallway.
Jerry is wise, Mother. It is to our advantage to locate someone at once and receive some advice on our position.
Very well, Joan. Come on. It seems a terrible thing to leave Tex here somewhere and go on without him. But we couldn't do him any good if G47 doesn't want us to reach him.
I took Jerry through many experiences, even more terrifying than this. And we were not harmed, were we, Jerry? Jerry!
Stand still, Joan.
Jerry is gone!
Yes, and if we don't move from this spot, we may be able to see where he went.
I think not. There was no sound, no disturbance. Yet Jerry has vanished as completely as if he were in another world.
Yes, another world. Joan, we are in another world. A world that we don't understand. I'm going back and... Oh, that steel door wasn't more than a foot behind us.
And Jerry is undoubtedly behind that partition.
Well, I'm not going to stand for any more of this. They can come and put me in one of their cells if they want to. But I'm going to find out what's happening. Jerry! Jerry! Jerry!
Mother, please, that will do no good.
No, you're right. It won't do any good. Nothing does any good in this wild place. Oh, why doesn't someone come and take us? Take us to a cell. Take us before G47. Do anything with us to get us out of this awful uncertainty.
Come, Mother. We will proceed.
Proceeding into what?
That we will learn when the scientists are ready to have their wishes made known. We will walk rapidly and quietly.
Yes, we'll walk. Come on, Joan. We'll walk like this, putting one foot before the other, walking heavily on a steel floor, yet making no sound. And then one of us will be next, and one of us will be left alone. Alone to face what?
Be calm, Mother. Be calm.
Yes. Be calm while my world falls to pieces around me. Be calm while you're in danger. Hold tightly my hand, Joan. Oh, I'll never let them separate us. Hold tightly, Joan. Joan! Joan! Where are you, Joan?
Down in the depths of a strange underwater world, the little band of adventurers are having their troubles one at a time. When Mrs. Gregory, Captain Bradford, Jerry, and Joan started down inside the island of Euclidia in one of the automatic elevators, they didn't even dream of the sort of thing they would find. Carried down to a level which they believed to be about 200 feet below sea level, 100 feet below the foundation of the island, they set out to walk along one of the familiar corridors of polished steel. One by one, they disappear. Captain Bradford first, then Jerry, Joan next, and finally Mrs. Gregory. They are still separated. The first one we find is Jerry Hall. Jerry is seated in a small metal chair. A bright light shines into his eyes, and out of the blackness before him a strange voice speaks.
You will answer my questions, Hall?
Maybe, if I can.
You can, if you will.
Well, what are your questions?
Where is Captain Bradford?
I don't know.
Where is Cleostra?
Who?
Cleostra, the living symbol of the perfect calendar.
Oh, Oh, you mean Joan Gregory.
You will learn that on Euclidia we say precisely what we mean.
Precisely? That sure sounds familiar. Well, why don't you come out in the light where I can see you?
I will ask the questions here.
Well, then ask some I can answer.
Where is Cleostra?
I don't know.
Then where
I don't know.
I did not complete my interrogation.
Well, you didn't need to. You were going to ask me where Mrs. Gregory is, and I don't know. And I don't know where any of the others are.
Do you know where you are?
Sure, I'm right here.
You are very foolish, Hall.
Well, I guess I am. Anybody's foolish that lets themselves get caught by a crazy bunch of guys like you've got on this island.
You are not on the island.
Well, under the island, then.
You are not under the island.
Well, maybe I am foolish. But we came down under the island, I'm sure of that.
Did you come down a true vertical course?
Oh, we come down a true... Oh, say, now look here. When you mean straight down, why don't you say straight down?
We of Euclidia do not speak in the jargon of your commonly mutilated variations of the English language.
Okay, I know a few big words myself. But I don't show off all the time by using them. Now, I don't know a thing you want to know. So why don't you let me go and find Mrs. Gregory and the rest of our bunch?
The word bunch is perhaps an adequate description of your ill-assorted expedition.
Well, our expedition was plenty good enough to find this island.
That was made very simple for you.
Oh, yeah, I know. Old G47 wanted to see the captain and try to get something he's got. But we escaped from this island, didn't we?
Are you not here now?
Now, look here. You haven't asked me a question that you don't know the answer to better than I do. And there's no sense in my trying to answer any more of them.
I am thoroughly convinced there would be no intelligence displayed in anything you might be a part of. That is all.
Oh, can I go now? I said, can I go now? Okay. I can sit here as long as you can. Hey, don't turn that light out. Well, I'm not afraid of the dark. Well, why don't you go on talking? I wonder if... Yeah. That's it. I'm alone. That guy's gone.
Jerry, is that you, Jerry?
Yeah, this is Jerry. Where are you, Tex?
I'm right here. Where are you?
Well, I'm right here.
At least we're in the same room, I think.
Well, I don't like to do much moving around in the dark in these places.
Well, neither do I, but it can't be helped. Now, you stay where you are and keep talking. I'll try to come to your voice. Tell me, what happened to Pat and Joan?
Well, same thing has happened to us, I suppose.
Well, you suddenly pulled into an open steel panel?
I sure was. Just a minute or two after you disappeared.
Well, I disappeared the same way.
Hey, somebody grabbed my arm. Let go.
Steady, Jerry. I've got hold of your arm.
Oh, golly whiskers. You never know what's liable to happen to you in this place.
What about Pat and Joan?
Well, I don't know. They were together when I got lifted off my feet and jerked into a little room.
Then you were brought in here for questioning.
Yeah, that fellow Thales, it sounded like. But I couldn't be sure. He talked a lot like old G47.
Yeah, we've heard him talk in other ways, too. Well, I've been questioned just as you have. And I was honored by having G47 himself work on me.
Ooh, what did he have to say?
Nothing. He wanted me to do all the talking, and I didn't say any more than he did.
Well, that must have been a noisy meeting.
Well, not very. However, there's no use in our trying to hide our purposes from these Euclideans, Jerry. And no use fooling ourselves. They know we've come here to try and do something about this island, because we're afraid of what they may do to the world if they're left alone.
Well, what do you think they're going to do to us?
Nothing, for the time being.
I hope Joan and Mrs. Gregory are all right.
No, if there were some lights in this place, we'd try to find them.
Gee, lights. They came on just as you said lights.
We're being watched, and overheard, of course.
Well, I like the light. I don't care who's looking at it.
This room seems to have been designed for just such a purpose as this. Nothing in it but these straight steel chairs.
Well, where are we? Do you know exactly?
No, except that we're somewhere under the floor of the ocean and not far from the surface location of the island.
Is this where we're supposed to stay?
No telling, kid. I'm just as much in the dark as you are.
Jerry! Captain Bradford!
Hello, Joan.
I have been feeling my way along cold steel walls until I felt a panel open before me. And I am so glad to see you.
Well, we're glad to see you, too, Joan. Where's your mother?
I do not know. I was taken from her side as quickly and noiselessly as were you and Jerry. I have not seen her since.
Sure a lot of mysterious junk around here. Did one of the Euclideans ask you questions, Joan?
Yes. I was blinded by a strong light focused directly into my eyes, while my interrogator remained in total darkness. But I believe it was Thales.
Uh-huh. The same guy who worked on me.
And what was your experience, Captain Bradford?
About the same as yours and Jerry's, except that I was questioned by G47. Such things as what were we doing here, and why had we come, and what would we attempt to do now that we were here?
The interviews must have been practically identical, then.
Joan, dear.
Hey, It's Mrs. Gregory.
We're all safe, Mother.
I'm so glad, Joan, dear, and Jerry and Tex. What happened to you?
Same as happened to you, I expect. A dark room, questions, then silence, and you were alone.
Yes, Tex. How did you know?
Well, it's just happened to all of us.
Oh, thank heavens we're together again. And I hope we can stay together.
The lights. They're going out.
Now what's coming?
Now take it easy till we find out. Everyone stand still. Hold each other's hands. Give me your hand, Jerry.
Right, Tex. There it is.
Mother, give me your hand.
Well, I will when I can find yours in the dark. There, dear.
Now, Pat, your hand. That's right. And whatever you do, don't let go. Any of you.
Well, what do you expect? Tex?
Anything. But whatever happens, let's keep from being separated as long as we can.
So, we are all together.
G47.
Precisely.
What's the idea of the black magic, G47? You can do just about as you wish with us here. Why put on this cheap show?
Ah, my dear Captain, you will learn to entertain a greater respect for me before you see the outside world again.
Just where are we now?
You are in Euclidia.
That might mean anything.
It might indeed. Now, you will answer some questions.
What a gain.
Mrs. Gregory, what do you hope to gain by this visit to Euclidia?
Hey, that's not G47.
It is Thales, I believe.
Where is your formula, Captain Bradford?
My formula is safe from you.
What were the materials you brought on your boat?
What experiments did you hope to conduct here?
The compounding of that formula by anyone except a scientist of Euclidia will seal your fate.
Tex, just what I thought. We're only safe until they can force you to give up that formula.
They'll never do that.
Never is a longer period of time than any human is allowed to hold a secret.
We will never give this up, G47.
You are very foolish to ally yourself with this hopeless cause, Cleostra.
Now, wait a minute, you two. I'm not a bit frightened by these third-degree methods. I can talk and reason as well in the dark as you can. I'm the only one of this group who knows my formula. The only one in the world. And the only written copy of the formula I destroyed when we were in Los Angeles. You can't browbeat any secrets out of the others, and you'll never get them from me.
Good for you, Tex.
We all feel the same
Ah,
way.
very heroic. However, your sweeping gestures have the weakness of all heroics. They have no value in the face of fact.
But the formula is a fact, and my having it a fact.
And is it not a fact that you would surrender the formula before you would allow harm to come to any of these others?
Well?
No, Captain. We are able to undertake anything with you.
Yes, Joan, dear. But the four of us mean very little when the safety of the world is at stake.
Do you think you four weak fools are of any value in the world?
Well, as long as we can keep guys like you from running wild and upsetting all our countries, we're plenty of good to the world, and that's more than you are.
We of Euclidia have knowledge that is priceless to your elementary world.
That depends on your senses of values. We're going to do everything within our power to see that your vast scientific knowledge is not used to harm the world.
No, never mind, Pat. We're only wasting our breath. Let's just let them talk, and when the time comes, we'll find a way to do the right things.
Does anyone in your world ever do the right things?
Hey, listen. That's the signal to submerge the island.
That means we will not see the daylight for some time.
The island is being submerged completely and will remain so until we have that formula.
Well, we can stand it down here if you can.
And in the meantime, there are warships from every nation in the world ready to come to this position and attack the island if we do not return within a specified time.
That is interesting indeed. For those warships, we'll find only the crater of an extinct volcano.
A volcano? Under the water?
So that's where you got the foundation of the island.
Precisely.
The island was built in the crater of a volcano, and that made your excavations easy. Gives you plenty of space under the ocean floor.
Several millions of cubic feet.
Millions of cubic feet? In what?
In Euclidia, where this room is located, where you are now more than 200 feet below the surface of the water. And this is the highest level of the city.
City? I told you, Mother, I thought there was a city here.
When will you let us see this place?
You will be free to explore it at your pleasure tomorrow. It is not necessary to warn you that escape is hopeless.
No, we can see that for ourselves. Anyway, we didn't come here this time to try and escape.
You may go to your quarters when you so desire.
And I suppose we've got to walk around here in the dark and fall over a lot of steel chairs trying to find a door. Hey!
You're wrong, Jerry. There's plenty of light now.
G47.
And Thales.
They are gone.
Golly, gone without a sound. And they were both right here in front of us.
Don't let that bother you. We're going to have a lot of things more serious than disappearing tricks to contend with.
Yes, our position is serious now, Tex.
We cannot escape as we did from the island.
No, they're not kidding about that. We're 200 feet below the ocean.
200 feet. Under the water. It might as well be 200 miles.
During the past few weeks, we've learned a lot about the Magic Island. One thing we learned was that the island is called Euclidia. Now, however, this seems to be not altogether true, as the island itself is apparently only a small part of Euclidia. When Mrs. Gregory, Captain Bradford, Jerry Hall, and Joan Gregory returned to the island on this trip, they expected to stay for some time and learn as many as possible of the Euclidean secrets. On their arrival, they found the island deserted. One of the automatic elevators carried them down into the lower regions of a submerged mountain. We find them now in a room of polished steel, 200 feet below the surface of the South Pacific Ocean.
Well, here we are again.
Yes, Jerry, here we are again.
You should not say, here we are again. We have never been here before.
You're right enough, Joan. We've never been here before.
Well, maybe not in this room, but this is sure the third time we've come to this island.
And our prospects are a little more grim and hopeless each time we come.
Yeah, maybe we've come once too often.
That is bad grammar, but sound reasoning.
I'm inclined to agree with Jerry for once. If I'd had any idea we would run into a setup like this, I doubt if we would have left Los Angeles.
But, Tex, Joan had mentioned something of a larger colony she thought existed.
That is true, Captain Bradford. I did mention that, though I was very indefinite about it.
I'm not blaming you, Joan, but one of us certainly should have thought that the Euclideans would have a larger place in that island for the operations they were carrying on.
Well, I guess we can all think of a lot of smart things we could have done, now that it's too late. But we're here, and I think the best thing to do now is to figure how to get out of here.
You're right, Jerry. We knew we were taking chances when we came here.
Well, Joan, while you've never been in this undersea city of theirs before, you probably know more about it than the rest of us. What would you suggest?
That is very difficult to answer, Captain Bradford. I heard the Euclidean scientists mention the city below and Euclidia proper, and I felt somehow that there was much of Euclidia that I had not seen. But I have no definite knowledge with which to help you.
Well, why not quit talking about all the things that might help us if we only knew them, and talk about the things we know how to do?
Well, what would you suggest, Jerry?
Well, let's get out of this room and start looking around.
Do you know how to get out of this room?
Oh, sure. Walk out.
Where is the door?
Why? Huh? Oh, gee. There isn't a door in this room.
That's the first trouble.
There are probably a number of exits as G47 and Thales entered and left without any trouble. But to me, those steel panels all look exactly alike.
I think we would find it useless to attempt to leave until provisions are made for that.
Well, I'm getting tired of all that stuff. You can't even open a door until you get permission.
Take it easy, Jerry. Won't help anything to get all worked up over this.
After all, we did get ourselves into it.
Yeah, and didn't old G47 say we're to have our freedom here and not be locked up?
Precisely, Jerry. But it is possible our quarters are not prepared at the moment.
Yes, Joan, that may be it. At least I hope it is.
Well, why couldn't we go out and walk around this underground town or whatever it is? I don't see why we have to stay in here until they decide where we're going to sleep.
Maybe you, two took G47's invitation to look around too literally, Jerry. I'd say that while we apparently have our freedom and are allowed to go sightseeing as much as we like, there'll be several places we'll never see the inside of.
That is logical, Captain. G47 has probably gone to prepare the other Euclideans for our arrival. He will undoubtedly instruct them as to how much we are to be allowed to observe.
That's my idea, Joan.
Then our freedom of the city is to be in name only. Like those tours one may take in a forbidden country.
Well, we might as well stay home as go on that kind of a tour.
We are not likely to leave home now, Jerry. This is our home for all time.
No, Joan, it isn't quite that hopeless. After all, G47 has the same interest in science that the captain has. And many things can happen.
And I'll bet things will happen all right.
Be a relief to have them start.
Sounds like they've started.
What was that?
Over there, on the other side of the room, one of the steel panels flew open.
Sure did, and there's a light on in the room there.
Tex, isn't that my steamer trunk in that room?
Steamer trunk? Oh, let's go see.
But how could your steamer trunk, whatever that may be, get down here in Euclidia?
I can't imagine.
Well, at least we can hear ourselves walking now. Gee, I like to make noise when my feet hit the floor.
Well, that's something now, isn't it? Look at that room.
Oh, Tex, what an attractive little room. Like a stateroom on a fine ocean liner.
Mother, are those not your articles of clothing?
Yes, Joan. My things are as well laid out in this room as if a maid had cared for them.
Boy, and there's a wooden floor in here. Listen to this.
This is the most natural place I've seen since we left Los Angeles.
I never imagined such a room could be found in Euclidia.
Well, it looks like you're fixed up all right, Mrs. Gregory. Now, if the rest of us can find rooms like this, we'll be okay.
But how did my things get here so quickly?
I'd say that we weren't as much alone as we imagined when we came off the boat.
You are correct, Captain. The Euclideans must have removed all our possessions from the boat at once, as the island is now submerged.
Yeah, and it's been less than an hour since we landed. I wonder what they did with the boat.
Sounds like somebody else had a room ready for them.
I hope that's mine. Come on, let's see.
There is the open door, directly across the large circular chamber.
And I think I can see my instrument cases in there.
Well, come on, let's find out.
I believe we're going to find that we'll each have a room opening into this central chamber.
That would appear to be probable, Mother, and it will be most convenient.
I'll say it will. If we can all find a place to sleep, then all we have to worry about is where's the dining room.
Yes, sir, there we are. That's my room. And everything I had on the boat with me is in perfect order in the room.
There must be some point to all this service we're getting.
I think we will find many things done for our comfort, and we will enjoy ourselves for a certain period of time. And then, if the Euclideans have not secured from us the information they desire, our situation will change completely.
Yeah, and they'll kid us along for a while and get rough about it.
That's about it. But we'll be making some progress with our own plan.
Oh, another room is ready for one of us.
Oh, right beside this one.
This is your room, Jerry.
Sure is. And that bed looks mighty good to me. I'm going to get myself some sleep as soon as I find out where to eat.
Well, if we're going to be this well taken care of, surely some provision will be made for our meals.
Don't worry about that. We'll eat. But we have to do it whenever these Euclideans feel like feeding us.
Well, one thing's sure. It won't take us long to eat in this place. You don't lose much time when you swallow a pill for dinner.
That should be my apartment.
Yes, Joan, dear. There it is, next to mine.
Come on, Joan. Let's go look at it.
There is nothing to see that we have not seen in the other rooms.
You're sensible, Joan. No use running all over looking at these things.
I feel a little like Jerry does about it. Even though we may not understand all that's being done and haven't any way of knowing what the ultimate answer will be, it's all very interesting.
And I'm hungry.
Sounded like another door opening somewhere.
It was, and look, Tex, look.
Say, that is something.
It is indeed something.
Well, golly whiskers. Joan, will you pinch me?
No need, Jerry. You're awake and really seeing it.
Ouch! Hey, what's the idea?
Did you not say to pinch you?
Oh, yes, but I didn't mean it.
What did I tell you about saying things you do not mean, Jerry?
Oh, you tell me so much that I never know what...
Here, you two. This is no time to start an argument.
No, it certainly isn't. Tex, will you give me your arm?
With pleasure, Pat.
Joan, may I have the honor of taking you in to dinner?
Oh, Jerry, you speak so nicely when you want to.
Oh, sure.
What a beautiful dining table.
And it's loaded with food.
I hope this keeps up.
I believe we may depend on that.
This seems to be the head of the table, Tex. Will you do the honors?
Indeed, I will.
Will you look at the porterhouse steak?
Not much like the pills you're worried about eating, is it?
I'll say it isn't. Mrs. Gregory, will you have...
Tex, look.
What's the matter, Pat?
Well, nothing. I mean, nothing to be alarmed about, but look at this.
The silver, you mean?
Yes.
It is very beautiful, is it not?
Sure is. But what are you so excited about, Mrs. Gregory?
Oh, you wouldn't know, Jerry. You couldn't know. But I'm surprised that Tex didn't see it.
Mother, I believe I know what you mean. The silver is exactly like yours in your home in Los Angeles.
What?
Is it, Mrs. Gregory?
Well, it's more than that, Jerry. It is my silver.
Yours?
Are you sure, Pat?
Yes. And this is my table linen. Tex, my entire table service.
Oh, gee whiz. How could that happen?
I believe that the visitor who went through your home while we were locked in the radio room spent more time in various parts of the house than we noticed.
No doubt of it, Joan. One of those Euclideans took everything out of your mother's house that he thought she would want for a long stay on the island.
And that sounds like those men are mighty sure we're going to make a long stay.
Yes. There's something horribly final about it when you find that your personal possessions have been brought over 4,000 miles without your knowledge.
As I tried to explain to all of you in Los Angeles, I felt that our arrival on Euclidia would be the end of all communication with the world for us. And now I am convinced that such is the case.
Oh, now, cheer up. If this is the sort of treatment we're going to have all the time, we can't complain much.
Well, I'll say we can't. And I'm hungry. Let's eat.
Yes, we may as well do that. Why, these rolls are hot, just as if they'd come out of the oven this instant. And yet, why, we've been here for several minutes.
Well, that's not startling, Pat, if you'll notice that each bread plate is a small electric grill.
Boy, it sure is. And that's why this steak is gets so hot. Oh, boy, is this good.
Jerry, is it your custom to speak while you are eating?
Well, sorry, but when you expect to be handed a pill for your dinner and somebody brings you a steak that's kept sizzling hot, it's hard to remember your manners.
Oh, I know that, Jerry. But we must try very hard to preserve our composure and maintain all of our standards in the face of everything.
This food is really very excellent, is it not?
I don't know when I've tasted a meal I enjoyed more. Imagine sitting down to dinner in a polished metal dining room, 200 feet below the ocean, and finding your own table service waiting for you.
I wonder what happens when we're through eating.
This will probably disappear just as suddenly as it appeared.
Well, I hope they give us time to get out of this room before that steel door slams shut again.
Yes, I'd rather sleep over in that stateroom of mine than on one of these hard metal chairs.
Captain Bradford!
What?
Behind you!
Huh? Oh.
Well,
I thought this was too blame good to last.
well, G47, I suppose we have you to thank for this?
You have, though your thanks would mean nothing.
Nevertheless, we extend them.
Do we take care of this stuff, or does it go away like it got here?
The facilities for your meals will be at your disposal at stated intervals. You will have 1,800 seconds in which to complete each meal and leave this room.
We eat on time and when and what you tell us to eat, huh?
Precisely.
When may we begin our tour of Euclidia?
Tomorrow morning, you will find the main passageway open. You may proceed through the city as you will, and I might suggest that you take every advantage of the comfort and security offered you. Adapt yourselves to this method of living, as you will remain here for the rest of your lives.
Far below the surface of the South Pacific Ocean, the Gregory party have spent their first night in Euclidia, the hidden city of the Euclidean scientists. Mrs. Gregory, her young daughter Joan, Captain Bradford, and Jerry Hall found very fine quarters assigned to them in the Euclidean city. They also found a splendid dinner served with Mrs. Gregory's own table linen and silver. They have just finished breakfast, which appeared mysteriously at the right moment. As we find them now, our four adventuring friends are seated around the breakfast table, discussing their plans for the day.
No, thanks. I couldn't eat another bite.
I'm sure I couldn't, Jerry.
Well, I think we all did very well for ourselves at this breakfast.
I agree with you, Mother. For people who have as much to fear in the future as we have, the present is indeed kind to us.
Oh, I don't think we've got so much to fear, but I'll bet we've got plenty to see. For one thing, I'd like to see where all this food comes from.
Just what I was going to say, Jerry. I'd formed the opinion that Euclideans existed entirely on those condensed food tablets.
Sure doesn't look much like that now. Fresh milk, fresh butter, and last night all those fresh vegetables. That's a different story from the way we lived up inside that island.
I think we may safely explore outside our quarters now, Captain Bradford.
Yes, Tex. I'm anxious to get started myself.
Yeah, me too.
Looks like that's the pleasure of the meeting, then. Let's go.
Well, where do we start?
I would suggest we start by finding an outer door.
Yes, Joan, dear. We'll have to leave this large room or group of rooms if we're going to get anywhere.
No, all we need is a door.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll get some heavy wraps for Joan and myself.
Well, you won't need them, Mrs. Gregory.
But if we're going outside,
Mother, where do you think outside will be? Have you forgotten that we are 200 feet below the level of the ocean?
Oh, yes.
I'm afraid you slipped a little there, Pat. Outdoors is very liable to be the same as indoors in this place.
Oh, sure it will. No matter where we go, we'll still be inside this underwater city.
I think we will find the door to the outer corridor is over there.
What makes you think that, Joan?
Our sleeping quarters and the dining room occupy nearly all of the other sides. That should be the outer door.
Well, it won't take long to find out. Come on.
And if one of these panels does prove to be the door, we still have the fun of opening it.
Joan and I got a lot of doors open once just by... Hey, look.
Yes, Jerry. Another of the voice-controlled doors.
And this is the beginning of another series of weird experiences, I suppose.
Looks like it, Pat. But remember that these Euclideans are human, just as we are. If they can stand it, so can we.
Well, here we are, back in our disappearing hall again.
Yes, there is the elevator shaft through which we came.
And now our steps make no sound.
More of the soundproofing. We'll just have to learn to take that sort of thing for granted and not lose any time speculating on it, or we'll spend all our time doing that.
Well, where do we go first?
I think we should continue along this corridor until we see something of interest.
Then we've gone far enough now.
Yes, it's all interesting, but I'd prefer to see something a little different for a change. Let's keep on walking.
Looks like our tunnel splits up pretty soon.
So it does, Jerry. Just ahead there are 2 corridors.
Well, I guess we can choose the one we want to use. G47 said we could go anywhere we wanted to.
Isn't this floor sloping sharply downward?
I'll say it is. Feels like we're walking downhill.
G47 said this was the highest level of the ocean floor city. We may have to descend some distance before we find anything worthy of our inspection.
At least we'll have to go on down until we find a doorway to use getting out of this tunnel.
Oh, here's the dividing line. Which way do we go?
Well, there's no way of deciding that I can see. If any of you have any preference, I'll gladly go with you.
Makes no difference to me.
I got it. Let's split up and try both of these tunnels.
Excellent, Jerry. You and I will take one side, and Mother and Captain Bradford the other.
No, I'd prefer we stayed together, John.
Oh, gee, Mrs. Gregory. Nothing's going to happen to us. Old G47 said we'd be safe, didn't he?
Yes, if he can be depended on.
I think G47 does not have to trouble himself to the extent of telling anything other than the truth.
I suppose you're right. Our position is so obviously hopeless that none of the Euclideans would even bother to deceive us.
Then you'll let Joan and me go on a sightseeing tour of our own?
Please, Mother.
What do you think, Tex?
Oh, I don't see where there's anything going to hurt them. I'd say let the youngsters go, but set a time to meet us back at our own quarters.
Very well. But understand, Joan, and you, Jerry, that you're to come back to our own quarters in... how long, Tex?
Why not make it noon? I suppose they'll serve our lunch at noon, won't they, Joan?
I think so, exactly at 12 noon.
Okay, then. We'll meet you back here at noon. Come on, Joan.
We will be prompt. Have no fear of that, Mother.
Well, see that you are, Joan. I'll worry if you're late.
And don't ask too many questions. Try to keep out of the way as much as possible.
Aye, aye, Skipper. Well, here we go again, Joan.
I wonder if you and I will ever be able to sit down and enjoy one thing at a time, Jerry.
Well, what's the matter now?
Every moment since you came to Euclidia, we have been exploring this or searching for that or looking for something else. Are we to spend the rest of our lives in corridors, looking for things always just beyond our reach?
Well, golly whiskers, Joan. We've got to find out all we can about this Euclidia place.
Why must we do it all so quickly? We will have ample time during our stay here.
Oh, I know. You think we're going to be kept here until I've got a long gray beard that I keep falling over every time I take a step. But we won't be. We got away from here 3 times, and we can do it again.
We got away from the island. It is not such a simple matter to escape from this place, I think.
Oh, maybe not. But let's stop worrying about that and see what we can see.
I do not find this long tube of polished metal very interesting.
Well, I do. For one thing, we're going down pretty fast, and we've been walking fast. I wonder how far down we can go.
We will be here long enough to learn the answer.
Well, stop talking like that, Joan. We're not doing so bad.
Badly.
All right, then. Badly, we're not doing so.
That is not correct.
I know it, but who cares? Now, forget crying about how long we're going to be here, and let's try to learn something.
A most excellent idea.
Gee whiz.
The commander.
Precisely.
Where did you come from?
If your eyes were as active as your tongue, you would have noticed that I merely opened a panel in this wall and stepped into the corridor with you.
Well, why don't you make a little noise once in a while when you do those things?
Sound is a useless disturbance where silence will serve.
Is it permitted to ask questions, Commander?
Naturally. You may ask as many questions as you wish.
Will we get any answers?
That will depend entirely on the questions.
Where are we in relation to the main portion of the underwater city?
We are just above it. A few steps along this passageway will bring you to the main entrance. You are free to proceed there if you wish.
Come on, Joan. Let's go.
One moment, Jerry.
Now, what's the matter?
There is one other question I should like to ask the commander.
Well, looks like you're too late.
Jerry, she has gone.
Just as quickly as she popped up, she popped out again.
Then let us proceed.
Okay. Let's also get going.
Jerry, why must
never
you...
mind starting that grammar lesson again. I want to see what's behind that main entrance door the commander was talking about.
Nevertheless, I think my question was important.
What was it?
I wanted to ask the commander if the Euclidean living quarters were also along this corridor. If not, then what manner of room was it out of which she appeared?
Well, I guess we'll find all that out when the time comes. But let's keep walking to that main gate.
That blank wall directly before us must be the entrance.
Yeah, everything here's a blank wall.
Do you see anything with which to open it?
Not a thing. But I guess we can just... Oh, that's funny.
What is funny, Jerry?
That blank wall. Why, a minute ago I could have reached out and touched it. And now it's way up there ahead of us again.
I think you are mistaken, Jerry. That must be an illusion.
Maybe, but the joke's on that wall if it is. Because the wall moved, and it's still moving.
Now, Jerry.
Now, see for yourself. We're walking all the time, aren't we?
To be sure we are.
And the wall's keeping ahead of us, isn't it?
At least we do not approach it rapidly.
Yeah, then the wall's going away from us.
But why should the wall do that?
Don't ask me why things happen in this funny place. All I want to do is to get through a door, and I can't even catch the blame thing.
Jerry.
Yeah?
I think I know how the illusion is being created.
How?
Our descent is so rapid, the angle of this floor so sharp, that what we supposed to be the end of the corridor was in reality part of the ceiling.
Oh, I guess you're right. This thing does slope down pretty fast. Boy, we must be a long way under the ocean now.
And I believe we are nearly to that door.
That girl commander sure has wild ideas about how many steps there are in a few.
You are impatient.
Okay, I'm impatient. But just the same, I want to get someplace.
Then your hope is about to be fulfilled.
Looks like it now, all right, Joan. If that isn't a solid wall in front of us, then I never saw one.
I think we may safely enter.
No danger of running into electricity in this door?
The commander said we were free to use this doorway.
Yeah, we're free to use it, but she didn't say anything about what would happen to us if we did use it.
Now, Jerry, you are being, as you say about me, scared of everything.
Oh, I'll show you a thing or two. Well, maybe I will if I can find out where to take hold of this door.
Press upon it.
I am pressing. Yeah, it moves up. Look, Joan, I'm just barely touching it with my hand. Just pushing up a little, and the whole end of the corridor is going right straight up.
Oh, Jerry, look! Away down there on the floor of this cavern.
Gee whiz, Joan. Oh, boy! Golly, whiskers! Oh, boy!
We will go down and see it.
Why, Joan, this is the biggest thing I ever saw in my life.
I believe it is the largest spectacle of its kind in the world. Never have I heard anyone describe anything of such magnitude.
Yeah, it's big, too. You remember I told you about the Carlsbad Caverns, those big caves in New Mexico back home?
Yes, Jerry, but were they as large as this?
They don't even start to be as big as this. Why, Joan, that place down there, that room, I guess you'd call it, must be a mile across.
Easily that, Jerry, and it is half that in height.
Look at the light shining on those hanging things. I can never remember what they're called.
Those are stalactites. The lower ones are stalagmites.
Oh, I thought you said you had never seen them before.
I have not, but I have learned about them.
Well, so have I, but that doesn't help me much when I try to remember what kind hang from the ceiling and which kind pile up from the floor.
The stalactites are suspended from the ceiling.
Remember that so you can tell me again, will you? I forget it. Boy, what a room this is.
Yes, Jerry. It is impressive. And I believe I see the entrances to similar rooms on all sides.
Sure looks like it, Joan. This thing we're standing on is a balcony, a steel balcony built around this end of the cave. And we're pretty near halfway up the side and... Hey, Joan. Joan!
What is it, Jerry? You are hurting my arm.
Oh, sorry, but I got excited. Look down on the floor of this cave, right under us.
Yes. I do not understand what it is you wish me to observe.
Trees. Green grass and big trees growing in this cave under the ocean. We must be 300 feet down by now.
At least 300 feet below the surface of the water.
Now I know where they got all of that fresh cream and butter and fresh vegetables. There's cows down there, Joan. Cows and pastures and green grass and trees.
I see them. Is that so unexpected?
Now, look, Joan, don't act like that. You know as well as I do that green grass and trees don't grow like that in a dark cave under the water. They've got to have sunlight and fresh air.
This would seem to prove that you are wrong, Jerry. You can see the green vegetation, and you can see the cows, and you have eaten fresh vegetables, milk, cream, and butter that obviously came from here. Sometime I hope to make you realize that on Euclidia, things which cannot be done are done every day.
The magic island of Euclidia provided enough surprises for any party of adventurers. Now, the colony of Euclidia, the larger part of this weird settlement, promises to be even more surprising. Jerry and Joan found a lot of interesting things when they explored the magic island. They found complete scientific laboratories, submarine docks, and immense power machines inside the artificial island, built to a depth of 100 feet below the surface of the ocean. Now, Jerry and Joan have started out to explore the colony of Euclidia. We find them standing on a balcony, 300 feet below sea level, looking out over an immense cavern in which the activities of an entire community are being carried on.
But gee whiz, Joan, I don't see how you can be so calm about all this.
Is there something exciting about it?
Is there something exciting about it? Look, Joan, here we are, standing on a balcony built of steel. We're 300 feet under the ocean, and the bottom of this cave, or whatever it is more than that. Hey, but look what's going on down there.
I see that, Jerry. There are trees growing, as you have said, and vegetation of various kinds. But why should those things not grow here?
Because it's in a cave. There's no sunlight here. And you can't grow things without sunlight.
I think your statement would be more sensibly worded if you said that in your limited experience, you had never seen these things growing without sunlight.
It can't be done.
You may see with your own eyes that it is being done.
Well, I still don't believe it. Come on. Let's go down and see some of these things.
I think there is a stairway over this way.
Yeah. And I'll bet it's a good long one, too. We must be 200 feet above the floor of that cave.
It is approximately 200 feet. Oh, Jerry.
What?
This small stairway will do us no good.
No good? Well, it goes down, doesn't it?
It does for a few steps, possibly 12 feet. And then the steps end in that small landing.
Oh, golly whiskers. What good is this kind of a stairway?
I think we may as well descend as far as possible. At least we may be able to see under this balcony. Perhaps there are other means of reaching the floor of the cave.
Well, okay. We'll get down. But I don't see what good it's going to do us to stand on that little platform and wish we were 200 feet below here.
There is only one means of support visible for the platform.
Yeah, and they're not any too visible. Just those 4 wires hanging down from the roof of the cave. I wonder if it's safe to step on it.
To be sure it is.
Yeah. Well, we're here. What good does this do?
We have gained nothing. This is simply a platform suspended below the balcony. But it must be here for some purpose.
Well, maybe, but I don't understand it.
Jerry, the stairway.
Hey, it folded back out of the way. And that sure leaves us in a swell spot. Here we are on a little platform 200 feet from the ground hanging on 4 wires. And we can't get back to the balcony.
Jerry, we are sinking.
Huh?
Yes. Observe the wall under the balcony. Fix your eyes on one spot. Are we not moving?
We sure are. We're going down. And without a sound. This platform must be an elevator.
It is not. This platform is a platform.
Okay. But if it acts like an elevator, it is an elevator.
At least we descend.
I'll say we descend. We're going down, too.
Jerry, descend is synonymous with go down.
All right, all right. We'll each do this trick the way we understand it best. You descend, I'll go down.
We will reach the bottom. Will that suffice?
That'll be all right with me. You know, one nice thing about this elevator platform, it goes nice and slow.
We are approaching a good view of the floor of this cavern now.
Boy, some of those trees must be 100 feet high. We're nearly down to them, and we're only about halfway.
We are not more than 1/4 of the way. The height of those trees is more nearly 150 feet.
And these Euclideans can grow trees 150 feet high in a cave under the water.
Perhaps the scientists will explain that to you, Jerry.
Well, I'm going to ask them anyway. G47 said we could ask all the questions we wanted to, within reason. And one thing I sure want to find out is where all the light in this place is coming from.
That is an intelligent question, Jerry.
Oh, look who thought of it.
Exactly. That prompted me to wonder at it.
Oh, is that so?
Now, Jerry, you must not become angry. I think you are a very clever boy.
Oh, you bet I am.
Nevertheless, the answer to your question would be obvious to you if you were slightly more clever.
Huh? Oh, do you know the answer?
To be sure I do. The light comes from the roof of the cave.
Oh, I know that. But how did the light get up there in the first place? What makes the light?
That you will have to ask Thales.
Thales? Oh, well, I don't want to see anything more of that fellow.
Thales is the electrical expert for Euclidia. Any question on illumination will be referred to him.
Well, then maybe I can get along without the answer. I'd rather not find out than ask that fellow anything. Hey, Joan, we've stopped moving.
I had noticed that.
Look, Joan, we've been moving along pretty fast here. Oh, not as fast as one of the regular elevators in the island, but we've come down about 100 feet in 3 or 4 minutes. Now, this platform is hung on those wires on the corners, but when we stopped, this platform didn't sway around. It didn't move like it was swinging on wires, and it hasn't moved yet.
That is strange. Are you sure there is nothing supporting us from below?
Nothing but the air. That looks kind of thin to me.
Something is being used to hold this platform perfectly motionless.
Well, other things are moving, even if we're standing still.
What is moving?
Well, look over there at the wall of the cave.
Yes, a portion of the wall is moving. But what a strange action.
It looks to me like a long, narrow strip of the wall is opening down toward us, like one of those drawbridges they used to have in front of castles.
I am watching it. A section of the wall directly opposite this platform is opening, and the metal section is coming down within an arc, which should terminate at the exact level of this platform.
Oh, that's the way it looks, and that's a pretty good long piece of steel, too. We must be 40 or 50 feet from that wall.
Jerry, someone is walking out along that narrow strip of steel as it comes down into place.
Yeah, and they're not waiting for it to get all the way down, either. Hey, look out, Joan. Get back from that edge.
I will not be struck. There is ample room.
Boy, they sure know their engineering on this place. Our platform never even shivered when that steel drawbridge fell into place.
Is this not the submarine commander, Jerry?
Yeah, it looks like her. But she's turned around looking at the wall, and I can't be sure. Yeah, now she's looking this way.
You will follow me?
You mean us?
Of course she means us.
Oh, I just wanted to know. Okay, Commander. Here we come. Oh, noiseless steel in this drawbridge, too, huh?
You have learned little since our last meeting, Hall.
What's the matter with me now?
You will persist in asking questions to which it is not worthwhile to reply.
I will attempt to curb Jerry's questions, Commander.
Oh, you will, huh?
You might use your time in some more profitable pursuit, Cleostra.
There's that Cleostra business again. Her name is Joan. Joan Gregory. And that old stuff about her namesake who monkeyed around with a zodiac and fixed up the calendar doesn't mean a thing to her anymore. Look, Joan's been to Los Angeles with me, and she likes our way of living. So from now on, that's the way she's going to live.
You may find, and that in the very near future, that your life on Euclidia will be more pleasant if you conform to the Euclidean manner of doing all things.
Oh, sure. We're smart enough to play your way when we're using your marbles. But when we get back in our own yard, then we'll do it our way.
That is the mistaken impression I am trying to correct. You will never know any other life than this. You will never leave Euclidia.
Jerry, I believe she speaks the truth.
Maybe she thinks so. But that's because old G47's got her scared.
That is partially true. Everyone on Euclidia lives in fear of G47 and his displeasure. Yet even such a life is preferable to anything your world could have to offer.
I have seen something of the world of which Jerry speaks. I think you would change your opinion if you could see it as I did, Commander.
Oh, you sure would. Why, a girl as beautiful as you are with the right kind of clothes, could be a picture star in no time at all.
A picture star?
Jerry refers to the more important personages in the world of the motion picture.
You are obviously sincere about this matter, Hall. Is there anything more attractive than being the first in command of the Euclidean underwater fleet?
Well, that may seem like a swell job to you. Well, I guess it is. But it's no job for a girl. Why, one of these scientists should have that job, and you ought to be back in Hollywood, knocking them dead in the flickers.
Jerry, I am sure the commander does not understand a word of that.
It was not even partially comprehensible.
Okay. What I intended to convey was the impression that a young lady of your beauty ought to be in Hollywood with the rest of the stars.
But you spoke of killing someone. It is not the policy of Euclideans to take human lives.
I didn't say anything about killing anybody.
But you did, Jerry. You distinctly said knocking them dead.
Oh, boy. Well, maybe you didn't understand me then. That means that you'd get over big, make them crazy about you. Why, they'd think you were swell. You'd be the tops. Won't all that.
I believe you intend to compliment me on my beauty and infer that my appearance would be productive of approbation and homage in the making of motion pictures.
That is what Jerry meant, Commander.
Well, maybe it was. It didn't sound like that to me.
Enough of this. You will continue to follow me.
We are following you at the moment.
Yeah. I wish you'd lead us on to something that would make a little noise when we walk. I'm getting tired of having my footsteps sound like toothpicks falling on a rug.
You will have many opportunities to hear a variety of sounds during your stay in Euclidia. We are now leaving the steel walk and entering the chamber wall corridor.
Oh, I can see that. But how about closing that thing again?
It will close automatically.
Did you stop the elevator we were riding on so that you might meet us at this level?
No. That platform would descend no further. It is merely used for observation of the floor of this particular chamber. You might have stayed there all day if I had not noticed you.
Where are you taking us now?
Where I supposed you were trying to take yourselves. Down to the floor of this chamber.
Commander, you continually refer to this chamber. Are there others?
There are 12 others. 13 in all.
13? Oh, boy.
What is the matter, Jerry?
Oh, nothing. Only I hope they discover another one. Are the others much smaller than this one?
The others are all much larger than this.
Larger?
12 other rooms under the ocean and all larger than this?
Precisely. This is slightly less than 1 mile in diameter. The largest chamber in the city is 2 miles wide.
Gee whiz. A cave 2 miles wide. Will we get to see all those other places?
I believe that is G47's wish. Though your conduct will have much to do with permission to continue, I will leave you here. Continue down this spiral passageway. You will reach the floor of the chamber. I will meet you later. Do not follow me further.
Jerry and Joan are now several hundred feet below the surface of the South Pacific Ocean. After the Gregory party was comfortably located in their new quarters in the Euclidean city below the sea, Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford started out to explore the underwater colony from one side, and the youngsters chose the other. When they stood on a balcony of steel, looking out into a natural cave nearly a mile in diameter, where large trees and green grass were growing below them, Jerry and Joan thought they had seen something wonderful. Now, however, they are seeing things even more wonderful as they stand on the floor of the immense undersea room.
Hey, Joan, listen to that.
Listen to what, Jerry?
Listen, you'll know what to listen to.
I hear a variety of strange sounds. What do they mean?
Well, if it was back home, out in the country, I'd say we're in somebody's barnyard. Sounds like chickens and stuff to me.
I have never heard a chicken.
Well, you're hearing them now. I don't believe it.
Jerry, you say you can hear something, then you say you do not believe it. What are you thinking about?
Well, I know there couldn't be any chickens or ducks or pigs or any of the rest of those things here. We're in a cave 400 feet below the water.
But you said you heard those animal sounds.
Well, I still don't believe it.
Jerry, it is foolish to stand here and discuss something we may easily settle.
Well, how can we settle it?
If we step around this section of the wall into the main chamber, we will see what is making those noises.
Yeah, guess you're right. Okay, come on then, Joan. Hey, Joan. Joan, listen to the noise our feet make here.
What is so strange about that?
Well, this is good old dirt we're walking on now. Just plain old ground. Boy, it sounds good after all that noiseless steel we've been walking around on.
I can understand how you would feel that.
Joan, look, it's a regular barnyard, just like we have back home, any place in the country.
What are those lively white things?
Those lively white things are chickens, white leghorns.
I have eaten of chicken, but I have never seen one before.
Did you like that bacon we had for breakfast?
It was indeed acceptable food.
Well, that old guy over there with a curly tail, that's a pig, and someday he'll be bacon.
Will he also be eggs?
Will he be what?
Will the pig be eggs? We had eggs with the bacon this morning.
Look, Joan, you don't get eggs from pigs. You get eggs from chickens. It's about time you started eating some real food instead of that concentrated stuff they give you in those little pills. Huh, eggs from a pig.
I am sorry if you think I am stupid, Jerry, but I had never seen either a chicken or a pig.
Oh, okay, but don't ask me a lot of silly questions now if you see a cow.
A cow? What is a cow?
I know it. Now hold everything. I'll explain a cow when we see a cow. I suppose you think milk comes from those concentrated milk tablets.
That is indeed all I know of milk.
Well, it strikes me that a lot of these Euclideans know plenty more than you do about a lot of things. Somebody's been living down here and taking care of all these animals and birds and stuff.
Jerry, what is stuff?
Oh, stuff is, well, when you're talking about something and you mean a whole lot more that's pretty near the same thing, well, that's stuff.
A larger quantity of nearly the same thing.
Hey, look who's coming.
He is vaguely familiar to me.
Well, I guess you only saw him a time or two when we first came here in your mother's yacht. That's the old skipper who was handling the boat.
The old gentleman who speaks only a single word at one utterance?
That's the guy. And he's got some funny-looking clothes on. Looks like he's working here.
That is indeed the Euclidean laboring dress.
Well, back home, we'd call them overalls. Hey, Skipper.
Jerry, perhaps you should not speak to him.
Why not? Old G47 said we could do anything we wanted to on the sightseeing tour.
He has heard you, Jerry. He is coming toward us.
Boy, and does he look glad to see us. Hello, Skipper.
Hello.
How do you do?
Hello.
Have you been here ever since we escaped from the island?
Yep.
Have you been working down here?
Yep.
But you are a sea captain. What did you know of farming?
Nothing.
Well, you must be doing it all right now. You look like they were treating you pretty good.
Aye.
Is McLeod, the Scotch engineer, down here, too?
Aye.
What's he doing?
Milking.
Milking?
Milking.
You mean milking cows? An engineer from a yacht milking cows?
Aye.
Oh, I'll bet he doesn't like that any too well. What's your job, Skipper?
Pigs.
Pigs?
Hogs.
Oh, boy. I can see that engineer handling a bunch of pigs.
Jerry, what is a hog?
Oh, a hog is a pig.
Then what is a pig?
Oh, a pig is a hog.
I do not understand
Well,
that.
never mind now. Save all the questions till some other time. Just now, I want to try and find out something about what's been going on here. Have they treated you all right, Skipper? I mean, plenty to eat and a good place to sleep?
Aye.
Can we see McLeod pretty soon?
Aye.
Jerry, would it not be quicker and easier to see these things for yourself than it is to wait for the captain's answers one word at a time?
Hey, look here, Skipper. Why don't you open up and do some real talking? I mean, put 2 or 3 words together and make a book out of them.
Nope.
Why? What's wrong with talking like other people?
Waste.
Waste of what?
Words.
So it's too much of a waste of words to tell us what's happened since we've been gone.
Yep.
Do you know where McLeod is? I mean, where we can find him right away?
Pigs.
Yeah, I know. He's with the pigs. But where are the pigs?
Gone.
The pigs are gone.
Aye.
Well, where did they go? I know blame well they can't run away from down here in this place. Where are they?
Sleep.
Oh, the pigs are gone to sleep?
Aye.
Jerry, if they are sleeping, we do not wish to disturb them now.
Look, Joan, a pig is something you don't care whether you disturb it or not. A pig can sleep any old time. A pig, well, a pig is just a pig.
Possibly, but the skipper says the pigs are asleep. And I believe he means we cannot see Mr. McLeod, who is caring for them at this time. Is that not correct?
Aye.
Well, of all the blame nonsense I ever heard of, I can't visit the guy who's watching the pigs because the pigs are sleeping. Fine thing this is. It's a wonder the chickens aren't taking a little nap.
Feeding.
Oh, you're feeding them now?
Aye.
I should like to see that, Jerry. I have never seen a chicken eating.
Nope.
No, what? You mean we can't watch you feed the chickens?
Nope.
What is the objection?
Orders.
Orders?
Regulations.
Regulations. Boy, I pretty nearly had you there. That word's long enough to count for 2.
May we see them closely at some other time?
Aye.
Hey, Skipper, come back here.
Busy.
Oh, I like that. He's the old skipper, one of your mother's and Captain Bradford's best friends, so stuck on his job feeding Euclidean chickens that he can't even stop to talk to us.
Perhaps he is only executing orders, as he said.
Well, maybe, but it wouldn't hurt his old chickens any if we watched him feed them.
Have you thought that G47 may have some secret regarding the feeding that you may not see?
Oh, I suppose so. Well, come on. The old skipper's closing that gate, so we might as well walk around the edge of this place and, well, see if we can get a look at a cow without spoiling her game of checkers or whatever they have the cows doing here.
Jerry,
Yeah?
do you not see how very final all this is?
Final? What do you mean?
That old gentleman you call the skipper, he is of your world, a good and loyal friend of my mother's.
Oh, sure he is. Why?
Yet his appearance is that of a man who is very happy, quite content with his lot, satisfied with this life.
Yeah, well, I guess he didn't seem very excited about seeing us, but then he never gets excited about anything.
I meant more than that, Jerry. He is intelligent, has seen much of the world, and knows what various things are worth. Yet he is content to remain in Euclidia.
What are you trying to say?
I am afraid that may happen to all of us, Jerry. Is it not entirely possible that we may all find life here so pleasant that we will not want to leave it? Mother and the captain and yourself may be quite willing to give up the world you have always known. And I will have to be content with the brief glimpse I had of that world.
Oh, don't worry about that, Joan. I'll never like this place so well that I won't want to get back home.
I wish I could believe that, Jerry.
Well, I mean it.
I know you mean it at the moment, but we do not know what wonders we may see here, what comforts may be provided for us. Will we ever go back to your world, Jerry?
Now, quit worrying about things like that, and let's find out more about these big caves. This one looks like it's the farm, the country part of Euclidia. Where are the rest of the caves the girl commander told us about?
When we were up on the balcony, I could see the opening into one of the other rooms. But from our position on the floor, I can see nothing but trees.
Trees, 200 feet high. Boy, what a place.
And on this side of us, the artificial steel wall of the chamber.
And now we're back in that noiseless steel again. And I suppose a lot of this spooky Euclidean stuff will start happening. Oh, I knew we couldn't have pigs and chickens all the time.
Must you walk so rapidly, Jerry?
Well, why not? There's nothing to see around here, and I'm in a hurry to get where I can see something.
You will see a great deal.
Gee whiz. G47. Where did you come from?
That is not important. You will follow me.
Oh, okay. Come on, Joan.
No. Cleostra will remain where she now stands.
You mean I'm to go with you alone?
Precisely.
What shall I do?
Remain in your present position. Mrs. Gregory and the captain will join you in an instant.
Oh, but look here. Why can't Joan come with me? You said we could look at anything we wanted to on this island or under it.
I will show you something far more interesting than anything you might discover for yourself.
But where are Mother and the captain?
Silence, come on.
I won't be long, Joan.
I have spoken. That is all.
Yes, that is all. And I am alone. Alone in the same world from which Mother and the captain and Jerry have tried so bravely to remove me.
Joan, dear,
Mother!
Where's Jerry?
And are you all right, Joan?
Oh, I am perfectly safe, Mother. But where did you come from?
Through this steel slide right behind you. Why, it's invisible now.
Why, sure it is. Once you pass through a door in this place, there's no chance to find it again. But where's Jerry?
G47 just stepped through another of those noiseless steel panels and ordered Jerry to accompany him.
What was he going to do with Jerry?
That I do not know.
Oh, probably ask him a lot of questions. Jerry doesn't know the answer to the only question old G47 cares about. I hope he can make that scientist believe him.
I suppose we are quite helpless to do anything for Jerry.
Naturally, Mother. And any attempt on our part to move in Jerry's behalf would only anger G47.
Well, we might as well take it as calmly as we can and wait around near here for him to come out. What have you two been seeing?
We saw the old captain of your yacht, Mother.
The skipper?
Yes.
How is he?
He seemed in the best of health and spirits. So obviously so that Jerry could not understand it.
What was he doing?
He was caring for the chickens.
Chickens?
Yes. I had never seen one before, and we did not view these from a good point. But Jerry said they were chickens that gave us the bacon, which we used with the eggs, which came from the pigs to make our breakfast.
Well, Joan, dear, that's the first time I've ever heard you so completely mixed up. But I believe we understand.
You mean that they have chickens and pigs here?
Just beyond this soundproof wall. Jerry and I saw and heard them from a distance.
And the old skipper is caring for the chickens. What a task for an able seaman.
But you say he seemed to enjoy it, Joan.
He did indeed. Of course, it is difficult to question him, as he will only speak a single word at one time. But he excused himself and left us very calmly to attend his chickens.
Tex, can you imagine such a thing?
I can't, unless it would be McLeod milking cows.
As to that, I could not say. But he is attending the pigs.
Tex, McLeod and the pigs.
A marine engineer and his skipper playing nursemaid to the pigs and chickens. No wonder Jerry looked surprised when he heard that.
The last time we saw the Gregory party in Euclidia, that mysterious colony beneath the sea, we found our friends in happier circumstances than they have enjoyed for some time. Jerry and Joan went on a sightseeing tour of one of the mammoth natural caverns under the ocean, one of the giant rooms which have been used by the Euclideans to house their weird city. And there they saw strange sights, not unique and terrifying scientific devices, but natural things, pigs and chickens, green grass and tall trees, the most surprising things possible for this world beneath the water. Their pleasure lasts but a few moments, however, as G47 takes Jerry away. Mrs. Gregory and Captain Bradford find Joan very worried.
I do not like it, Mother. G47 may harm Jerry.
Oh, I think not, Joan. He promised we would all be quite safe so long as we remain quietly in Euclidia.
You're right, Pat. We're in no danger unless we try to escape. We're not liable to try that 400 feet below the surface of the ocean.
No, Joan, dear. And let's think about more pleasant things for a moment. You said you and Jerry saw the old skipper.
He is caring for the chickens on the other side of that soundproof wall.
Better not disturb him if he's busy. These Euclideans might not like that.
I think that is the correct attitude, Captain.
Then perhaps we can find our old yacht engineer, McLeod.
He is attending the pigs.
Attending the pigs? I bet the pigs would appreciate that if they could hear how nicely you worded, Joan. But never mind that. I'd like to see Mac for a minute, even if he is busy.
I have no idea where the pigs are to be found. In what manner of place would pigs be likely to congregate?
Oh, my dear. You'll never realize how much good you're doing us until you've lived for some time in our world. Pigs are not usually referred to as congregating, but I suppose that will do.
I am sorry I do not have a larger acquaintance with pigs.
Forget it, Joan. Let's walk around here a while and see what we can see.
All this perfectly natural vegetating is amazing to me.
There's a mighty good reason for it, if my opinion's any good.
What is that, Captain?
You remember when we visited the cloth mill up in the island where they make the Euclidean cloth from seaweed?
To be sure. I conducted you to that room.
Who could forget that place? Where the machines made such a frightful clatter you could hardly hear yourself think.
That's what I'm getting at. When we stumbled into that room, we had been walking without making a sound, opening and closing doors without a sound, riding in noiseless elevators. Then all at once a terrific din struck our ears. It was all done for a good reason.
Precisely, Captain Bradford. As you so promptly surmised at the time, those machines were deliberately made noisy to aid the Euclideans in retaining their normal sense of hearing.
Well, I'm sorry to have been so stupid about this, but I'm finally getting the idea. All of this naturalness, cows, trees, noise when we walk, all of these things are kept here in their natural state so that the Euclideans will remember how to behave when their time comes to go out into our world.
I am glad we will be allowed to see things as they are in your world. All of my life, until you came, was spent up in the island, and there everything was artificial. Even our food was strange in comparison to what I now know as normal food.
I think this atmosphere is good for all of us, Joan. We can keep up our spirits a lot easier among things we understand.
Yeah, that's all right, but let's not forget that these Euclideans are just as dangerous and just as watchful in this weird undersea city as they were on the island.
I would like very much to explore some of the other large caverns.
The others?
Are there others, Joan?
Yes, the submarine commander explained to Jerry and me that this is only one of 13 such chambers.
Do you know what is in those other caves?
No, Mother.
Let's go and find out.
I would enjoy that, but I do not want to leave Jerry here.
We're certainly not getting anywhere this way.
Don't be too sure of that. We're on one of those noiseless steel runways now.
So we are, and I believe it leads upward.
Well, let's take a chance and go up on it. Perhaps we can come out on that balcony again, and this time we'll watch everything that's to be seen and plan our tour.
Hello there.
Pat, did you hear that?
Well, I did hear something.
Perhaps Jerry is calling us.
Jerry never saw the day he could make a noise like that.
Hi, over there. Hello.
Tex, that sounds like McLeod.
That's who it is, and he's coming this way.
Is this gentleman the engineer from your yacht, Mother?
Yes, dear. And poor Mac has been down here ever since we first found the island, I suppose.
Aye, there you be, Mrs. Gregory, and Captain Bradford.
Hello, Mac.
Oh, I'm glad to see that you're alive and well, Mac.
How do you do?
Aye, and how do you do, my lassie? You're as beautiful as your mother, and heretofore I had no thought that possible.
Well, thank you, Mac. I see you're diplomatic as ever.
More so, Mrs. Gregory. I've got a bit of a job here now that requires no little diplomacy.
I thought you had something to do with pigs now, Mac.
Pigs they are, and a fine task it is to handle them. But even so, it's no on the easy side compared to marine motors.
What did I tell you about the old skipper, Mother? Now you can see that Mr. McLeod likes his pigs better than he did your yacht.
Why, Mac, that's treason.
If that be treason, make the most of it. I never want to leave this place again.
Mac, you're not serious about this thing. You wouldn't actually stay here through choice.
I would that, aye. Everything is perfect here. Even the sunlight is regulated properly, so my pigs get a right amount of it every day.
I was trying to explain that to Jerry.
Sunlight? What do you mean, Mac?
Aye, the artificial sunlight we use here in the domestic animal sector. Ultraviolet light is something like it, but this is better.
Well, how is it different and better?
I cannot explain it to you, Captain. But G47 will if you ask him. And now I must get along to my pigs.
Well, hold on a minute, Mac. I have some questions to ask you.
I'm sorry, but the question will have to wait. I must see about my pigs.
Well, Tex, what do you think of that?
I don't understand it, Pat. And I don't like it. McLeod was one of the best marine engineers who ever held a ticket for all engines and all oceans. And he loved the sea and an outdoor life more than any man I've ever known. Yet he seems content to stay here with the Euclidean pigs.
That's the very thing I'm so afraid of. The thing I've tried to warn you against all along. It's so easy to find things attractive in this sort of life. Yet we know it's wrong. The whole purpose of this hidden colony is wrong, and we must keep ourselves from liking it, no matter what we have to do.
I do not understand you, Mother. This part of Euclidia is exactly like your world.
No, it isn't exactly like our world, Joan. And I think I know what your mother means. This artificial sunlight apparently has the same results as real sunlight. But it isn't real. Oh, nothing here is real.
Did you say nothing?
Oh.
Well, where did you come from?
From whence did the heavens come, or the sea, or the sands of time?
Well, who are you?
I am called Cheops, the builder.
This is getting back into my ancient history days. I thought they found your tomb in the center of the Great Pyramid.
That was Cheops the First, whom the Egyptians called Khufu. From the building of the first or Great Pyramid 5,000 years ago, the blood of Cheops has come down through the centuries. Until now, I, Cheops, the builder of Euclidia, stand before you as the architectural wizard of the world.
I'm beginning to understand your position here. In your modest way, you are letting us know that the responsibility for the marvelous construction in this weird colony rests on your shoulders.
No, only a fool would carry a burden on his shoulders. I carry them with my intelligence.
Well, maybe you're right, but there must have been some strong backs and willing shoulders somewhere along the line when all this construction went on.
Now we reach the point which caused me to appear before you. I was studying in my laboratory behind this wall when I heard your careless remark.
If we have been mistaken in the nature of our conversation, the fault is entirely mine, Cheops. My mother and Captain Bradford are not familiar with Euclidean regulations.
Silence, Cleostra.
You needn't shout at her like that, and we need no apologies. What is the reason for appearing out of nothing and giving us your history?
Careful, Pat. You need not warn the lady, Captain Bradford. There is little harm in the desperate prattle of one who is driven to nervous expressions of complete helplessness.
We're not helpless.
Please, Mother, it will avail you nothing.
You have not forgotten your Euclidean training, Cleostra. Now, if you will allow me a period of silence, I will correct your erroneous impression as to the reality of certain things in Euclidia.
We feel that the whole thing is mighty unreal. You'll never change that impression.
You may change a great number of your opinions while you are on Euclidia, my precious captain. You have said that your sunlight was not real.
We know it isn't. Sunlight doesn't penetrate 400 feet of water and the rock and steel roof and walls of these caves.
You see all about you evidence that our sunlight will do everything that can be done with the light and heat of the sun.
Yes, we see that all right. But what will the effect of this artificial light be on future generations? How long can you sustain life under these conditions?
That you must ask Thales, as the production of electrical energy is within his province. However, for your immediate information, Thales has established the fact that this light in which you now stand will prolong the span of human life to well over a century.
Tex, do you suppose that's possible?
Well, we sure can't prove that it isn't possible.
I have heard the scientists speak of experiments along those lines, and they have been most successful.
Precisely. As for the reality of the construction around you, these arches, palaces, bridges, and walls, which I have designed and created, will retain their present form and usefulness for a period of 50,000 years.
50,000 years?
How can you prove that?
You are a man of science, are you not, Captain Bradford?
Well, I thought I was until I came here.
At least you will recognize the value of one of my construction materials. I have unearthed the greatest secret of the ancient engineers. I have tempered copper.
Tempered copper?
But scientists have been trying that for thousands of years, and they've all failed miserably.
You will enter my laboratory. I wish you to see a little experiment with the tempered copper. Enter.
And just as easy as that, the door is open for us.
I suppose the plain wooden floor is for the usual purpose of keeping in tune with the normal things in our world.
Precisely. You, Mrs. Gregory, will stand there. You there, Cleostra. Now, Captain Bradford, will you step over here with me?
That's a sheet of copper foil you have there, isn't it?
No. Foil is much heavier. This sheet of copper leaf is 1/10,000th of 1 inch in thickness.
Well, that's getting it thin, all right.
But how can you temper a sheet of copper so thin it's practically transparent?
The secret of the ages must remain my secret. Now, Captain, I have mounted a similar square of copper leaf in this heavy wooden frame. I will place the frame on these 2 supports, so, and ask you to feel that copper.
Why, it's so delicate that it quivers under the touch.
Precisely. Now will you be so good as to stand on it?
Stand on it? Stand on that sheet of copper, which is so thin you can see through it?
Precisely. Stand on it.
Okay, but don't blame me when I fall through.
Mother, the captain is standing on it.
Tex, it's not real. You're not actually standing on that sheet of copper.
Yes, I am. I'm standing right in the middle of a sheet of copper 1 yard square and 1/10,000th of an inch thick. And it doesn't even quiver.
Perhaps you will realize, after this little demonstration, that Euclidia is a very real place. And before you attempt to dispute any statement of mine in the future, it would be well for you to remember that my knowledge is as old as the pyramids and as new as tomorrow.
When the Gregory party was allowed the freedom of the strange underwater colony known as Euclidia, their first view was of an immense cave or cavern, 1 mile in width and half a mile high. The most surprising thing about this cavern is the naturalness of everything. Tall trees and green grass, growing just as they do in the everyday world, while cows, pigs, and chickens make the weird surroundings almost natural. This can't go on forever on Euclidia, and our friends soon feel more as they did on their first visit to the island. Jerry is taken away for a conference with G47, and Mrs. Gregory, her daughter Joan, and Captain Bradford are taken to witness an experiment in the laboratory of Cheops, the builder. The captain is speaking as they stand outside this room.
It doesn't matter what we've seen on this place before. There's always something more surprising waiting for us.
You were impressed, were you not, Captain, with Cheops' demonstration of the tempered copper?
I should think that anyone would be impressed, my dear.
Yes, Joan. The art of tempering copper was lost somewhere, along with a lot of other wonderful things those old Egyptians had done. And ever since that time, men have been trying to find the secret.
Even his name seems unnatural. Cheops, whom the Egyptians called Khufu. I can almost imagine this man standing by the newly completed Great Pyramid, proudly looking at his handiwork.
You allow your imagination too much scope, Mother. This man has merely taken the name of Cheops, as he is the master builder of Euclidia.
We know that, Joan, but at the same time, it's more than a coincidence. This man should have taken the secrets of the ancient builder along with his name.
I've seen enough of this for a while. Let's walk around this passageway and try to find some more natural things to look at. The sight of you standing on that thin sheet of copper as solidly as you might have stood on a concrete foundation was a little too much for me.
It was indeed remarkable. That copper was so thin that it seemed almost to float in the air. Yet when the edges of it were firmly held, it supported your weight.
I wish Jerry could have seen that.
He's probably seeing plenty where he is now.
I wonder what G47 will do to him.
He will not harm Jerry, I think.
Possibly not, but I wish he were here with us.
Okay, here I am.
Oh, Jerry.
Jerry, you startled me.
Well, you're getting to be a regular Euclidean, son. Where did you come from?
Oh, through one of those noiseless steel panels, just like the rest of the Euclideans do it.
The rest of the Euclideans?
Oh, sure. My dad always said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So I'm going to try it on Euclidean.
Well, it works all right, but we haven't quite accustomed ourselves to these poppings in and out of doors.
I do not like the thought of you being a Euclidean, Jerry.
Oh, what's wrong with that? You were one for a long time, and you thought it was all right.
This is different. You are so much a part of your world. You would not be convincing as a member of this colony.
Nevertheless, Joan, it looks as if we're all going to be members, whether we want to or not.
It sure does. And it looks like it more than ever now.
What's happened now, Jerry?
Well, nothing much has happened that we didn't figure was going to happen, but old G47 made it mighty plain to me that from now on, we're going to do just exactly what these Euclideans tell us to do.
Did he threaten you?
No, he just talked to me. You know him. The old guy's a pretty interesting talker when he isn't trying to scare you.
What did you learn?
Well, we're all got to go to work.
Work?
Yeah.
What sort of work?
Oh, we can take our choice about that, but we've all got to do something around this underwater city. G47 said that everybody works here, and we'd have to do the same thing.
Did he not indicate the type of employment which was to be delegated to each of us?
No, he didn't tell me what our jobs would be either.
Jerry, you understood me perfectly.
Now, hold it, you two. Let's don't fight yet.
No, please. We must keep our minds on the possible meaning of Jerry's news until we decide what steps to take.
Was any particular qualification given you, Jerry? I mean, did G47 mention what services we might be required to give?
No, not much. I tried to get a job with the cows. Well, I know how to milk a cow, and I'd like to stay in this room where all the green grass and the trees are. But nothing doing.
I imagine that job is filled long ago. They've been using milk from these cows for a long time.
Yeah, and they've got automatic milkers, too. But it needs somebody to watch them all the time. And guess who's got that swell job?
Well, it couldn't be McLeod. He's waiting on the pigs.
And the old skipper's gathering the eggs from the chickens.
That exhausts the personnel of our party, Jerry. It could not be anyone you would know.
Oh, is that so? Well, it is. The new milkman who watches the machines milk the cows is Jim Lowe.
Jim Lowe?
Jerry, not the Chinese cook from our own boat.
Yep, the Chinese cook's got the job.
Does he understand his duties?
The nearest that Chinese ever got to a cow was opening a can of condensed milk.
Yet he has the job. What a place this is. Are we to choose our occupations and report, or what is our procedure, Jerry?
Well, we can go around and pick out our own jobs after we watch the eruption.
Eruption? Of what?
Well, the volcano.
Jerry, you mean the crater where the island of Euclidia is located?
Yeah, well, I guess it must be there.
There's going to be an eruption of that old volcano.
That's what G47's getting ready for. He said we could go up to the top of this room and watch it through the transparent seawall.
How far are we from the base of that crater?
I think not more than 200 feet, Captain.
Then we're not going to watch any eruptions if we can help it.
There's more to this, isn't there, Jerry?
Well, sure there is, if you'll all give me a chance to tell it.
You wasted time discussing our future occupation.
Yes, and if that volcano thing is on the level, we may not need any future occupation.
Well, that eruption is going to be artificial, and G47 is going to pull a switch that sets it off.
An artificial eruption that will create a disturbance on the surface. There must be a good reason for that.
There is.
I should think so. That'll destroy the island.
Oh, no, it won't. You see, they pulled the island way down into the bottom of the crater. It won't get hurt a bit.
Did G47 tell you all of this, Jerry?
Yeah, and he told me a whole lot more. But we'd better be getting up there if we want to see this.
All right, son. You can discuss as we go along. Come on, Pat and Joan. Do we go up this way, Jerry?
Yeah, right up this twisting runway. I guess it comes out in some sort of a transparent walled room from what old G47 said.
Well, what's it all about?
Well, they're going to set off a lot of inflammable bombs. There's a lot of ships cruising around over here, taking soundings and trying to locate the island.
What ships, Jerry?
Well, they wouldn't tell me that. But I got an idea there are boats from more than one country that's rushed down here to try to save us.
And now they'll never know we're here underwater.
I guess that's about the size of it, Pat. When they take all the soundings they want, they'll find nothing but the crater of an extinct volcano in a submerged mountain.
And those bombs exploding will create the impression the volcano is active again.
Then all those ships will be driven away, thinking we have all been lost at sea.
Well, what's worse than that? Everybody will think we didn't know what we were talking about.
Yes, Jerry, I understand. There isn't any island at the position we gave.
There sure isn't. At least not where they'll be looking for it. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if those ships up there represent our last chance to communicate with the outside world.
If there were only some way to warn them, to let them know that we are down here, 400 feet below the water level, and that the island is submerged beneath the base of the crater over 200 feet below the surface.
Well, if we could get our hands on a radio set out of some kind, I'd take a chance and send a message out.
And you know perfectly well that you'll never be allowed to approach anything that resembles a method of communication.
It would not be natural to allow us to send messages which would expose the secrets of the Euclideans.
You're right enough about that, Joan. The thing I feel the worst about is that the news will be flashed all over the world that we were all wrong, that the Magic Island never existed, that the position we gave is really an active submarine volcano.
Well, there's plenty of people who have sailed over here before. Well, they know there wasn't any volcano here then.
That makes it worse, Jerry. It will bring them to the conclusion that an island possibly existed, but that the volcanic eruption has destroyed the island and probably taken us with it.
That is logical, Mother. Though surely some of the charts of this locality must show the existence of the submerged mountain we are now inside of.
Afraid not, Joan. Euclidean and its magnetism have been around here too long. All the charts of this position are wrong. The mountain isn't shown on any of them.
Well, we can't help it now, so we might as well watch what goes on. I guess this is the door we go through.
It is at least the end of the passageway.
Careful, Jerry. That may be the wrong door.
No, G47 said to come up to the top of this runway and to open the door. This is the only thing I can see that looks like a door.
Do you think this must be the one he meant? Well, go ahead, Jerry.
No, I'm trying to, but it doesn't want to open. No, nothing doing.
You should not have to pound on the door, Jerry. If we were supposed to enter here, the door would open easily.
Joan's right. There's a mistake someplace.
Well, let's forget about it. I'd feel safer if we weren't any too close to this wall when those explosions take place.
Well, it looks like we can't get in here, so we might as well go back down. Those Euclideans are going to watch this thing from somewhere. And if we can find that place, we can watch it, too.
We have not much time, have we?
Well, G47 didn't say how soon they were going to start manufacturing this eruption. But the way he hurried me out of his room gave me the idea it would be pretty soon.
Well, then let's go back down. We passed several panels that look like doors on our way up here. Maybe some of them can be opened.
I'd just as soon not open any doors. After all, the ocean is on the other side of this wall.
Quiet. What was that sound?
Sounded like an earthquake to me.
The bombs. I'll bet they've started them.
Yes, there's another one. Tex, I felt this steel wall quiver.
Now, Pat.
Well, I did. Can't you feel the floor trembling?
Yeah, I can. This isn't so good. Come on.
I believe it is time to leave this place.
Maybe so, but there must be someone around here watching this eruption. I'd like to see how they do it.
Oh, Tex, please, come along.
Oh, very well, Pat, but there isn't any danger. These Euclideans built things too well for that.
It is possible, however, that they have not anticipated the stress and strain accompanying these explosions.
Oh, sure they have. G47 told me he had the idea of using fake explosions in that old volcano for protection long before these walls were built.
Well, whatever it is, we're in danger. That noise is steadily increasing.
Hurry, hurry, you fools.
G47, what's happening?
These chambers are to be flooded.
Flooded?
Oh, I felt something was wrong.
But G47, did you not tell Jerry to bring us up here?
Will you hurry out of here? No. I told Hall to take you to the top of the other passageway. This is a pressure channel. We must fill it with water to withstand the pressure of these explosions. Otherwise, Euclidia will be flooded, and you stupid fools will have the lives of everyone here in danger.
Gee, I'm sorry I made a mistake.
You certainly made a big one.
Do not blame Jerry. This would confuse anyone.
I certainly couldn't tell one passageway from another.
Silence, you stupid fools. Go, hurry. Take yourselves down this incline as rapidly as possible. Go.
But what about you, G47?
Go.
Come on, everybody. We'd better move faster than this.
G47 has gone back into that upper chamber.
What if he's caught in there and can't get out?
I guess he's too smart for that.
G47 would think only of saving the colony. He would make no effort to save his own life.
He's just like that, all right.
You three going down this ramp. I'll go back and see if I can help him.
No, Tex, don't be foolish. Why should you try to save that man's life?
Our lives wouldn't be worth much without him.
You are right, Captain. All of our lives depend on G47.
You're too late now. Run, everybody. That wall's going to cave in. Come on. Let's get out of here.
One by one, the members of the Gregory party have seen various portions of the huge Euclidean city below the sea. In one of the vast natural caves, which the Euclideans have improved and strengthened, Mrs. Gregory and Joan are waiting anxiously for Captain Bradford and Jerry Hall. We last saw the captain and Jerry making a vain attempt to rescue G47 from the swirling waters rushing in upon them. as a series of explosions rocked the walls of the cavern. A steel door has slammed shut, cutting off their view of the flooded passageway. And Mrs. Gregory and Joan stand helplessly waiting for someone to appear. The explosions are still being heard in the distance.
I think we should try to get in there, Joan.
No, Mother, that is foolish.
But Tex is in that passageway and Jerry.
You cannot help by getting hysterical. G47 and the captain will do everything possible to save themselves, and Jerry as well.
But if we opened that door, we might get them out.
And if we opened that door, the waters of the ocean would rush in and flood this entire city. Every life in Euclidia would be lost.
And we're just going to stand here and do nothing?
That is not wise either. Let us go to a higher level in one of the other passageways.
Very well. But it's so useless, just a waste of time.
We do not know that. Come, let us walk as rapidly as possible.
This is one time when the all-wise Euclideans got a little taste of their own medicine. Their cleverly designed volcanic eruption is just as apt to destroy their city as it is to drive away any boats on the surface of the water.
I know the Euclidean thoroughness of planning much better than you, Mother. It is only a remote possibility that misfortune has befallen G47.
Even if he could manage to escape, what of Jerry and the captain?
The captain's life is very valuable to G47 until his formula is secured for the Euclideans. If G47 is safe, Jerry and the captain are also safe.
I hope you're right, Joan, dear. But I can't feel very cheerful about it.
I think we will soon have information of a more definite nature. Is this not Cheops approaching us?
It looks like him, and he's in a hurry.
He does appear to be excited, and that is not like one of the scientists.
If they've had bad luck with their artificial volcanic eruption, you may see a number of these Euclideans jarred out of their irritating smugness.
It is Cheops, the master builder, who approaches us.
Ah, there you are. Come, Cleostra. Come, Mrs. Gregory. You will follow me.
Follow you where?
Do you not know enough of Euclidean procedure to refrain from questioning the actions of Cheops?
Come, Mother. We will follow Cheops. He may lead us to something of interest, and surely anything is preferable to our present state of uneasiness.
You have retained something of our teachings, Cleostra.
Oh, very well. I won't forget your greatness or my extreme humility in your presence. But I would like to know if you have any information as to whether the captain and Jerry Hall escaped that flooded chamber.
I have no information, and am not interested in securing any. Their absence fails to annoy me as greatly as their presence would.
G47 is with them.
What?
G47 is in that flooded chamber with the captain and Jerry.
Then come. We must hasten to the control room. Come with me, that you may show me the point at which they were last seen.
You're excited enough now.
Naturally. G47 must be saved.
Well, I don't agree with you as to that. But as you'll probably be forced to save Tex and Jerry at the same time, we'll help you.
I think we are now at the same level as the corridor they were imprisoned in.
That is well. We will enter this control room. From here, we may command a view of the surface through our prism reflectors. Enter.
What a remarkable room. It looks almost like a small moving picture theater.
That is rather a good description of it. On the steel wall before you, you will see moving objects, which are indeed similar to your motion pictures. But these articulated views are in the fourth dimension and are direct reproductions of the actions now taking place on the surface of the water. I will establish contact at once. Observe that wall.
Mother, look.
Yes, Joan, I'm watching.
There are a number of shadows appearing on that wall.
They're taking shape. Joan, those shadows are ships, big ships.
You are observing the movements of the various vessels rapidly leaving this position. Apparently, they have no liking for active volcanoes as an anchorage.
Those are the ships which came to rescue us?
Yes, Joan, dear. Tex didn't tell you and Jerry all his plans, as he didn't want to raise your hopes and possibly have them dashed. But the ships you see sailing away, obviously under forced draft, are light cruisers and destroyers from several of the largest nations in the world.
There you have it, Mrs. Gregory. 7 heavily armed vessels from 7 powerful nations in your puny world have followed your directions to the location of Euclidia. They found no island at that position, but they did find an active volcano. So these brave ships are sailing away, quite satisfied that if there ever was an island here, it has been destroyed by the eruption. Your friends have made their last attempt to rescue you, and Euclidia now numbers your party among its permanent residents.
Oh, Joan, dear.
I'm so sorry, Mother.
All of those countries helping so splendidly to search out and destroy this mad place to bring peace and safety to the world, only to have their plans overthrown by an artificial volcanic eruption.
Mother, look! Watch that wall.
There are new shadows appearing on it.
You will observe those shadows carefully. The view you now have is being transmitted through a steel wall beyond this room. You are viewing the pressure channel from which you escaped, and within which G47 and your friends are now confined.
Joan, Tex, Jerry, that place is full of water. Their bodies are pressed against the ceiling.
Mother, you must not allow yourself to act this way.
But Tex and Jerry...
If you will retain your mental balance for a moment, Mrs. Gregory, and give all your attention to the projection before you, you will note that there is at least 2 inches of space between the faces of these men and the ceiling of that corridor.
Yes, Mother. Do you not observe that?
Yes, I see that now. And I suppose a good swimmer might have floated on his back and continued to breathe easily in that still water.
Precisely.
But the pressure, the air pressure would be unbearable.
It would indeed, if it were not for the fact that I, Cheops, the master builder, designed that room, and others which serve the same purpose. The ceiling is of porous steel, permitting air to escape at a lower pressure than is harmful to the human body.
Then they're all right?
Of course they are, Mother. If Cheops isn't worried about G47, you may be sure Jerry and the captain are quite safe.
Precisely. Now, if you will continue to watch those shadow vision images, you will observe the water level receding as I advance this control.
How soon will they be free?
Watch and ask no questions.
Mother, the water is receding.
Yes, it is. Rapidly, too. And I can see all 3 of the men moving in the water.
They're all perfectly safe now.
That water is going down rapidly. Now Jerry is turning over to swim.
Note the look of relief that comes over his face.
Oh, I don't blame him. Now Tex and G47 are both turning over. Their feet will soon touch the floor. Oh, Joan, I'm so glad.
It will be a matter of less than 120 seconds until your friends will be free to enter this room.
2 minutes. That's a wonderful performance, Cheops.
The secrets of the builders of the Great Pyramids have come down through the ages to me. The building of a simple room such as that one is child's play to me.
That's something I want you to explain to me when you have time, Cheops. Did your namesake actually build pyramids?
Mrs. Gregory, your attempt at humor is in very poor taste, as my displeasure would mean your life.
Please, Mother, do not anger him.
I didn't mean to. And my question was perfectly sincere. Our educational system has conflicting testimony rather generously scattered through it. One of the most recently discussed theories is that Khufu, or Cheops, did not build the Great Pyramid. In fact, modern science is striving to prove this.
You are not deliberately attempting to antagonize me? You are sincere?
Perfectly sincere. In my library at home, I have no less than 6 volumes, all accepted as authority by recognized historians. And no 2 of the 6 agree, even reasonably, as to the time of the building of the Great Pyramid, the part Cheops played in this building, or even the fact that this was the first pyramid.
So, those conditions of confusion and ignorance actually exist in your world. I have been told as much about the Western world, but it seemed incredible. We of the East are definite in our ancient history, even in the everyday world. You have aroused my interest. At some future time, I will be glad to demonstrate my proofs as to the actual building of the Great Pyramid. For the present, I may tell you briefly that Cheops was the builder of the Great Pyramid, which was also the first pyramid. He started work in the year 3949 BC, when but 20 years of age, and completed it in 20 years. The Sagara, commonly called the Step Pyramid, was not started until 3000 BC, 8 years after the death of Cheops, and 29 years after the completion of the Great Pyramid of Cheops.
Is that satisfactory to you, Mother?
More than that, it's amazing. And I'm beginning to wonder just how many things we accept in our world that may be poorly stated to us.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, Jerry.
Oh, Mother, is it Jerry?
Sure is. And boy, have we had some experience.
Young man, do you realize you have rushed unbidden into one of the most carefully guarded rooms in Euclidia?
Oh, nobody was guarding it when I came in. Hey, you been watching moving pictures here?
Well, something like that. Where is Tex?
You will leave immediately. All of you. Get out. Get out.
Mother, come. Cheops is angry.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry I busted in here like that. But if you only knew what happened to us.
We know, Jerry, but let us leave at once and discuss it out in the corridor.
Yes, meddling fools. Leave at once.
Well, I guess we can talk out here all right. I didn't mean to make the old guy mad.
Forget it, Jerry. That's just his Euclidean temperament. But how is Tex?
Oh, he's okay. He went with G47 to look at those ships on the surface. Through some kind of a periscope, I guess.
Through prism reflectors, Jerry. We have just seen the ship sail away.
Yeah, I guess the volcano eruption these guys put on sure scared them away. But give me a chance to tell us what happened to us. When Tex and I rushed back into the hallway after G47, the water started coming in.
We have seen all that, Jerry.
Huh? You what?
That's right, Jerry. Cheops took us into the room where you found us, and with some very wonderful equipment, which he referred to as prism reflectors, he showed us the room in which you were floating on the top of the water.
Yes, Jerry, and we could see that you had very little space in which to breathe.
Well, all that's over now, and we're all right. The important thing is those ships that were looking for the island.
I'm afraid that's all over, too, Jerry.
It is indeed all over.
Yeah, they're gone. And right now, I'll bet their radios are telling the world that the Magic Island was destroyed by that volcano.
If they will even believe there was an island, Jerry.